Ahoy, everybody. Present Day Omega here again, coming at you with a Lostbelt 5 Part 1 recap, so if you're lost, you know where you are. Now, you might ask, why not do all of Lostbelt 5 as one recap? To which I would reply, hoo boy, not if you want to see this video before June. But enough of that, let's let past Lucky and Omega get right to it, with some more serious sectioning, hopefully a little bit better flow, but also a lot. Stay tuned to the end of this video for a word to our patrons and sponsors. Let's go. So now it is time to buckle in for our Lost Belt discussion, or put on your earmuffs, one of the two, because it's time to do Lost Belt 5 Part 1, Atlantis, initial thoughts.
So, I mentioned this earlier, I was going to actually try and sit down and write out the clip notes for everything up to Section 11, because that's where there is a shift, I want to say.
There is the patented fate turn. Like, you think things are going in one line, and then, oh fuck, everything's fucked. You know, that's like Act 2, like, everything went to shit moment, and you gotta figure out what the fuck you're doing.
But unfortunately, I didn't get it. I got, like, again, because I was actually trying to do some speed reading through the previous chapters, I was like, God, this is a lot of fucking text. And things happen constantly. Like, there's a decent amount of this that is just like, oh look, there's a battle happening. We're just like, oh, okay. But then there's like, now we're gonna exposit a lot.
Yes, there are a shitload of no battle pips. There are a lot of organize your party before battle pips. There are a lot of forced support servant pips. Some of which you don't even get your master skills on because you're not fucking there for. Like, there is a lot of off-screen storytelling in Atlantis.
Like a lot of it.
Yeah. So this chapter overall is very dense. We will probably be here for another hour just unpacking the front half, right?
Right.
Because it's dense.
So general thoughts overall. We wrote a few thoughts, but in the first half of this, shout out to making this Lost Belt still seem like really shitty, despite being it's space magic superhuman bullshit.
Yeah, I wrote this one down. I always comment on this when we get to a Lost Belt because, you know, we're here to commit an act of temporal genocide, right? You know?
Yes. Yes.
So, usually FGO tries to not make us feel too bad about it, because even if there are nice people in these Lost Belts, usually they still suck. I was a little curious, and I'll be even more curious when we actually see Olympus, because that place is described as, like, really slick. But at least in the outskirts, when we meet these humans here, I am immediately like, hold on, something's not right here. This shit's a little fucked up. Like, these humans live for hundreds of years, and they're all, like, super tanned and buff and everything, but also, they are literal exiles. They can't go back, and, like, the gods don't acknowledge them.
And no matter how cool the civilization in Olympus is, these guys are still living a tribal lifestyle.
They literally live in the ruined husks of dead god robots and have to fight demonic beasts to live. Sorry? They don't travel between islands a lot. Like, they are living, like you said, an ancient tribal lifestyle. And yeah, sure, they're superhuman and stuff, but, like, it's not... Considering how advanced this thing is technologically, the general people are not benefiting. It's a lot like Lost Belt 3 in that way, right? Where, like, these individuals, yeah, they're hopped up on god nanomachines and shit, but, like, they're not really living their best life. Even as seen later, to jump ahead to a bit, when Artemis decides to shoot her space gun at an island, and they're just like, woo!
Like, we can notice it!
Space Artemis!
Yeah, it's literally Notice Me, Space Senpai.
The fucking, I don't remember his name, but the sprite head on that kid's eyes, oh my god. I mean, just like, that was when I was like, hard to get me the fuck out of here. Drake, are you absolutely sure you can't step on the ocean? Get me the fuck out. Even I think at that moment, Jason's like, Best, we should get the fuck out of here. Yes, I agree. Let's go. But yeah, so like I said, shout out to like all the crazy Magitech shit in here, and still being like, this sucks. This sucks.
It does. But something else that this Lost Belt is strong, and it is super strong in bro energy. Like, I was actually thinking about it, like, this Lost Belt, well, this half of this Lost Belt actually has a very, very skewed male to female ratio. Most of the characters you interact with are, like, servants are guys. I think, we only got, we got...
In your main party, at least as far as I've gotten, and I remember, it's Corday right away. You run into her almost immediately. And then later, Chiome is literally hiding in the grass.
Yeah.
And you get some messages, some letters from me.
Mm-hmm. Like other female characters, but, like, the bulk of your forces are just a bunch of dudes, and we're gonna hang out and be like cool and stuff, and talk about hanging out, and being awesome together. It's very bro, and honestly, I love it. Me personally, you know me, I love a good harem. I love being surrounded by beauties. But there's something that I've always kind of hated about isekai harems is that very often they don't actually give you like another male character to foil yourself against. You don't have a male character to be your lancer or your foil or anything. It's just a bunch of girls. And I know this is FGO. You could also be the female MC, but I still think the thing still applies, especially with Mandacardo, because Mandacardo and Orion, they're very what I don't want to put this. They're very personal, I guess is the way I want to say. They don't. It's like their servant status is almost. What's what I want to say? It's something secondary to them. They're like, no, I'm Mandacardo. My life's kind of sad. I'm like a 30-year-old something. I'm very depressed. You want to be friends? I think it'd be very cool if we were friends. And Orion's just all like, hey, I'm here to pick up chicks and maybe shoot down my girlfriend. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. Please don't tell her I said that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it for reasons, but Orion starts with like internal conflict where he's like, hey, I'm just kind of hanging out hunting monsters. I don't know if I want to help you in this fight and stuff, but like we're still cool. I'm gonna stay here. And he's like, you don't want to come? He's like, yeah, I'll fit. Listen, I got some stuff to think about. I'm working through some stuff.
He's working through some stuff, so
and then he works through some stuff, and then he's like, I'm here, but also these type of stories about being an Spareface, part 3, and we're like, Godolph jumps in and he's like, whoa, give me that shit.
No, so it's good. So I appreciate the fact that these servants, like when we're in like these big dire circumstances, these servants are definitely more about the personal relationships. You can even say this about Corday as well. But Corday is a different kettle of fish, I want to say.
Corday has her own problems, though. I do think it's an interesting parallel in the greater, like, basically both she and Mandacardo suffer from basically an imposter syndrome problem. Like, Mandacardo is like, I am a literal bit character. What the fuck am I doing here with like in a scenario that killed Heracles? Why am I here? And similarly, Charlotte's kind of like, I don't really feel like a hero. I just kind of like stabbed a guy and got really famous for it because nobody thought I could do that. But like, I'm really just a noble woman who was raised in a monastery, and I have no idea how to do anything in this scenario other than like bake cookies. But she's still like so supportive, right? Same with Mandacardo.
Right.
Like, Mandacardo has several. Out of all of these characters, interestingly enough, he is the guy who's like, he's the one knocking on your room door, being like, "Yeah, we need to talk."
Okay, because I'm not okay.
Yeah, there's a very interesting conversation that is post our spoiler cutoff point, so I won't discuss the context. But he basically, in the front half, he tells you the first half of somebody's legend. He comes back to tell that story later, and he's also like, I want to talk to you about some shit because I want to relate to you as a quote unquote weakling. Like, are you pushing yourself too hard? Are you doing? You sure you all right? Because like, shit's fucked, and you gotta be like, shit's a little fucked. Also, by the way, I think we canonically in that segment have our first instance of the master showering for sure. We play a shower sound effect and a little knob squeak. I don't think I've heard that particular bit of Foley before. But yeah, so we have some very interesting foils, but like, there's a lot of that, like you said, that broiness. Like, even Jason is like Jason's an asshole, and he really doesn't want to do this job, but once he's on the quest, he's like, all right, well, fuck it, we're doing it,
Once he becomes the captain, he's all like, well, I'm the fucking captain. I gotta do shit.
All right, I'm responsible for your shit, so fuck it. This is now the Argo. I am the captain. You will listen to what I say.
It's like, you are now the new Argonauts. I was all like, ooh, put me on the Wikipedia.
And he's, cracking jokes or not taking things seriously. He will still impart both heroic advice and also just life advice. Like he's just full of like, guys, if you think about it, all right, this is like Mandacardo talks about being an adventurer, and he's like, yeah, Jason's like, yeah, being an adventurer is fake. It's like we call it an adventure to cover up the fact that it's a really pain in the ass thing you have to do to like get to your goals. And yes, Jason the hero would think that, right? Because
Jason the hero,
he went through the whole Argonaut journey was like his father was killed, he was tricked out of his kingdom. Hera tried to set him up, but his evil uncle was an asshole and told him, "You can be king. You can be king if you can get the golden fleece." And he's like, "Well, fuck. I should be king, but I guess I have to go get the golden fleece now." And bullshit.
That's what he's probably saying on the way to this fucking ship. Bullshit. All this is bullshit.
Why am I dealing with this? Just bullshit? Like, yeah, bro. Maybe you want to see me press that island? And Jason is like, "No, yes." Also, but speaking of like bromance, God, Achilles shows up later after he cut off, but you know he's a weird thing. I talked about it before the previews, for the spoiler zone. But, like, you know, there's a lot of interesting relationships, but Jason will not shut the fuck up about how cool Kirk is. Like, it's that perfect relationship of, like, Kirk is the cool friend, and Jason knows he's not as cool and as strong as his bro, but man, he goes stand up for his bro.
Literally, I think at one point, someone badmouths Arceus, and Jason is just like, it's fucking go time!
Yeah, no, Canis is like, I bet Herc committed suicide to get away from your useless ass, and Jason is like, you're not wrong, but also, fuck you. Master, hold my giant gold shoulder pads, I'm gonna get there personally.
And it's kind of fucking great, like honestly,
it's
like,
also really interesting to think about in the context because Canis is also an Argonaut. So like,
they mentioned Jason does talk about that.
Yeah, Jason calls Canis a traitor, and Canis is like, talk about that traitor. There's some symbolism. We'll get there. We'll talk about that. There was
a lot of trash talk. Like Canis will do some trash talk, but then you went up against Jason. It's like, oh damn.
Yeah, Canis continues his/her trend, their trend,
yes,
of just being an absolute vulgar shit talker. There's not as much sexual commentary in this so much as like, I will murder you, I will stab you so much, oh my god, I will kill all of them.
Honestly, believe it or not, I do
their
think
blood rain from the skies.
I don't know. I think Canis is a bit tamer this time on man. Especially since they are starting to realize that Chaldea is not exactly the pushovers that they thought they were. But then
I like this character arc. We can just talk about it a little because technically, by the point we get to the end of section 11, watch out for your earmuffs. But like Canis exits the scenario.
Yes,
she gets beat the fuck up by us. She gets backstabbed by the Newscurry and drops into the ocean and laments her fate because there was so much that Canis still wanted to do. But we do actually like see this. Like, it's really interesting. Canis is. A lot of people should talk Canis for their appearances in the previous Lostbelt. What's going on with them? And you know, these are her opinions on things, threats, motivations, whatever. You know, a lot of people have a bad relationship with Canis in the meta, in the community. Well, now we get to Atlantis and we realize, oh wait, all of Canis' alleged allies in the Lostbelt also have a terrible relationship with Canis. Like, Canis is full-blown the ally nobody likes. No, we do not hear an unsummoned sound cue. You hear a command seal sound cue. I want to point that out. That's a thing. It's not the desummoning sound. That's a command seal being activated. So whatever that means, don't know. So, and it kind of puts you in this weird relationship. It reminds me of the quote from Jurassic Park. You know, John Hammond is talking about the thing, and he's like, the other one on my side is the blood-sucking lawyer. Like, none of Canis' allies really like Canis, but Canis starts to grow to respect you, and, like, even when having these kinds of, like, Canis and Jason and fight like only close associates can fight, right? Like, both of them know exactly the button to press.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was not the unsummoned sound. It sounds a little bit like, but no, that was I listened, I had full volume in headphones.
It's the ching!
Yeah, it's the sound that it makes when you spend a command cell. Yeah, no. So I do not think that story ends there, but like it's a really interesting arc for all of this talking about like, you know, how Canis really hates the gods, doesn't like all this stuff. And
well, like honestly,
kind of grown to respect us as like not complete idiots, right?
Still gonna murder us though.
Canis wants a good fight. Well, Canis also wants a really good fight because this is a very important thing. Canis reveals that Wujaime said that Wujaime had seen the future and knew he would only have to fight, what was it? Did he say exactly two?
Twice, yes.
Yes. He will only have to face us twice. So, Canis really wants those two fights to be good.
Yes. But, like, speaking of all these things and good fights and stuff, we're going to move on to the next general point here. This needs to be hella be animated.
I said this after I read, like, the first actual chapter. Like, guys, just picture it. Just picture, like, episode 1. Probably the end of, like, episode 1 of, like, Atlantis, the anime. The fucking Nautilus breaches the storm wall, gets in there. Oh my god, holy shit, there's enemies everywhere. They're shooting shit at us. They're firing llamas like torpedoes. And then it just does the shot. The shot you see in the CM. We zoom out into space. Because this is handled great. Just, oh, holy shit, there's a spaceship. Oh my god, it's firing a space laser. Like, just imagine Babylonia, like, Sakuga-style animation on that first Artemis shot, and you're just like, fuck, damn. Like, it doesn't stop either.
No, that's great. We'll probably talk about a lot of points that just need to be animated.
But, like, just in general, like, think of this thing in motion with the usual. We should. I don't know what the acronym is, but like how they talk about the Ufotable adaptations. You know, unlimited budget works and have its funding. We need to talk. We need to figure out what the GO for like so much money abbreviation is. But that's the treatment we get, and it would be really good. Like there's a lot of activity here. But yeah, I can also say, because this is also my point, I can say our next journal point, we can start getting into our work. But yeah, I talked about earlier about enemies with Theos Pilnomia. This Lostbelt actually made me bust out some units I haven't had to bust out in a long time, namely Jolter. I actually timed out on that first Cerberus fight because I brought all foreigners. And foreigners are not really good at high-speed damage output. Abigail does a lot of damage, but she does not charge that NP for shit, even with 3 arts cards. So I just couldn't rack up the damage, because guess what? A robot dog, is not a man. So Hokusai does not do bonus damage. So you know what I did? I busted out Jolter, Waver, Merlin, support Merlin back, and I just gave her gold sumo, and I fired 1 NP, and I did about half its HP bar in 1 turn. If I decided to use my brain a lot and went for some plug suit high brain strats, galaxy brain stuff, I probably could have done the whole HP bar in 1 turn, but I didn't think that hard about it. These enemies can be quite chunky. Stray was another instance of being very, very chunky with her. Everybody does beautiful damage.
I believe I had to do the Stray fight twice first.
Yeah. So it's actually made me be like, okay, what's my highest damage output unit I have? Oh yes, right, I have Jolter Merlin. Let me just rub some Dragon Witch on this. And it works. It still works, guys. I suspect, though my skill levels are awful out of Blue Archangels, I suspect also just using Super Orion works for a lot of this stuff, but I've been having a lot of fun tapping a lot of old wells. For reasons, I have leveled my Drake's Pioneer Stars to 10 finally, and I may be using that a lot for some reason. But yeah, it's actually kind of fun to bust out a lot of the units. There's a lot of writers, so I've also been for the lulls, I've been throwing Python in a lot of problems. It turns out centaurs don't like being covered in burnt exploding blood. Who knew?
I mean, I say if I have an excuse, I rub calm on everything.
For some of the bigger enemies who were writers and single targets, I use my comma as well. But for weight, sad.
So with this, we're actually going to get into our list, and we're going to start with the prologue introduction. They had a lot of tips, actually. It's very long. It's
very lengthy. I remember booting it up at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. when it started, and I'm like, oh my god, there's a lot of fucking text, man.
But we start off, we're in Nova Goddamn. They straight up state it's been 2 weeks in India, so fuck your time shenanigans, I guess. Basically, everyone's getting called down to the dock, and second point here, I don't actually remember this. Have all the survivors from OG Chaldea been given names? I don't actually remember this.
I think only Lunaire and the woman we saw in the Lostbelt prologue were named previously.
Yeah, but
her name. She's not been on fucking camera for 2 years.
Yeah, so they name everyone. There's eight survivors, including Lunaire, then plus Goldoff, Mash, and the protagonist. I guess because they're servants, Da Vinci doesn't count himself or Holmes necessarily.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But everyone's like, hey, get to the dock. We got cool stuff. You go there, you see that the Nautilus has apparently been complete. Apparently. And they're about to take it on a test dive. And
fast forward.
Fast forward.
The test dive went great. How did it
go? What
again?
happened? We don't fucking know.
Literally, I don't remember it, but I
thought it was cool. So, yeah, I guess they probably had imaginary scramble playing for a long time. And maybe, I don't know why they didn't do it ahead. Maybe they're just trying to get, story... I bet they're trying to get, story content, so much story content out in a year.
Yeah, I suspect they did not do it because they didn't have enough time, because the end of the year was already decently packed with stuff. You had Saber Wars 2, etc.
They probably wanted to get at least one half of the story out of it before the end of the year.
Because
otherwise, wouldn't it have literally just been India?
Yes, it would have literally been India. They wouldn't have had Olympus ready yet. And also, while he's way more featured in this, and also, Nemo, we're going to point about this later, that also would have mean they would have needed the playable Nemo added, which I am sure they were not at because they did not have to have that ready. And there's a lot of new mobs and bosses in Atlantis, and there's even more new mobs and bosses in Olympus. So they were probably pushing pretty hard to actually get the content ready to be playable. So they were like, okay, we know we're gonna do this later to buy time. We can just tell you it'll happen, and you guys don't care because time space shenanigans.
Nice face.
You know it hasn't been 2 weeks since Lostbelt 4.
So, side point, the Nemo series are wild and I love them. And turns out they are both boys and girls. I actually had to double check this. Excuse you, Blue Archive, I will play you later. I actually did some digging on this, and this actually is clarified in Nemo's profile. Basically, it's explained that while Nemo himself is male, the Nemo Marines, because they are made from partitions of his brain, by the way, that because guys can have girl thoughts and girls can have guy thoughts, the gender of the Nemo Marines can be either. He's not going to tell you which one is which, though.
Yeah.
So, that's the mystery solved.
Partitioning your mind thing is, that's an Atlas Academy.
Oh, yeah, I think Sion actually does it, too.
Yeah. I think if it's not, wasn't alluded to very briefly in the front half of this, it's stated somewhere else that maybe like his actual profile that Nemo picked up that ability from Sion. It's one of those cases where, like, the astronomical officer. Yeah. So that's our next point.
Our next point was... Oh, no, Blue Book! Anyways.
In general, well, go ahead and finish your thought here, because I think I can turn that into a whole talking point I like about the injuries of Lostbelt.
Yeah, it's like, meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom, roasted bananas are super yummy.
Yeah, so this is the thing I kind of like about our Lostbelt intros, is not only do we see what Novum Paldeum is doing, right? But we usually check in with the Blue Book thing, though I'm pretty sure that's done now. He was shot by an anti-spiral, I think.
I think that's the best way to put it, yes.
At Area 51.
Which is, still exists.
Yeah. Temple of Time, Area 51. Not seeing anything something like that. But also, I don't know why, but I fucking love all the table scenes and how they do it every time, right? Everybody all around the table. And this one's really interesting because you can see it even in the key art, right? The guys are actually all around a table for once.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody but David, who's still doing his own thing, and the two women who are dead. Now, so you could work on that one a little bit. Not that fate hurts for female representation, but it is interesting that we're 5 Lostbelts in, and somehow only the 2 female cryptors died, kind of. One of them became an angry ghost and eventually went to the Throne of Heroes, probably.
I mean, she bullies me in the cafeteria, so whatever.
But, like, I just love how these scenes are put together with the song, which I believe that OST track is called Light of Humanity. It's one of my favorite songs, just that slow kind of ascending tune they do, often associated with the cryptors expositing and stuff, but like, and then just all of them sit around the table, you get to hear the big echoing steps. Holy shit, Kadok speaks. He really is alive after all these Lostbelts. And he's talking to Pepe, who's like, oh, I lost like a bitch. So funny. And fucking Beryl just rolls up and he's like, yo, I left my Lostbelt. More Lostbelt 6 lead-up lore. He explains that it was never the plan to maintain the tree in the Lostbelt because it was directly over the abyss of the clock tower, which has bad things in it. And Wodaime would know this because he's a fucking genius at the clock tower. So, yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things. Beryl reminds us how much of a sex pest he is.
Yes.
And he needs to go to the underworld, actually. Skip point in jail and put him in the ground.
I do not like this dude.
No, it's not great.
Listen,
I appreciate his relationship with quote-unquote the boys, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny to see him interact with Kadok and Pepe and kind of form this, like, power trio while Wodaime is just like, I'm minding my own business, making my own plans. Hey, what's up, alien priestess? Are you going to stop me from doing my own shit? No? Too bad. Doing my own shit. You really... I like that we get the line that Wodaime is not really on the foreign god's side, right? Like, he straight up admits, I'm doing my own thing.
Like, to be fair, though, he's like straight up, I'm pretty sure the disciples are doing their own thing, too. It's like, no one's on anyone's side right here.
Yeah, he's just like, I will vaguely act in a way that might accomplish the foreign god's goals, but I'm doing my own business here, and are you gonna fucking stop me? And the lady's just like, oh, yeah, let's shave first. Yes. And he's like, cool, I'm gonna go do my thing. But yeah, it's great to see them all kind of interacting because this is one of the great strengths of Ensemble Cast. Beryl is still a very obvious shit heel. I do like we've known for reasons because of JP and Clairvoyance and stuff, and other suggestions that like 6, the Camelot one, Avalon LeFay, really fucked up. It's weird. But I love the like slow build up of like, oh yeah, no, we weren't even planning on keeping that one alive. It should totally collapse. I don't know what's going on with this wall of light bullshit, but it sucks there. It's weird. It talks about like you're much more likely to run into phantasms and humans, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of foreshadowing. So, yeah, it's interesting. The Blue Book thing is, like, I would argue less interesting because it turns into kind of a shoot the shaggy dog situation. Mm-hmm. Where, like, he's been struggling as this lone survivor who we have no context for now because he's dead. He just gets to the end, he discovers the source, he talks about how he just kind of explained some possible reasoning for why space shit got involved.
I do love the moment where he says, there was an alien here, and it was screaming, and someone heard it, and they came, and then you just see in the corner, like, blue text, is that really the case, though? And then it just keeps going on.
Yeah. Like, as far as he can tell, this was like, humanity, we cause this, humans are the real monsters, we cause this ourselves, but it's like, can we trust that that's actually what motivated the foreign god? We don't know.
So that was great, but otherwise it was like again, it's just like, oh no. Anyways.
Yeah, it was just weird foreshadowing, and it's like, alright, cool, well, that'll become relevant later, I'm sure. Alright, bye.
And we go on to the next one, where we see our first bit of the, oh god, what do I want to call this? Because there's something interesting about this that I noticed, like, when we get to Atlantis, we're coming in at, like, the quarter mark. If all of Lostbelt 5, if you were to put it in, we basically came in at the half of the first half, so the 25% overall. Because apparently the counterforce was all like, all right, this is like, how do I want to say, like, this is the main point that we got to strike. The master will be showing up eventually. I need to send as many fucking servants as I can to set up some sort of fob of some sort. Do something.
And also to try and delay it, because this is another plot point we get in Legion of Doom. Wodaime's tree is almost complete.
Yeah.
It has grown beyond the Lostbelt. It is visible across the planet. It's touching the stratosphere. It will soon become the vector for which the foreign god can actually fully descend, and then they'll move on to phase 2, which is something. Some kind of thing it is. And basically, like, I think even Kadak is like, Wodaime, are we even competing anymore? And he's like, hey, David's still out there. He's still doing his thing. He's not here. So, we realize that the clock continues to tick, right? Like,
right.
It is appropriate for us to try and punch out Lostbelt 5, because if we do not cut down this tree soon, the foreign god is actually going to arrive, and then something happens. What happens?
We don't know, but whatever it is, it's probably not good.
So, yeah, the counterforce goes all the fuck out, literally sends an army of proper human history servants to wage war.
It does not go well. We have, as we like to say, I like to say, the decapitation.
Yeah, this bit, by the way, wasn't shown on stream.
No.
But both the CM and this intro are really bloody. They went over the top of the effects. Like, they do a smash cut to black, but then they do, like, a blood gush, and they make it, like, roll and fall like a body. Somebody in the animation team really busted their chops.
But you get the idea of proper human show. They're just being ganked. This mysterious masked figure who looks like he's in a fucking pilot suit is just marking all your servants, and then doing something else. I was all like, oh damn, is burning up all the ley lines so we can't summon servants. Like, oh man.
Yeah, he used the information to summon servants to basically summon on the ley line point, and then when they activate it that way, they like cap it like a well. So you can't. We cannot summon more servants, which you'll notice we don't do.
No.
We have not done in the parts we're going to talk about. We talk about going to a ley line, but we quickly give that up once we realize how fuck off the shit is and we have to move on. I do like, though, relatively early on when we discover that this has been happening, we do find out that not all is lost. Like, several servants moved on ahead towards Olympus, and allegedly some of them made it. And they made it with OPSEC. I love this. There's fucking OPSEC in this. They're like, wiping memories and shit so you can't remember where you were until you get the right moments, and like, so you can't reveal to the enemy. Oh, it's wild. But there's also another note. I wrote this in as well, and I red-coded it. It's explicitly my note. So, hey, all that stuff I taught you about the Mage Association and stuff last time, that was important so you can know how cool Wodaiwe is.
He is very cool.
They talk about how he's buddies with the neutrals, the aristocratic, and the democratic faction. Like, if he wasn't an adversary, he would be way too, like, OP very soon bullshit. Like, they go out of their, like, Goldorf goes out of his way to be like, no, this kid was really cool. We thought he was going to found a new department of the clock tower.
Yeah, the 14th department. What would that even fucking be?
Don't know. They talked about how it would be to explore the abyss, so I don't know.
Void.
Yeah, something, But yeah, that's like how legit Wodaiwe was as a mage. So, yeah, it's actually important. If you want to understand some of the terminology, like I said, go back and check it.
I did not write it down, but there is one more scene between Musashi and a certain robed man.
That was very interesting. That's in the intro. When we first show up, the robed man from Chaldea and Musashi are chilling on a seashore, and robed guy is like, man, they're fucked.
That boat is so tiny. What the fuck?
That is not a big enough boat. These guys did not do any recon at all. They did not realize the enemy knows they're coming. By the way, the enemy knows we're coming. That is the one problem with the Counterforces plan is, while it was helpful for us because it gave us the supplies we needed, it also completely blew our cover. because we see this right away in Section 1, which is called Crisis After Crisis.
Yeah.
We show the fuck up, and whoops.
We'll talk about that in a moment, but Musashi's there, being, cool interdimensional traveler swordswoman, talking about, nah, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Musashi internally is like, it's probably not gonna be fine, but I believe in them. I believe.
Well, and how much does Musashi believe in us? She's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. Don't worry about it. Those guys, they're so fine, they don't even need my help. I'm just gonna go to Olympus, and she fucking personally ray shifts herself over there, and the robed figure is like,
I see.
Okay, all right.
Ooh, we out. We will never meet again.
I do not see you past this point.
And that is it for basically all the preludes. So we go into our first chapter, which is Crisis After Crisis. We start the chapter with immediately coming out of the Zero Sail, and we're like, all right, we're going to breach this. All right, everyone get up. And there's fucking ships everywhere.
We are surrounded. How did they tell where we were? They must be continuously monitoring the border. Why?
The entire border. All the fucking time.
Yeah, I wonder how they managed to do that.
Yeah, and right out the back, enemy commander is like, this is motherfucking Odysseus, and everyone's just like,
hello, I am Odysseus.
Prepare to die.
Yeah, your bases belong to us, basically.
And Odysseus is not fucking around. He does not underestimate us. He does not leave anything up to chance. He is all like, we are going to make sure you are dissolved to your last molecule. Have fun.
I'm not even going to ask you to surrender. I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to give you the respect you deserve and tell you we're going to fucking kick your ass now. Bye. Click. All right, everybody kick your ass.
Yeah, and asses were kicked.
Well, yeah, he has a great encirclement plan. We are literally encircled by the Atlantis border guards who are all hopped up on nanomachine. We find out later. They have fucking space triremes with ether sails or whatever. Great to set it. They have the Echidna, which they're using to mass produce demonic beasts, including a Kerberos, a 3-headed dog.
And that's official. Technically, Echidna did give birth to the Kerberos.
Technically. But it's a prototype. So they throw that at us. Canis has been sent down and has the authority of the sea. So she attacks us, and everybody is freaked the fuck out. They're like, if she gets inside the sub, we are fucked. Do not let her get on board. Do not do that. You must stop Canis. Then Odysseus goes all out. He fires Lamias at us like missiles, and then he has them on the fucking seabed so that when we die, he understands a submarine and has mines ready.
Lamia mines.
Yes. And even then, all of this is just an excuse to lock us down for a little bit, because the real plan is to shoot us with a giant fucking space gun.
Listen, guys, were you ready for Space Laser? I wasn't. I mean, I was, because of reasons, but also, hell no, how do you predict that? Shout out to the MC for just being like, nah, we found it down now. Been a die now. Okay, thanks, bye. You're going to fucking die.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the sound designers. That is a classic anime bassy, like,
yeah. Also, rewind. We got a brief look at what the Echidna like. Crazy ass design. I do like that. How though when the MC saw it, he just had immediate TMS, PTSD, which makes sense.
That's another thing this Lostbelt does a lot. Flashbacks, hard flashbacks with the whoosh sound. I love it.
Yeah. So with the Echidna, I'm hoping that the fact that they put a B in front of it is not actually Echidna. That means there could be a regular old Echidna server one day. Because again, give me a soft Medusa face. I think that'd be great.
I definitely think what they're going for is like, this is clearly, the Echidna is like, that's a thing they made to produce demonic beasts. It is the Lostbelt Echidna. We see this later when they talk about how, Minotaurus was made, right? So, I suspect that does mean that there is a proper human history version of Echidna. Whether that turns out or not, we will see, but yeah.
We will see. Like, I'm gonna say, I'm a little upset that the fucking Carbureus are just fucking tentacle starfish. I'm thinking, oh, hey, don't hit. No, but still tentacle starfish.
Though, that is the other thing. All of these are like mass-produced or origin versions, right? Hydra origin, Chimera origin, Lami origin. These are all Greek. We're also called lycanthropes and stuff, right? Charybdises. I mean, technically, I do believe the actual Charybdis was supposed to be like a big munchy mouth at the bottom of the waterfall, whirlpool, but it is definitely like they got a little lazy with the sprites. Like, at least the proper Cerberus is like, okay, I don't have a dog body, but I do have 3 flaming dog heads.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty on point. I'm not gonna be mad at that. Like, it's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
And has a fucking intimidating story sprite when it pops up. You're just like, what the fuck?
It's in my face. So that was basically the end of section 1, and we go immediately into section 2, which is called Impossibly Miraculous, and we just wake up on a fucking beach because guess what? What?
It's a great show.
Yeah,
because it's that classic.
Because we tried to escape, we cannot escape, so we tried to initiate a zero sail, and did not work. Kind of.
There was a big explosion. we wash up on shore.
Yeah. But who is this sweet girl? It's Charlotte Godet, of course. And Bo is here with us now? Okay. He's my friend. Whack, whack.
Bo was clearly, right.
I'm pretty sure that's just
that means that also, you can take that as canonically. The Master's instinct was, when we were about to blow the fuck up, was to pick up Bo.
Grab the beast! I actually think there was an interesting line, especially when they were firing the laser for the first time. Like, they actually make a line towards Bo with, like, even the beast, which lost all of the power, could do nothing in the face of this. It was just like, oh. So, they're definitely not letting you forget that Bo used to be a big fucking deal at some point.
But also make sure to point out that there's not shit he can do.
Yeah. So, Charlotte Godet shows up. She saves your life, because, you might have just swallowed a couple gallons of seawater. That's usually not a good thing. It's Age of God seawater, though, so I'm pretty sure it is very healthy, like everything else in this goddamn thing. So Charlotte Godet immediately appreciates herself as the cute one, and she's adorable. I'm like, no, you're a great girl. But quickly she turns out that she's kind of like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm really not trying to be mean, but while she is a great, what's the word I want to use? Support, she's not there for combat. She's not there to help you fight things. She has no idea where she is. She has no idea what she's doing. She has no idea where she's going. But hey, she's found you and she saved you. So we got that going for her. So you're going to try and get back to the village as much as you can. You immediately get lost. Get caught by a fucking demonic beast. You manage to take down one. Quickly get surrounded again. And then someone pisses on you. Literally. Oh shit, it's your boy, Orion. He's here to lay down some very, very meaty, very muscly smackdown. Holy shit. This boy fucking slaps in all ways. Like, this is the point where Lucky was like, close, summon, 10 stick. Like, just from that first few moments, I was like, yeah, nope, I love this boy already. He's great. Because Orion as a bear is something. Like, he's a strict source of comedy. But
I would say, I think it's something that just occurred to me. He is always playing part of a two-man comedy routine.
Exactly, yeah. He's always the sidekick to Artemis. He's always the straight man to Artemis, or the butt of a joke to whatever lunacy Artemis is putting down. Super Orion, though, is a comedic protagonist, I want to say. Like, he can stand all on his own, and boy, how does he. He has thoughts, he has feelings, he has concerns and worries and all that stuff, and he puts it on through this big veneer of, hey, I'm just a big friendly hunter dude, what's up? Want to shake my hand? I'm like, fucking push your hand, you animal.
I think that's fair. Robinson chat, easily the least useful starting ally, probably making the most. Like, they give you a test fight with Cordy right away, and I double checked the monster levels, and it's like, they went for like an absolutely pathetic low-ball demonic beast, right? So you don't.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. They go out of your way to show you that Corday is not a fighter, and shouldn't be. She is an assassin in the classical sense, in that she assassinated a guy.
One guy.
Now, she does have the ability to, like, carry that out very well, but, like, I do not think that her slightly airheaded personality is ungenerous. This was a woman who was in a nunnery and saw, the Jacobin of the French Revolution and was like, I know how to stop this, I'll shank a guy. And then just stumbled into shanking a guy. Like, they, were literally asking her, yo, who are your co-conspirators? And she's like, nobody. I wouldn't conspire with nobody. I just thought it would solve the problem if I stabbed that guy. Not solve the problem. But that is talking.
Definitely perfect.
But yeah, they literally, I think, set up those quests back to back, so you can see how different it is. I even thought this slightly uncharitably to myself, but I was like, so this is to let you test how good an Orion, the Super Orion solo is. Because, like, in that real demonic beast fight, Corday is a little bit of a dead weight, and at the very least, she is way more fragile than Super Orion, who's like level 100 HP.
10-10-10. Yeah. I have never felt so powerful in my goddamn life.
Oh, yeah, I know. So, yes. Whereas Corday is, while generously, I believe, level 75, she's still a bronze character originally, so she does not pack as much punch, right?
Right. But they talk, Orion's all like, nah, I'm not about this, about saving the world life, fam. And Corday's all like, well, I say good day, sir. I say good day. And then immediately go get lost again, so Orion agrees to take you to the village. Takes you to the village, you meet the person that they've been referring to, known as the courier. Oh shit, guess what? It's another new bronze servant. It's fucking Bartholomew, who I think,
It's your boy, Black Bart.
It's your boy. Who, unfortunately, I think is probably actually the most annoying character in this fucking scenario.
Yes, they have. I don't know why they decided to play it so hard. I'm pretty sure this is originally Japanese, because boy, howdy, were they making this joke a lot on the screen with Bart's VA there. Guys, there's a lot of. I don't know what's going on with Nasu. Is this like some outgrowth of like his starting as writing like eroge? Like, There's a lot of side talk about fetishes in this chapter. It happens a lot. People talk of joke about your kinks. I'm like, wow, this is weirdly sexual, but not in a fan service way, but just in a we're discussing these topics a lot more all of a sudden. Yeah, several people call out Bart because he will not shut the fuck up about bangs.
No, he
Literally
won't.
Every character, he's like, yes, girl who would be cute if she grew her bangs. And she's like, excuse me, I am perfect, how dare you? Now, some of it's funny. Later, when you re-meet with him, he's singing a sea shanty about Mash's bangs, and I joined him. Of course.
Oi, oi, oi. But he being fetish aside, he's on the up and up. He's like, hey, yo, I'm here to help.
I'm the people know that. Yeah. All right, thank God.
Yep.
Also, he reveals that, indeed, the entirety of your team did not blow up and die.
He's like, we can go meet them up with them. Let's go. We're like, ooh. So we go meet up with them. Everyone's all like, oh my God. You and Matt do a power hug. And everyone starts explaining stuff. Apparently, you survived by the power of random magical bullshit super science.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember how it is, but basically because we were half in a zero cell, we were in basically a Schrodinger state. We both existed and did not, and that somehow lessened the impact of the blast. So while the Nautilus was pretty much fucking destroyed and, basically knocked Nemo the fuck out, the Shadow Border was able to survive barely, and they were able to everyone to drift ashore.
And this was covered in the pre-plot. The Shadow Border, which formed the core of the Nautilus Mark I, was made fully amphibious this time.
Yes, they said it was going to be treated as a landing device and lifeboat.
So, yeah, the way they explain it is basically, Artemis's shot blew the fuck up out of the Magecraft barriers. The Nautilus had shields, so those all got blown out. So the only thing we could do was to zero sail, but because of Canis and Odysseus' attack, our zero sail equipment was damaged. We could not verify our own existence, which is, that's very important for ray shifting and sliding and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't verify you exist, you get lost in time. So Nemo orders a zero sail anyway, and basically the Nautilus was caught between two impossibilities. It was impossible for us to survive in the real world under Artemis' space laser. Nice. It was also impossible for us to survive in zero space without the proper protection. Would have been crushed by the pressure. But because we were in that moment between those two impossibilities, they kind of canceled each other out. And like you said, the Nautilus still blows the fuck up, but the power was basically shunted into the ether space and did not actually destroy us. Though it did reveal, by the way, that Odysseus does not care about acceptable losses. Absolutely sent his own guys to keep blocking us up and just get blown the fuck up.
It's one of those things that, people in the field, have to make. It's all like, if we don't kill these guys right now, how much fucking trouble are they going to cause later? By the way, the answer is a lot.
Yes. Odysseus was absolutely right because we continue to fucking Bugs Bunny our way around, beating up his guys constantly. We even get the space laser shot at us again, and we still find out a way to get the fuck out of that.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we meet up, we explain all our stuff. I'm still very curious how we and Foe were blown here.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things.
But we were literally shifting into the zero sail at that time, so I don't know.
I blame the Counterforce. Counterforce is like, hey, you probably need it over here.
There's a lot of talk about the impossibilities and kind of about balancing things out,
Now, unfortunately, this is where we have to kind of wing it by memory of things because this is where I actually ran out of notes. But next we come up to Section 3, Enduring Light of the Gods.
This one is mostly expositional.
It was mostly expositional. This is basically people explaining how gods are giant machines, and that's fucking Artemis up there shooting giant space lasers, and everyone's like, what? Orion comes in, helps with some exposition, also talks how he doesn't really want to do that, if I remember correctly. Again, if I'm remembering this wrong, people, please let me know. I guess I'm trying to pull this out my ass. I don't want to start scrolling through fucking text while playing this game. That looked very weird. But at this point, we also meet Mandricardo, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, so basically, in our quest for more information, I think even Bart says, I gotta go do a job, I'll be back before sundown. You guys should go to the temple on this island and see what's up, right?
Ah, yeah, that's what it was, right.
And then on our way to the temple, we meet Mandricardo, who's a rogue servant, and he asks the wrong guy, because we need to fix Nemo, basically. And Bart tells us, hey, yo, the people around here on Hestia Island.
Yes, Hestia, by the way.
Very important. He's like, if you take him to the temple, he can be healed. People do that all the time around here. So we're like, okay, well, we really need Nemo back up and running, because while the Shadow Border is intact and its cloaking system works, it really doesn't have the horsepower or firepower for what we need to do, because I think Bart does tell us the three rings of defense. If not now, soon.
Yeah, but basically we have Odysseus and his army, fucking Artemis in space, just firing lasers, and then Poseidon just in the fucking sea.
Because they explain on the map that there is a hole in the middle of this ocean, and Olympus rises up out of that. That's where the actual sea of the gods in the heavens is. And to get there, we will have to not get blown the fuck up by Artemis. We will have to defeat Poseidon, who patrols the waves, and also Odysseus and his army are going out there. So very meaningful for stuff we'll talk about in deep dive later. But yeah, we get our Act 1 plot hook. Like, we have 3 trials to overcome. To overcome some of them, we are going to need Nemo, who is also, he explains, Phantom Spirit fused with Triton, which is one of Poseidon's sons. So we take it to the temple, we meet Mandricardo. Mandricardo immediately shows off his best boy status because he's a huge nerd. He is a dork. I love that you can be like, oh yeah, I remember your name. Or you can just straight up be like, I don't know. He explains all the stuff. He even has a method to get the nanomachines, the Theoscope, take some samples, pictures of Nemo.
Also, on a side note, this is one of the things that I wondered, like, when did they never actually bring up using nanomachines on, like, MASH or the Master?
Well, at first it's because we want to analyze them. Like, Mandricardo says it's safe, but we want to be 100% sure.
Yeah, and then Da Vinci Chan's all like, oh yeah, no, these things are 100% safe and they have a whole bunch of benefits. Let's just use them on servants. I'm just like, wait a minute.
I think the idea, I'm going to guess the idea is because servants are unsummoned anyway, it's okay. Whereas for us, I'm going to guess, like, I really wish they brought this up. My thought would be, I don't know what happens when we erase the Lostbelt from the timeline, and we have some of the Lostbelt in us, right?
I know, but again, here's the thing. The thing I think that bugs me the most is they don't address it at all.
Yeah, I kind of wish they'd come at it.
No. Isn't that
our bodies can totally handle it. They mentioned it would be perfectly safe. It does nothing but it means.
Yeah, no, like, because all the people, all the exiles have nanomachines in them.
Or at least the normal Hestia kill them anyway. Like, you explicitly point out later, the Athena's legacy, that would require somebody with divinity, otherwise they'd fucking explode.
Yeah.
Because that would augment your combat potential.
Yeah, like, probably not like any of the, like, the hyper-specialized one, because that's what they said. Like, they had the God's Legacy, which is the generic one, and then all the gods took it, and then hyper-tuned it for specific purposes. So those ones, honestly, I can see, because from the way that sounds, it sounds like those gods' intent is in those nanomachines. We see it lets for, like, specific things, but just, no, let me just have some...
later, Hephaestus' legacy increases durability factors in individuals, but also has abilities related to manufacturing and modifying items. Yeah. It can also be limited supply. We only have so many servant doses, and we need it to power up their phantasms. We need it at least for sure.
I don't know. Again, I don't know what to say about that. Like, usually, like, at any point into this, they constantly call out how the Master is literally the weakest link. The moment that the Master goes down, everything is fucking lost. Like, like I said, this is my survival scenario, is usually you shore up your weakest factors first to ensure survival.
I agree with you. I think this is a weakness in that, for some reason, Natsu just didn't acknowledge it. Like, at no point do I remember a dialogue line about why we don't take it after Da Vinci says it's perfect. Yeah. I think, like, the idea is, as somebody said, limited supply. Like, we are supposed to first focus on getting these 2 Nemos so that Nemo can be fully repaired. Even one dose of the regular Theoscope doesn't fix Nemo completely. Yeah, he's just like, okay, I'm conscious now. I can maybe manifest a few Marines. I could rebuild the Nautilus, but for us to succeed, we need to get even more, right? And then after that, it becomes, okay, we also need all of these to choose up Orion. We need Orion shooting at Artemis for reasons we can do so. But yeah, it's a little unclear. So that's the nanomachine details is minute assembly of authorities. So we go to the temple. We have a lot of temple exposition. We marvel at how fucking sci-fi it is. We brought Goldberg with us to carry Nemo, so he actually goes out into the field. A lot of the Gothams. So, we bond with Mandricardo. We meet back up with Black Bart. He shows up and he's like, okay, we gotta go. And he explicitly says we can't go out at night for some reason. Moon! So, yeah, apparently her senses are much more attuned at night. I assume it's probably like using like a thermal camera at night. It's just, during the day there's fucking sunlight and shit, but at night it's like, hey, what's that thing? But so we, power through all this. Wodaime checks in with Odysseus occasionally. He's like, hey, did you find any bodies? And Odysseus is like, no. He's like, okay, cool. You probably didn't get them. Keep searching. Odysseus is like, I'll do that. Keep searching. It's very interesting to see Wodaime and Odysseus kind of bounce off each other because they feel like they're in very similar places,
They seem like they're both people who know what they want to do and how they want to do it.
Yes. They're very tactically minded, very strategic, and very rational, and they just kind of bounce off. As opposed to Canis, who was just like, those motherfuckers survived? Well, I guess I gotta go kill those little shits myself. I'm gonna go in the ocean again. Sploosh.
I do like how Canis was like, if they survived, I want to be on their fucking side because Jesus fucking Christ. And that's when they had the whole conversation. Like, they probably fucking survived. And it turned to Canis. Like, so what'd you say? He's like, I said nothing. Fuck you.
Canis is like, fuck you. You can't prove anything, Copper. Go to the ocean. Aquaman moves. We also, somewhere in here, I think it's more around 7, but we get some dialogue first and then see some designs for Dioscuri, and they are creepy twins.
Yeah, they are.
I do not like them. They are unpleasant. But yeah, so we resolve our Act 1 quest. Like, we have the Act 1 call to adventure, which is all that effort we put into. We built the Nautilus, and we blew it the fuck up right away.
Immediately.
Like, now we can fix it, but we're like, alright, cool, we have a submarine. Oh, we can space laser. Whoops. And that turns into basically our Act 1 quest, which is like, okay, we have a plan. We have to rebuild the Nautilus and make it better and collect servants by powering ourselves up. Because that's the other thing Black Bart introduces us to, is he tells us the story of like, oh yeah, by the way, these servants are here. I was left behind by the advanced unit. And I can't remember their faces or true names because they edited my memories, but Master, we came here and we fought ahead of you. And some of us have gone on ahead to Olympus to make sure that you can get in. And this is when I think he explained the defense, right? So we move on. It's like there's a very important person waiting for you on the next island, which was
no, I think
Heracles Island. That's right. He's like, I'll take you to the next island, Heracles Island. There's somebody who's very important for you to see there. Isn't there, Charlotte Corday? And she's like, fuck.
Yeah, because apparently Corday went to this island to go get Jason hangover drugs.
Yes. Medical herbs. But Corday remembers that, oh yeah, she's been in contact with Jason. And Jason sent her on a mission, and she completely forgot because she has no idea what the fuck she's doing. And Jason clearly knows she has no idea what the fuck she's doing. So he probably sent her on a snipe hunt or a suicide mission. Anyway, we go to Heracles Island. Also, was it on Heracles or was it? Again, we didn't write these exact notes down. We didn't have time to sketch them out. But we do another cool sci-fi thing where I think it is on Hestia Island, but Bart tells us to go see how the people make their clothes.
Oh yeah, and they talk about how like it's super high tech, super strong stuff that will like ruin a knife. And actually, I just remembered something. You guys talking about the nanomachines? I remember the first island had excess nanomachines. We just couldn't fill Nemo more with any of them. That's why we had to go to other islands. So there was more nanomachines around. We just didn't use them.
But we didn't know they were. We didn't know what.
We didn't know they were safe at that time.
Yeah. It's interesting we don't double back, but I think that not commented on, but makes sense. We don't do a lot of doubling back because we are worried that the enemy is hunting for us. Like Shadow Warrior's close nearby. Literally,
like, it is definitely one of the things that
because Drake's plan is great. We'll talk about it in a second. Yeah, so they show off the invention of their clothes, which are like their fucking cloaks are like meta materials that are like immune to steel knives and stuff. They're just like, oh yeah, we just use some Theoscolomity, use some fabrics and make our clothes. And Bart uses this as an excuse to be like, hey, this is the fucking people you're doing here. Like, don't think these guys are backwards because they live in the post-apocalyptic ruins of a robot god. Like, shit is weird. But yeah, so we depart for Heracles Island. That's a really interesting one. We fight some more demonic beasts. This is where we start to they start to build up how interesting this place is. Like earlier with Orion, or actually no, it was after the clothes lady. Some hunters come back and they kill the Hydra. They kill the vodka Hydra.
They actually had vodka.
Yes, we talk about how there's booze in it and like they're gonna eat well. And Holmes is like, fascinating. It is good. Think how crazy it was that you guys fought one Hydra or Orochi or Chat, and you're like, you're right. And these guys fought a Hydra, or like 4-man to like you even drilled down. Are like, excuse me, sir, explain to me how you guys hunt Hydras around here. We're from a different island. So yeah, the humans here are tough enough and weird enough that they can fight demonic beasts, which is something that is for us normally is not possible without servants. We are dog shit at that. Literally would have died.
Things about like there's dangers, but there's not excessive dangers.
Yes.
Because they actually, draw parallels to literally to LB1, where they talk about the Yaga and their magic rifles, and how in Lostbelt 2, it's like, no, people just die.
Yeah. But so there's some very interesting stuff going on there. But we go to the new island, we talk to the new people there. There's, a guy there's a quote unquote kid, and he's like a couple hundred years weird and stagnant. They do throw the stagnancy word a couple of times. We find Jason drinking in a bar, and who's at the bar?
But it's not just any old drink, it's fucking Extella costume Drake. He's like, God damn it!
In my notes, in all caps, I put, Delightworks, give me Drake's costume, you moral cowards. I am the Ubermensch, I do not care for your petty human concern. Give costume.
So, here's the thing I found interesting, hilarious, and a little irritating at this. Jason, this is Okeana's Jason. He clearly remembers what the fuck we
This
did.
is Servant Jason. He was summoned from the throne and returned there and remembers.
He remembers us from Okeana. It's like, oh, you motherfuckers. But Drake, also Drake, who, hung out with us and did stuff, it's like, I don't know you guys, but I feel like I like you, so...
Oh, well, I have a theory on that. Remember in Okeanos, that was real-ass Drake. Like, that Drake was the historical person Drake. She was not a servant. She was able to fight like a servant because she had a holy grail. An explanation they never gave for Nero. But that Drake was supposed to be the alive Drake, who was actually in history. She was a historical figure who helped out. Whereas, obviously, the Drake we see in Atlantis is the servant Drake, so their two memories do not necessarily correlate.
Yeah, that makes sense the more I think about it, but it still makes me sad.
Yeah, it's a little weird that, like, they put us on those terms with Jason, but also it's very funny, and it's a little bit gay how Bash is just like, oh my god, Drake, it's so good to see you, oh my gosh, and she's like, haha, you sound like you know me very well. Well, I feel like the camera is just reveling in Wada Arco's art.
Yeah, just on that particular boob shot.
Right. But yeah, so Drake's here, and you talk about recruiting her, but Drake is like, yeah, I got a problem. I'm really fucked up. I received a horrific wound I am still recovering from, and also I am super cursed. Poseidon cursed me. If I step on the ocean, I will die.
Probably because the ocean is nanosheets.
Yes. We'll find out how that works until later, but yeah. So Drake just runs a bar on Heracles Island, where Jason is, and Jason is very sad because all of his friends are dead or deleted themselves from his memories.
Literally mentions that Herc died because he tanked not one, but two of Artemis lasers.
Yes. He used up all of his god hand on blocking Artemis's shots, which, by the way, is a very funny callback. I think I talked about this in the Orion Wanted, but remember, Artemis is very disappointed when she shoots at Heracles in Okeanos and doesn't instantly kill him because she's like, wait a minute, my authority should have completely canceled out his god hand, and then we could do this. And no. He is the strongest in the world. He has the Batcon. He can't be stopped. He lives. He takes two still. So even if Artemis had worked the way she wanted to, it still would have taken two in Okeanos. I think it's because that's our memory form of him, but also it's the one that has the god hand, so he's very resilient. But yeah, it's so, and that's why Jason's really depressed because all of his Argonaut friends are dead. He doesn't have his boat anymore. He literally when you fight against him and when you fight with him later, his NP is reduced. He can't use it.
Yeah, he has about like a captain without a ship or something.
Yeah. So like his NP is sealed because he's lost his boat. It's blown the fuck up. He's just sitting there drinking his days away, and you're like, come on, Jason, you gotta help us the fuck out. He's like, no, I gotta help us the fuck out.
It's like, 1, we're enemies. 2, fuck you. 3, fuck you again.
3, fuck you, my friends are dead.
Yeah.
And 4, don't get involved with that. Still.
Jason, like I said, this is like something that I really like about this. This is one of those this is 5.1 is definitely the Jason redemption arc. He's still a fucking heel. It's still kind of an ass, but when he's on your side, it's kind of more lovable than despicable.
Yes, you understand his logic a lot better. He's the captain, right? And he even talks about this. I'm supposed to be a king. Like, I'm kind of supposed to be in charge. It's very funny if you think about divine right of kings and stuff, right? Like, Jason literally has the divine right of kings. Hera was like, you should be king. Thanks for carrying me over this river while I was disguised as an old lady. And Jason, honestly, if you talk to the FGO Jason, you would be just like, I should never carry that old lady. I would have been much happier if I stayed a farmer, but fuck it. God told me I was supposed to be king, so I decided I'm going to be the fucking king. And it did not work. Somebody asked him how that worked out for you, but it did not. But that's how it goes. But yeah, he's like super depressed. He's literally in his cups. He's very dismissive of Corday, and Corday is dismissive of him. I kind of like their back and forth. It's like he, unlike Orion, he never like hits on Corday or anything, despite the fact that he got in trouble for adultery, kind of.
The adultery was his master plan.
Yes, his adultery, and honestly, while it was still shitty to Medea, it was not the worst because his basic plan was like, hey Medea, I know you've sacrificed a lot and literally murdered your brother for everything here, but it's like, to secure my political alliance, I need to marry this princess, so we're gonna get divorced, but don't worry, I'll still take care of you. And he is like, that's not good enough then. Also, your new wife's a bitch. It's like, well, I mean, I fucking tried. I think also, depending on the version, Medea was concerned that Jason's new wife and his new father-in-law would be concerned because she'd already had some children by Jason and tried to dispose of him anyway. That is legit concern, unfortunately. Well, yeah, in most of the plays, Jason is he's not going to completely dump Medea because he still is like, I did kind of whisk her away from her her homeland in Colchis, which, by the way, is on the Black Sea.
And Medea did murder a lot of dudes for me. A lot of dudes.
Including, she made my aunt and cousins go crazy and rip apart my evil uncle, the king, with her magical powers. Because Medea is horrifying. Like, there's a reason why Jason is freaked the fuck out whenever Medea comes up. If you actually read Argonautica, this is why for the homebrew I did, you can listen to it, I made Medea an assassin. Medea murders a lot of people with magic. Like, she is, like, setting dudes on fire and, like, blowing up Talos with her mind bullets and shit.
Medea wasn't necessarily in the right, but, like I said, fucking Jason's patron god was fucking Hera, god of marriage.
Yeah, the goddess devoted to marriage. And so, because he broke his marriage vows, and, like, and some versions of media straight up tells him, and, like, he's like, you killed our kids. You're gonna get fucking punished. That's a great sin. And Medea's like, dude, you're backed by Hera, okay? Nothing's gonna happen to me, man.
Yeah, so technically it's one of those things that Medea did not do right, but considering, quote unquote, according to the laws of the land, she also did nothing wrong. So it's like,
I mean, it's why traditionally older Medea is seen as a villain. As Castor in Phase D9, she is a villainous character, but she's also very sympathetic. Like, she does bad things, but you understand her. And also when she's horny for Saber, you understand.
Medea is when she is ooh-wooing over Saber, though. Give me a Saber suit just so I can put this happy couple. That's all I need.
Just give me more Medea. Even in this case, Lily shows up, even though arguably her leader form should be strong.
Well, I think this is the problem. Medea Lily is probably the only one that would actually work with Jason. Older Medea will probably just stab him and just be like, fuck this. Yeah. Medea Lily knows what's up, but she's still bound by Aphrodite's, ooh, I love this man.
Also, Medea Lily is literally her as an Argonaut, which makes sense, right? She would be the one that is summoned. We don't name check Atalanta or other Argonauts a lot other than Heracles, but I assume that, like, when Jason showed up with the Argo, he was probably with some of his best crew. Like, the counterforce was not slacking.
I don't know if this is in the profile, but I feel like Jason's, like, it's in his MP, but I feel like he should have the ability to summon the Argonaut if he has the Argo.
Yeah, I mean, I expect he can. I think the problem is that they were already summoned and are already somewhere else. But yeah, so we go through this whole drama with Jason, and we talked about it. I love Lostbelt 5 Jason. Like, the Lostbelts have done a conscious effort to reuse characters we saw already, right?
Honestly, like, I mentioned this, fucking this chapter really seems like a return to Okeanos. We have a lot of the same Hallmark characters. We really do. Like, we're back on the ocean. We have Jason. We don't have Blackbeard, but guess what? We have basically his foil, Bart,
who even says, "Do not compare me to Blackbeard."
We have all the Argonauts. Artemis and Orion is hanging out here.
But we also have these weird twists, right? Like, as opposed to being, the implacable enemy we must defeat, Perk's already dead. He was on our side and already sacrificed himself. There's no Asterios. Asterios was Minotaurus, but he's gone. This is a plot point that is after our cutoff. But, like,
yes.
We'll talk about that later. But they straight up, you go to an island with a labyrinth, and he's just not there, and you have these flashbacks, right?
Right.
Like, so there is so much commentary about Okeanos. Drake is here. She's still got her weird relationship with Poseidon, but she can't leave the island. Like, she can't support us.
It's like it's almost like we're on the opposite side.
Yeah, it's a very interesting inversion of how this works, but it keeps to the themes. It's also I think it's interesting you say that because there are a lot of parallels in how some of the Lostbelts are set up. Like, Avalon is obviously supposed to be with like the fairy knights of the round, right? That's obviously supposed to be calling how Camelot is laid out, but also because it's actually in England, and especially after this foreshadowing, I suspect it is also a parallel to London. Because London had a big deal about the clock tower getting blown up.
And also think about this. In Okeanos, Hector was on the enemy side, but on this one we have Mandracardo, his successor.
Yeah.
Like, no, there's a full-on parallel to Okeanos here.
And Mandracardo plays a role that is opposite. He is basically a foil to Hector, as seen in some later stuff we'll get into. But, like, Mandracardo is like, I don't think I'm that famous, I have no idea what I'm doing, I want the Durandal, whereas Hector was like a cool old guy. Like, he was an antagonist, but he was like competent, direct, professional. And even you could argue that, like, as opposed to how Okeanos worked, right, where, like, Euryale was on our side and stuff, we had a lot of gods on our side. There's even that whole thing of killing Kirk with David using the Ark of the Covenant, right?
Right.
In this case, everything that is divine is trying to kill us. For the most part. Like, it's a very interesting inversion. So, Drake gives us a plan to get Jason on board. She's like, hey, you guys need that Theos. Right? Go to the temple. I've got a secret access code. Extract from some. You're probably going to have to fight some gods. And you're like, okay, so you beat up the guards and you get the stuff. You power up Nemo, and Nemo's like, ooh, this is that good shit. Not only can I make the Nautilus now, but I think I can make it better. You gotta keep giving me on this juice, man. This is also where we get Professor Nemo.
Yep. Love it. Keep cutting her off, and she's not okay with it. She might stab a bitch.
But I love this result, right? Like, we go through all this process. We already know that once the moment we thump a guard, Odysseus is like, I think I know where they are.
They did not check in.
We also know that Artemis knows where they are because we get this great aside scene where Orion in the woods talks to Artemis's terminal, which is just a normal Artemis's spray. And you kind of get to see, like, maybe how they could have been an item, right?
Right.
Like, they are a little flirty. They kind of like each other's presence. You should also know that according to, like, Orion's profile, Artemis is still a virgin goddess, right? It's not like they, like, ever went near their relationship. It's just that, like, Artemis felt a certain amount of affection towards Orion, that Orion was shockingly chivalrous towards her too, and Apollo was like, that's not okay.
It was a platonic love, kind of.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Orion's NP is, right? It's like this idealized form of, like, the goddess's love put me in the stars. I am big now. I love his NP quote. We're like, all right, I'm gonna kick your ass now. I'm gonna beat some guys up. I'm busted out. I love it.
It's also probably why though Orion was probably fooling around with other girls. Unfortunately. A man has needs.
That, and also he was a notorious womanizer. Some tellings he, flirted with the dawn goddess Eos. There was that whole thing that got him temporarily blinded with the king of Chios. Go watch Wanted Orion, guys, if you haven't already. I dive into all of this. There are a lot of Orions. But some versions he was married before that even. He had a wife, Psyche, whose name means pomegranate, who Hera yeeted into Hades because she was supposed to be prettier than her.
Did she actually turn into a...
But her name is Pomegranate. By the way, you pick pomegranates during the season when Orion is in the sky. And also pomegranates are connected to the underworld. Like, there's a lot of, like, weird syncretism we don't fully understand because one of the major sources of Orion, one of our original sources, Hesiod, he briefly summarizes the story in Works and Days, but the original work that would have talked about more is Astronomia. Hesiod wrote a series of poems about star forms. That's lost. We have lost the original Astronomia. So the only summary of Hesiod's version of Orion's myths we have are from later commentators who summarized it. Though also, if you're wondering why does Orion use a club, that's our boy Homer. Odysseus actually sees Orion's shade in the underworld in the Odyssey, and he is hunting the shades of animals with a bronze club and his dog Sirius. Like, the FGO team does their research, guys. But yeah, so, like, there's a lot of womanizing in Orion's backstory. But yeah, so... Also, I'm shocked, though, that even though a certain sheep appears, that Orion is not possibly more upset with this. He's kind of easy to fix.
I'm about to say, that's another thing, too, because all of this fell to ruin because Apollo was all like, I don't like this. I'm going to ruin it.
Apollo is like, I will throw a romantic shit fit about not even my own romantic entanglements. I'll drag my sister into this, too. Apollo, by the way, notorious for being the guy who gets his lovers, male and female, the most fucked up. Like, Zeus and his constant cat and mouse dance with Hera is bad, but, like, if you want, like, pure suffering quotient, it's Apollo. Think about Asclepius, guys. But yeah, so we get this lovely aside scene where, like, Orion and the Artemis terminal are kind of talking. The terminal is like, yeah, my main unit's gonna fucking blow that island up when those guys are known. And he's like, yeah. We got even a flashback where, like, basically it seems like Orion basically makes, like, a peace treaty with Artemis where he's like, okay, I'm not gonna get involved so long as you don't get involved. And then she gets involved, and he's like, okay, all right, the kid gloves are coming off.
That's why you call him Paris a creepy Shota. That's mean. It's adorable. There's a sheep on his head.
Apollo,
yeah.
Discussion about a sheep. There's something wrong there. I already made that joke. I need to know. I'm a god. Oh, you shut up. You're a sheep. Don't you at me, Apollo. And Apollo's just like, I'm gonna at you. I even have a special sprite where I light up when I'm speaking. Quiet. Shush. Somebody bury this sheep. We're eating mutton tonight, boys. But yeah, so basically Artemis's terminal reveals that Artemis is gonna blow up that fucking island when it's confirmed that Calthea is in there and Odysseus has surrounded it. And Orion is like, the whole island? Even with the people on it? And she's like, yeah, even with the people. It's like that steals Super Orion's resolve, and he's like, that's not okay. It's not okay. So he decides to hop over and join us. Which he can do because he can walk on water, by the way. That's a mythologically attested power.
Listen, if you're related to Poseidon, you can do all sorts of cool bullshit on the water.
Yeah. So he pops over to he's planning on jogging over, but Artemis is like, well, I gotta go over there anyway. I'll just teleport you. And he's like, okay.
Because the terminals act autonomously. They're all connected, but
The terminal is basically Space Artemis's spotter drone, right? Right. Like she gives the coordinates, and then Artemis makes the shot. But we actually get Space Artemis' point of view later, and that's very interesting. That's another thing that in general happens a lot in this Lostbelt. We'll probably talk about it more in depth when we do our full dive, but there are a lot of cutaways to other characters' POVs in this.
We get a lot of Canis, Odysseus, a little bit of Odaime, Space Artemis.
Orion
Space Artemis is
but yeah, you're saying Space Artemis.
Space Artemis, you get like her mulligan. You see that, things aren't as grand as one would have seen, even for the gods. Yeah. Apparently, they've been around for a long, long time.
It's really boring being in space. She's just processing numbers,
and just slowly killing her emotions so she can cope with this shit.
How many things have I murdered in space? Damn. I mean, I think it's good to give her a sympathetic standpoint, but not one where you're going to be upset when inevitably Orion has to shoot her, because that is the thing that Orion says, right? He's like, I gotta do it.
That's the entire thing. Orion's not shooting down. One doesn't want to shoot down Artemis out of hate or revenge or malice. He's doing it out of love.
Yeah. He's like, I gotta stop her, and it's not okay, the stuff that happens. But yeah, so we cut back, we wake Jason up, we tell him we got the things, and Jason immediately figures out what the fuck is going on. He's like, Drake, you motherfucker. And he turns to you and explains, he's like, yeah, Drake is just, you just imagine Drake is just double finger guns. Sucks to be you, Jason. Get the fuck out of my bar. Do something with your life. Like, otherwise, Drake's not passive aggressive, but I almost feel like Drake basically being like, you can go in the ocean, motherfucker. You should be doing something.
Yeah, because I think this backfires a little bit, because I'm pretty sure Drake was thinking that the soldiers would come.
Yes, Odysseus would come,
and everyone could just make a jolly escape. And Odysseus wouldn't fuck with her because she's just one broken servant trying to run a fucking bar. Yeah, leave me alone.
But yeah, so Jason is like, well, we gotta move out now. We gotta tell people, and then I think Orion teleports in and is like, no, guys, you don't understand. Artemis is going to shoot the island.
And then the Artemis terminal was like, oh yeah, no, she's going to shoot on the island.
And then we're like, fuck. So, first of all, we do what the Master would do in every situation. We try and warn the people, hey guys, space laser, island, you're fucked. You gotta leave. And then shit is creepy.
And they're like, oh, the gods are paying attention to us, finally. And we're like,
these guys are just huge simps. I phrased it earlier as they're basically doing the equivalent of begging Artemis to step on them, right?
I mean, it's closer to begging Artemis to shoot them in the fucking head.
I mean, yeah, but it's just, yeah,
and they're like that. They're just like, oh god, they said death by a god is better than whatever existence they have or not, because it means that the god actually paid attention to them for that little minute.
This is where we learn about their deep existential crisis, right? Atlantis has been in stasis for forever. These people are exiles. They were not perfect enough for whatever is going on in Olympus. So they have been living on the literal ruins of their own society, and they do not get acknowledgement from the gods. Literally, nobody acknowledges they exist, except I suspect if you try to actually get into Olympus, Poseidon probably eats you or something. But they get no credit for the gods at all, other than they get their legacy, right? Mm-hmm. Their leftovers. So to these people, getting blown up by Artemis is literally the best way to go. Although this does remind me, by the way, of another reason why maybe we didn't want to take the nanomachines. It is clarified later that the locals can become Atlantean border patrol, and they take a lot of the Theos Kilnomia, but they give up some of their humanity to do so. So maybe we were a little worried about getting a little too robot-y ourselves. It doesn't seem to bother servants, so I don't know, but that's another thing.
Again, it's one of those things of there's not enough information.
Da Vinci should have just thrown us another line of explanation about why we're not taking it. But yeah, so then we're like, oh shit, these people aren't going to fucking leave. We have to get the fuck out. Mm-hmm. This is when Drake pulls her ultimate move, where she's just like, alright, Jason, I've got a plan. You need to get the fuck off this island. I hereby bequeath you my golden hind, which is locked up there.
Throw you the car keys.
Yeah, you can undo the docks on my ship, but I have one condition. You must take it and call it the Argo. And Jason is like, you sure about this? And Drake is like, I'm literally going to get blown up. Yes, I'm sure. Jason's like, okay, I understand. Drake is basically doing the whole dare to be badass. No. We're going to capture some Argonauts now, motherfucker. And Jason's like,
honestly, someone. Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know if that's.
I was going to say this. Well, someone thinks that it would have been better in character for Drake to die at sea, better to die at sea than die at fish out of water. Yeah, if they died at sea though, it would still be the Golden Hind and not the Argonaut though, because Drake has already been crippled and broken and has fought the good fight.
Yes.
Like, really fought the good fight. Jesus fucking Christ. Like I said, I beat the Lostbelt. I fought that boss. I'm like, Drake, how did you do this by yourself? Explain this.
Pioneer the stars.
Literally, I think that was literally it.
Well,
but
and it's discussed that Drake says she can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
The implication that she already used up the Counterforce already sent Francis Drake here, and Francis Drake used up all of her juice to get that fragment of Poseidon's core, which she throws to us. She also passes it like, you will need this MacGuffin.
Gives you a cool blue gem. It's like, yeah, I got that for Poseidon because I saw his big huge fuck me light. I was like, I'm gonna fuck that up.
And I was like, that sounds like plunder. I got hella cursed though. I also want to say, I mean, I suspect being obliterated in a giant wave of light with a bottle of booze is probably less painful than whatever awful punishment would have happened if she set foot in the ocean. You don't fuck with Greek curses and hubris. Like, I do not know what would have happened if like, it's very unlikely that it would have just been Drake falls over stone dead. Because that's not really how the Greek gods roll.
Listen, by the way, Drake already died at sea once. Time for something.
Yeah. So Drake stays behind in her bar and drinks. A great segment. This is our first, like, the first space laser shot is like pure like crisis punch, like, oh my god, what the fuck, stakes raising, right?
Yeah.
This one is I think our first like really big emotional beat.
Oh yeah, because you were talking to the character Timmy, who's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna become an Atlantean guard and visit other places, and he does a complete 180 when he hears about the goddess, shooting her lasers. Like, oh man, this is way better. And then at the last moment, he's all like, oh wait, maybe I should have gone with them. And then he just,
he has that thought of like, why was Corday so concerned? She seemed really upset about me. Yes, shit, I can't ask her. I'm about to get blown up. And then, like you said, he's like, oh, fuck, maybe I should have gone with him and just white out. Whoa. Drake,
you just go to
her bar. Wow. As everybody else, literally all the other characters on the island are cheering it on. And you guys barely escape in the new Argo. Jason sets the ground rules we talked about. I'm the captain now. You listen to me. You gotta do what I say. Go, go, go.
Oh, the new Argonauts?
Yeah. Fuck yeah. There also is another poignant moment is the terminal stays behind. She's like, yeah, Ryan, if I go with you, Big Brain's gonna know. We're literally plugged in. We're synced up. She's gonna know the target data moves. She's just gonna shoot you in a different spot. And that's I think that really crystallizes it for Ryan. He's like, this is fucked up. I gotta piggyback to this. And the island blows the fuck up. Literally is deleted from the map.
Just a hole.
And then we get a little bit of our oh shit dance, because like Odysseus is like, a ship fled just before we blew it the fuck up. That means they probably did. Damn it. Find them.
Send people out to all the islands.
And, Wodaime calls up and he's like, Canis, I need you to patrol. And Canis is like, alright. And then he's like, but not just you. I'm also sending some more buddies down there. And this is where Canis, like, starts their slide into not having a good time. Yeah. Because Canis is already like, oh, don't send those fucking kids. You send those fucking kids. God damn it. Like, the Euskuri show up. It's not good for anything going on, with Canis. Wodaime has a private conversation in a second. I think it's when you get to the next island. But Wodaime has a private conversation with Odysseus where he's like, hey, did you get my code? And Odysseus is like, yeah, I got your code, nerd. What the fuck are you doing? And he's like, listen, we gotta have a private conversation. I don't trust Canis not to go herring off on their own and punch Chaldea. So don't tell Canis about this. I'm coming down there. When you find out where they are, call me direct. I'll just get teleported. And then they have this great moment where Wodaime hangs up the phone, and you just imagine the camera doing the pan, and Canis is standing right there. And
it's like, God damn it.
Odysseus is like, I promised not to tell anybody. He forgot to double check if anybody else was here. Because he sent all his soldiers away. If Canis was there, Canis would not have gone away. Yeah. And this does actually, literally, in the great irony, sends Canis tearing off to fight Chaldea personally, because this is where Canis brings up, yeah, that motherfucker told me he only has to fight them twice. So I'm going to make sure they're good fucking fights, damn it. And goes off. So we go to the next island.
It might be Hephaestus, because we do meet.
Yeah, we do go to his temple there, so it might be Hephaestus. Hephaestus for the rest of us.
Yeah, it has to be Hephaestus, because they talked about like how his unit was damaged and stuff.
Okay, yeah, so we go to Hephaestus Island, and this is where we get a lot of lore drop, right?
Right.
So, for two reasons. Yes, Odysseus does say he feels bad because literally everything in Atlantis is coming to kick our ass. It's like, I kind of almost feel sorry for those guys. Anyway, it's Hecate Island. That's right. Yeah, Hecate.
Oh, yeah, because Jason was all like, I have a bad feeling about this island.
This island is not so good. Which is accurate if you know anything about Hecate. But yeah, so we go to Hecate Island, and we start getting exposition. Is this where they say that there's a... No, I don't think we run into the assassin until after this fight, right?
No, yeah, because the assassin's in the temple.
I did all of this in a rush to complete section 11, so this stuff's going to get a little jumbled, but we'll try and run through for... Basically, you go to another temple, you get another shitload of exposition.
Yes. You learn about the fucking Hephaestus, the nanomachine son. You're all like, Nemo's all like, ah, yes, it's good shit. Give me all of it.
Yeah. With this, I can not only remake the Nautilus, I can not only make the Phantom Nautilus, I can innovate. I can make a whole new ship we're going to need. It's that good shit. You also find out about, do some strategic planning on how we have to eliminate Artemis. You have to shoot her down. It's a fucking kilometer-long spaceship. Actually, I think the achievement rounds up, it's a click and a half. Energy levels, whatever. So we'll have to shoot it down. It seems invincible. There's only one way we're going to do it, and Orion is like, yeah, let's make that. I mean,
well, Orion's not like he's going to do it. They're like, I don't think they actually have a plan right now because...
Well, they talk about how, they would need somebody with long range, and Orion is like, that's probably what I'm looking for. Later, they find out about the Divine Construct rule, and he's kind of like, okay. Then I guess I don't have to. We'll get Achilles to do it, because we mentioned that Achilles is right around here.
But there are two things that happen here. I can't wait, because Jason gets a letter.
Yes.
Because on these temples, apparently someone figured out how to fucking download information into their brain.
And record data.
Yes. And so Jason gets a letter from Medea, and he's all like, shit. Jason really does have a lovely relation with Medea. It's interesting.
She's very useful. But, she did a lot for Jason, but also he knows how this shit ends. And he remembers Okeanos, so he's like, okay, you're helpful, but damn. So yeah, we get the exposition, we get our next juice of the nano machine, we juice up Orion with them and stuff. And he basically is like, okay, I've remembered now because of this letter. Basically, we've moved on, but Medea was part of the group that advanced ahead of us, so they've left us clues that we need to be aware of. That's a couple islands from now. I think that's on it's later. Like I said, my memory is jumbled a little bit on this, but
if you guys don't mind, I can pull up the map, and we can try to remember this. It might be a little different than the map you've seen. I think I'll do that. I think you'll be fine.
People can hide their view. I did the pregame, so I know the rough outline of the bosses and stuff. So I know the general order of events, but as always, the details are unclear. But basically, we go to a couple different islands. This is where we start this kind of weird Memento shit, or some other of those amnesia-based movies where to maintain OPSEC, Jason's memories were edited, but he decided to stay behind. So Medea explains that you guys have got to go to the next island and get more intel and keep going and keep finding servants. You got to look for the servants that are left behind and go through all this business. We're moving on to Olympus, like you guys already know. So
okay, I remember we stopped off at Deimos Hecate, but then we went to Deimos Island.
Yeah, so Hecate Island was first, and then you can see the whole, and then Deimos Island was next. So the first one, that's where you get the letter, and he's like, okay, we got to go.
And I think Deimos is where we meet Chiome.
Yes. But I think Deimos is... We flee Deimos after the incident, I believe.
I believe so.
Because, like I said, I don't believe Chiome is present when we fight Canis. Because basically, we get the plot that we're moving on. We know that we've got to meet up with Hephaestus stuff. Dude, Hephaestus got a blacksmith. I should review this myself. Like I said, I crammed all this in a blur. We get some data dump from Hephaestus somewhere in here.
Because I'm pretty sure we go to Thetis, but not Thetis. We go to Hecate, and the only thing of note there was that Medea left a letter that says we have to find more people, and that there's someone at it gives us to our next location or something. I can't remember exactly. So that's why we start heading to Deimos, maybe / Thetis Island or something.
Yeah, it's Deimos Island. I remember because Deimos Island is where we meet Hephaestus, because that's the autonomous temple where Chiome is hiding, and she's hiding in a cave, and we help her out. She's like, what the fuck happened here? Because that temple is defended because Hephaestus' brains are stolen. Well, not his brains, part of his data is recorded. And this is where we get a reveal, Medea reveals herself in the hologram, Kentucky reveals herself in the hologram, and there's several other servants who are basically hey, we've all gone ahead to Olympus. We are leaving this so that when the Master gets here, they can follow our trail and get ready to get past the rings of defense.
Yes.
And we have allies, and Hephaestus talks to us and gives us a big boy lore dump. Explains how the gods of Olympus came here, they all fell into their roles, but they stayed distant from humanity. Locals, the indigenous life forms were just kind of part of their building the world. I think this is where I think this is one of the first times I brought this. I specifically looked this up. This is one of the big times when Zeus is referred to as the demiurge.
Yes.
This is a term from Platonic philosophy originally, and then later Gnosticism. But the demiurge is an artisan-like figure who is responsible for fashioning and maintaining the physical universe. Not necessarily creating everything, but shaping it and making sure all the stuff works correctly, which I think is a very interesting way to discuss Zeus, right, as the chief god.
Right.
Like, he didn't make the world, he didn't make Earth, right, because they arrived from space, the Atlantean gods. But he is in charge of making sure everything runs smooth, and he's really buddy. But we learned that originally there were 12 Olympians here. Now there are 6. Why? Because at some point they figured out about this proper human history thing, and six of the Olympians sided with us, sided against their own Lostbelt with proper human history. I believe that list was Apollo, Hestia, Athena, Hades,
Ares,
and Ares. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Ares has got to work. He would be much happier in a world of human conflict than the other way around, right? Because you'll notice this Lostbelt is super fucking peaceful, and they were destroyed. We learned, for instance, Poseidon has basically gone crazy. He's gone sea mad, so he just kind of rambles around the ocean fighting people. So we get a big lore dump. This is all very important. And I think it's very interesting if you think about those gods inside of this, right? Like, not like, no, well, actually, I would say Demeter is probably not a soft goddess. That was that part where she tried to kill everyone.
Yeah, Demeter is kind of harsh, honestly.
I mean, I think the game Hades has a really harsh interpretation of her, but, like, Demeter is the nature heart's goddess. Like, she definitely takes after her grandmama Gaia in that sense, right? Like, you know.
As like, Demeter probably is someone who probably thinks that a bunch of fucking humans running around fucking shit up is a horrible idea.
Yeah. No, just grow crops, live your life kind of a thing. Simple stuff. Hera obviously would side with Zeus even though they have their problems. Artemis is kind of, a wilderness goddess. Like, she doesn't necessarily hang out with people.
Artemis probably didn't actually care one way or another and just went with probably, like, whatever Zeus
But as I brought up, Apollo would care because, remember, he was a cultural name. If he was aware of proper human history, he would understand that that's kind of his deal is humans and their culture, right? He's also associated with medicine traditionally and healing. Hestia is goddess of the hearth. She's not a big deal. By the way, shout out to Nasu canonically ignoring Dionysus. Makes sense in this context, though. This adoption of Dionysus was later. Athena has always been fairly tight with us. She is one of the least jerk-ass gods, probably because we get a lot of our culture from Athens, and she was their culture hero deity. Ares is interesting because Ares is usually portrayed as a huge asshole. He is Hephaestus' brother, though, and also, like I said, it would make sense for him to be on the side of humans in a conflict because,
Listen, gods don't fight wars, really.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Humans fight wars. We had to get Gomachia, but that's about it.
Yeah, and similarly, of course Hades would suck. Hades. Like, he is one of the most reasonable and professional gods in the mythos. He, like, literally never fucks with anybody unless they try to fuck with the rules of life and death or try to bang his wife. That is the only time he ever gets pissed off at them.
And honestly, even when there are people trying to wander in the underworld, he's usually kind of lenient on them.
If people walk up in the underworld, he's like, "Oh, hey, you're just visiting? Okay, visiting hours for so-and-so." Like, even with
take this trial.
Yeah. Even with Orpheus, he's like, Orpheus plays so beautifully that it moves him and his wife to tears. And he's like, okay, it's against the rules, but you take her back. Just remember, don't look back. And then you just know with him and Persephone were there. It's like, damn it, look back. I was.
What is with people? Like, rules are rules. You can only bend them, not break them.
Like, I know that in some tellings he's the one who complains to Zeus about Asclepius reviving the dead, but like I said, that's going against the natural order. Like, Hades is like, well, bro, you gotta do something about this kid. He's fucking with the natural order. I can't bring people down here and then let them back out. It's not how it works. And then, Zeus deletes Asclepius from the lightning bolt. I can just imagine Hades being like, no, I meant ask him to stop, you moron, giant mook. Just tell him not to do it. Don't blow him up. Zeus was like, but I like blowing.
And then him and Poseidon be like high five, like, yeah, we're awesome. And Hades just like,
because Poseidon's got earthquakes. Yeah. Being water and earthquakes, Poseidon is not a necessarily nice name. Also, he has a couple of sexual assaults under his belt. Like, with Hades, there's only the one, and that usually gets softened the further away from the original hymns we get.
I mean, they stayed married, and...
Yeah. Like, there is an implication in some of the really old, like, Homeric hymns that it's, like, what would have been typical at the time. Like, Hades rolls up and is like, hello, you are my wife now, let us go to the bedroom. Which is not consensual, by the way, that's not how that works. But at the very least, they seem to have an oddly happy relationship where they don't cause problems. It's so good that Persephone is willing to stay most of the time. She only splits her time 50-50 with Mom because Demeter is literally trying to kill the world. She's fucking with the biosphere, man. Climate change.
Oh, wait.
But
yeah, no,
so
like
this is a really interesting point, and I could talk about this for hours. We should not, because we've been going for 4.5 hours already. And we
what did I say? 6.
We haven't even done the teach me yet. We will though. We'll do it. I need to get it out of the way. But like,
probably take another break after
the big conclusion, the big turn in 11 though is first step 1, boss fight with Cadus. Cadus shows the fuck up and is like, "Hello, Jason. I am murdering you now." And Jason talks big smack because Cadus talks big smack. And like I said, Jason really hammers it home. Like he calls Cadus a masochist and a bitch, and he basically triggers Cadus. Like, that's the thing that you're not supposed to do.
You know, talks like honestly, a lot of people have been pushing Cadus' button, like, because I remember the twins were all like talking about how she received the love of the sea god, and I'm just all like, no, that was not love, baby.
Yeah, that's not how that works. But the twins seem to be either they are the Lostbelt Dioscuri, or they downloaded the Lostbelt data, so like they don't seem to give a shit about this. Naturally, God, they're perfect. There's no problems. And Cadus is like this is the discussion point where like Jason calls Cadus a traitor. She's like, "Fuck you, I'm not a traitor. I hate these assholes."
And this is where we talk about the masochist, about like, oh, but you sure love wagging your tail for them, and Cadus is just all like, just goes red eyes, and just all like, oh shit, it's on.
I mean, like, once again, to talk about how Jason's an asshole, like, people have a bad perception of Cadus. She is a trash talker, goes out of their way and everything, but at the same time, Jason is literally, like I said, actual trigger warning. He is throwing Cadus' history with sexual assault back at her, right?
Well, I mean, this is also the point that, Cadus is also, throwing shade at his best bro and friend, who literally sacrificed his life to save everyone. So it's like, no, Cadus ain't squeaky clean either, and honestly...
No, but, like, it's why it's so intense. I said they fight like only old friends can. And I think it's interesting talking about, like, some of Cadus' back and forth relationship here with these guys.
Like, honestly, believe it or not, I dislike Cadus a lot less after all this. I really do.
It's very humanizing for Cadus.
Yes.
And Jason even brings up something else important later, but I love this quote. He's talking about the relationship of heroes, like the Trojan War, for instance. He says explicitly, victims become victimizers, victimizers become victims.
Yeah. I love that line. It's so true.
Our society is not cut and dry. It is perfectly normal for, like, if you are under pressure to turn back, and if you cause harm will be caused to you, basically. This is just the Lostbelt first impression block. And we have this whole discussion, like I said, it's really humanizing for Cadus. So Cadus gets us in a knockdown drag out, and it's an unwinnable battle. You can't win it. It procs when Cadus literally gets the proc. What did you do? Because Jason, not accidentally, but Jason hits Cadus with the bit of Poseidon's coin, and actually injures Cadus. Because remember, in Myth, after the incident, to characterize Poseidon as an asshole, as he's laying there smoking a cigarette, he's like, "Was it good for you too, babe? I had a great time. What do you want?" And Cadus is like, "Hello, I would like to never suffer harm again, asshole."
Well, if I remember correctly, it was all like, I would like to be a man, so I never experienced this.
Well, yeah, I think it was specifically, I would never like to experience this situation again. And so Poseidon is like, "I'll do you a 2-for-1. And so Cadus becomes Canis, E-S. And also Poseidon is like, "But it was so, I had such a good time, babe. Bonus, invincible skin." So yes, Poseidon has a noble phantasm of being indestructible. In fact, Cadus dies after being with the Argonauts, retires because of centaurs that Cadus murdered in the blood feud because of centaurs. Bury Cadus under logs and suffocate him because he cannot be pierced. Take that how you will. But yeah, so Jason figures it out, and then he throws it to Orion. He's like, "You're a son of Poseidon. You'll do this, by the way." Super agitates Cadus. Cadus is not okay with this giant muscle man. And then we have a fight. We have our actual boss fight. It's all 3 bars. It's a big deal. It's not super hard because basically my story support Super Orion lasted just long enough to do his job and break that first HP bar, and then he exploded.
I think that was the same for me too, honestly. But once you break that invincibility, it becomes a fairly easy fight.
It becomes a normal Lancer fight. You just go watch out for negating the 2 NP pips, but no actual NP. It's just extra attack. Like, if that was Cadus' actual NP, that fight would have been a lot fucking harder. I'm pretty sure Cadus is AoE too. I don't remember. I think this is where Sigurd and also Morgan shows up, trying to get her to bottom 10. And then, by the way, this was surprising to me. Like, I knew it was the final fight with Cadus for this Lostbelt, but we do the whole knockdown drag out, and then we cut to the end, and damn, dude, we fucked Cadus up.
They actually gave you Sprite arc. This is just like, oh,
Cadis is like beat bloody, her clothes are falling off. Yeah, AoE Buster. Like, bloody nose, bloody lip, and everything. Red eyes.
Leaning heavily on the spear.
Yeah, leaning over, and you guys are fine because once Super Orion had the secret weakness, he was good. Yeah, I'm very glad Cadis did not. That would have been brutal if Cadis was firing an AoE every 2 turns. Jesus Christ. And me without my proper mash first skill. Cadis gets beat to hell, and then you're about to finish it, and Jason is like, "Now, Master, I know you're a humanitarian type, but Cadis is really fucking dangerous, so I'm a stab him now." And you're kind of like, "Yeah, okay, do it." And then things go bad for a lot of people. Well, so I believe that in the first we get a call from Da Vinci. Rudier actually is like, "Holy shit, long range spatial distortion incoming," and then Wodami teleports to us. It's just like, "What's up?"
Hello, I am here. How you doing?
And Cadis is like, "Motherfucker, you show up now," and he's like, "You're in a bad way. Hello, Dioscuri," and then they show up, and they're like, "Can you guys take Cadis somewhere safe?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to touch your fur. Throw me blood." And he's like, "I repeat, can you go somewhere and take care of Cadis?" And they're like, "Oh, I get you." And even now, Cadis is like, "Okay, I don't like you. Don't touch me." Like, you really start through this whole sequence of events, you start to feel bad for Cadis because, like, Cadis is an asshole, but mythologically speaking, Cadis is not any worse than any of our other Greek heroes we're friends with, right?
Like, I'm sorry. You start to realize Cadis is only this mad because literally forced to serve God and been collared by this dude who's basically treating her more as a tool than anything else.
She does not have the best master-servant relationship with Wodaime, and it makes sense. The limited mythology about Cadis I've read was that after becoming an invincible dude, Cadis was kind of big dick on campus. Like, he rolled with the Argonauts, he, like, took over a nation, and, like, fought centaurs and stuff. Like, he did typical Greek, adventure hero things. But is known for that bad relationship with Poseidon. So, yeah, of course, Cadis would be upset, one, to be summoned as a woman, and there's mythological reason for that. Like I said, there's a couple of interpretations we'll see when Cadis actually becomes summonable, but also, I mentioned this before, Cadis is referenced a couple of times as a female shade in the underworld. Like, Cadis appears in the underworld, but again, spelling is different as well. So, there's some, like I said, there's some mythological basis for it, but naturally Cadis would be a little bit miffed. And then, what does Wodaime do? But basically, like, this is an assumption. I have not gotten that far in the story. I am assuming what Wodaime did is he, in addition to using Cadis as kind of his advanced scout because they can also walk on water, it seems like Wodaime is basically, because Poseidon is now mindless, he's just kind of rampaging around pointlessly. Wodaime is basically employing Cadis as his Poseidon substitute. Like, just rolling around on the waves, taking care of sea threats, which would obviously give Cadis the agitation. Cadis literally doesn't want to go hang out in Olympus. Like, she's down with boots on the ground, she's like, "I don't want to go to Olympus. I hate that." So, like, yeah, you start to feel for, like, Cadis lashes out constantly because horrible workplace stress. Yeah. But yeah, so Wodaime has showed up to this.
And boy, how does it fight us.
Yeah, so this was the fight I alleged, I talked about. It's infamous because the man has 5 HP parts.
Listen. Like, how badass are you that you have a battle sprite as a Unimaster, and you have your own NP? Like, what the actual fuck, Wodaime? Or as I screamed in that fight, "Whoa, Wodaime!"
This is what got me busted out like 4 hours ago, by the way. Yeah, but it's so on point. The man not only is a boss fight, he's the first human to do that, other than, Yume Ren, who is not a human. She is a elemental. That was her flip. No, this guy's just that fucking...
Literally busts out, he does the fucking Atmosphere chant that, you hear at the beginning of the fucking Lostbelt trailer. It's that one. You know it. Plays the same fucking music, and when he MPs, he has an MP, it's called Grand Order something.
Grand Order Atmosphere.
Yeah. Honestly, this gives me hope that maybe one day the Master will have a sprite and be able to do his own Grand Order MP. Like, that's a hope I've had in my heart for a long time.
That would be a really cool way to, like, finish the, like, final boss is, like, you here on screen have to do it. Like imagine if they, and honestly, I would imagine that if they did it now, that's probably how they would have done Human King Gatia. Like, just you master skills and, like, animations of you punching with the shield or something. Anyway. But the man has boss subtitles, like you said, he does the chant, there's a special arena, he has it. Purely fight-wise, just marvel at what this guy does. This was 5 turns of buff block.
we literally went to the final boss fight immediately, and it kicked our ass.
Yeah, the final boss shows up early. He's like, hello, I'll take care of this now. He goes through all the things, does the full bonanza, right? He gets Pierce Invul, Death Ignore, he prevents you from doing buffs. There is literally nothing you can do to stop this man.
It's so terrifying.
And like I said, he's got, I think, the largest HP pool in bars in the game. By the way, people have actually exploited this. They've done some super K-scope game hack stuff, do extra super damage to him. If you break his HP bars anyway, he just fires his NP. Even if you try to drop him, even if you exploit the game and use all his HP, that just makes him speed up the clock and fire his NP and do Grand Order Enemy Sphere, which has a whole fucking animation. Not just a little bit of an animation, a whole fucking animation.
We're talking Solomon tiers of just talking and animation, and the stars are aligning. The whole entire heavens is now a magic circle. What the actual fuck?
And then it shoots down at you, and you fucking get blown up, and then the battle just ends, and then it cuts to the cutscene, and the cutscene is just, you're getting fucking mobbed by shooting stars. It sucks. Everybody is blasted. Servants are taken out, you are laid out. This is where, again, we make a comment about Foe, right? Nobody can do jack shit. Mash can't even tank this one, everybody is just laid the fuck out. And he's like, okay, well, you're done. Hey, I'd love to sit here and chat. By the way, Mash had a moment where she's like, hey, buddy, why are you doing it? He's like, why?
I do like it how, he was about to say, oh, we ain't gonna talk philosophy, but you're like, no, I have to ask a question. And before you ask it, Mash is just all like, why are you doing it?
Well, yeah, your response is there's so many questions. You're asking hypothetical questions that are answered by the very next bit. We'll talk about the exposition. They explain it. But anyway, he drops all of this on you, and he's about to do it again, and, you have, a moment. You see the priestess, light flash before your eyes. Shit's really fucked. And then a guy shows up. It's the guy. It's that guy.
You know the guy.
Yeah, this is even more so than Wodaime coming down from the mountain to kick your ass. This is probably the big one. The man from Chaldea shows up. And it's not just, we don't just hear about him. We don't just see him from behind. There's a huge wind that just, wipes away all of Wodaime's beechcraft, and, his hood blows off, and he takes a look at us. Boy, is that a fucking moment.
And the thing I appreciate about this moment is you only need a moment, and you know it's not the same person.
Yeah. Well, also, I would say this even from the sprite, you can tell. I'm pretty sure those eyes are gold.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's human convenience.
Oh, yeah. But I do love what he says about, Wodaime's all why are you interfering? And Gates is just well, the foreign god saved your life once. It's only fair if someone saves their life once.
Yeah, he basically brings up, the cosmic scale balance. You only survived through outside intervention once, happenstance. The forces are only balanced if I show up and save them. And Wodaime's can't argue with that. If I fought you, that would use up one of my 2 fights. And I just love the emotion of this moment. Both you and Mash are immediately Doctor. And he just kind of looks at you and he's like, man, you guys suck still. You gotta get better at this. This place is tough, man. This is a hard business. You gotta man the fuck up and get in here. I just observe, okay? But you need to do some real shit. Anyway, I saved your life. I am going to completely withdraw not only from this fight, but from this Lostbelt. I'll see you again. Try not to die. Bye, nerds. Boy, talking about heavy hitters. This motherfucker, showing up, just being hey.
Again, this is one of those things of things that just make me feel insignificant. It's all Wodaime shows up, slaps my shit. Gates shows up, keeps our shit from being permanently slapped in. And I'm just all
basically changes the variables just enough that Wodaime has to retreat, because Wodaime has predicted he only has 2 fights. And then he's got and so he's I can't waste a fight, I'm gonna fuck it up if I gotta go. Anyway, bye.
I have a plan.
Yeah, no, he says, he's also straight up hey, I've observed this Lostbelt already, don't give a shit about these guys, they're fucked. You gotta do what you gotta do, you gotta fight gods, guys, get on there, it's fine. But also, he drops another big plot bomb. I am very glad to actually finally have the dialogue for this, because this is a fucking thing that people have been going on for 2 years. He tells you, don't tell anybody on the Shadow Border I was here, okay? They can't see us right now. Don't tell them anything. One of those people is not what they see. This is kind of a big deal. Mostly you hear this brought up because people are oh my god, Sherlock Holmes is the foreigner card. I don't know if it's a perfect one-to-one. We're not denying that something weird is going on with Sherlock, right? Because Surtur says that. He's got some... Sherlock Holmes is not a pure servant. So what exactly is going on with him isn't known. Is that a commentary about phantom spirits? Is that, something else going on in there? I gotta say... Go ahead.
I find that hilarious because wasn't there like some stuff in part 1 where people were talking about like you shouldn't trust that fucking Romani character? Didn't Sherlock say that?
Yeah, Sherlock told you to. Sherlock warned you because Dr. Romani, didn't exist until 2005, right?
Right.
He warns you to be careful because his records aren't accurate. He's not recorded. So, like, I could see some of that suspicion going back and forth. I personally would like to say at this point, I feel like Sherlock being the mole is almost too cliche. Oh no, you mean the helpful detective who was helping you all this time was bad, actually? Like, that would be almost as much of an obvious sell as, like, you mean Gordolf was only pretending to be incompetent and he was actually evil the whole time? Like, those are the two big ones. I think it would be much more punchy if, like, say, the only reason why Munier was a character was because he was secretly the villain.
Like, honestly, Munier is a little weird, honestly.
I would also say it would be a way more fate-appropriate gut punch if, say, for instance, something was wrong with Small Da Vinci. Like, if
something is wrong with Small Da Vinci.
Well, that's true. She talks about her painting stuff and giving the nanomachines makes her feel better. But, like, I mean, if, like, she was subverted by the enemy somehow, right? Like, that would be the ultimate, like, tragedy, which is way more fate. So, I don't know for sure what's up there. Or it could just be as simple as, like, somebody on the team is, like, would have problems if, and I mean, it could actually be Da Vinci. Like, I can imagine that Da Vinci, like immediately Da Vinci Small throws, like, a huge hissy fit if she learned out that Human King Gaetia is running around pretending to be Roman, right? Like, that would be like, alright, this motherfucker, where'd he go? I'm gonna go kick his shins right now, right? I can see that.
Honestly, to be fair, like, when that line happened, I didn't think of it as necessarily the main crew. I actually thought about it as Lost Crew now, because I've been making side eyes at Charlotte and Man Ricardo this entire time. So when I heard that line, I thought he was referring to maybe one of those two, maybe someone in this.
The problem was those guys were with you on the Argo. Yeah. So they saw you. They saw you interact.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. That's what I took that as originally. So,
but I do think there is something to be said for it being an ambiguous line. It's not 100% sure. I believe he's referring to the Shadow Border crew of, like, don't call them villain. There's somebody who's, like, not what they seem. But or does he say they're not trustworthy? What's his exact line? I gotta double check. I can't remember. It's not like, hey, he doesn't say, I don't believe he uses the word traitor or anything, right? Correct. Like, he doesn't straight up say, like, hey, one of those guys is gonna fuck your shit up. So, like, there's some wiggle room. And then he just fucking goes. He's just like, alright, I have to go now. My planet needs me. Bye. I'm probably gonna be in Lostbelt soon. Conan Sky was with us for about a week, I think. Cool.
Honestly, and real talk, I don't think Conan Sky would have pulled off any bullshit unless she was paid to do it. Work for free? That's not her ethos.
So, not to be trusted. Okay. Yeah, so that leaves a lot of wiggle room. Not to be trusted could just mean that they are grossly incompetent, or they could be a double agent, or just they have their own personal agenda. There's a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of fun stuff that we're not going to talk about because that's in later science. Well, yeah, Human King Gaetia is...
I think Gaetia is going around seeing humans for the first time and observing them.
Well, he is observing and helping people, but he talks about his motivation as just like, I am trying to figure out what does these humans do, and are these... I almost feel like he's, like, sizing up if these Lostbelts are worth replacing us, and he comes to the same conclusion we do every time, which is like, now this place fucking sucks. Like, that seems to be, like, what his angle is.
Now that he has become... Yeah, now that he has, experienced being a human, he wants to, look upon other humans and judge them with his own eyes.
And he's not, like, he seems like he's not mad at us. He's just disappointed.
Yeah.
Like, he clearly understands that from his point of view, we are in the moral right? Like, we are fighting for our survival. This is something that comes up later with another character. Is like, it doesn't matter if your fight is right or wrong. You are fighting for your survival. You're already in it. Just do it, right? Like, that seems also similar to Gaetia's position.
Gaetia's all like, Gaetia's gonna probably have a hearty chuckle if he sees us slip and fall in the mud, but, he doesn't want us dead.
Yeah.
He's like, haha, dumbass.
Well, and I mean, this is the speech he gives in the Lostbelt trailer. He's like, you guys kind of fucked up because you weren't ready for this, but now you gotta do it. You gotta fight. And I find it interesting, but I do believe this is paving our way for a Solomon-style character to be summoned, because he is active. Like, basically, think about it this way: Human King Gaetia is fulfilling Merlin's role. He shows up occasionally to give us advice, and he gets more and more involved each time, right? Like, right. America was chapter 5, right? 6 was Camelot,
yes.
7 was Bell.
Yes.
Yeah, so in America, Merlin showed up briefly to stop Ku Alder from killing us. Remember? Everybody? Remember that? Like 2 years ago? Or 4 years ago? 3, actually, technically. But you know what I mean, right? Like, it was a couple years back. So, I think we are running the parallels, so it's very likely that this is building up to, like, maybe Lostbelt 7 will be so fucked up that JT will be like, okay, fuck, I gotta help you in person, or it might be, like, a weird thing. I don't know exactly how as a playable unit they'll characterize this, right?
Right.
Because, like, will it be Gatia? Will it be Solomon? Will it be, will he be called Dr. Roman? I do like that we have this moment of just, like, when we see he's wearing Dr. Roman's face, we're like, I want to tell him so many things, and then I realize it's it's the other guy, basically. And you and Mash have this great heart-to-heart. And, like, talking about how there is just so many things we want to say to him. I do. I mean, I felt it in that moment. When the music is playing, I'm like, no, I feel it. There's a lot of emotion here. This is a great touch. So yeah, this is like a really big deal. You were absolutely right. 11 is the turn, right? Like, so much fucking shit happened. We talked about it earlier, but we get the alleged demise of Canis. The Dioscuri literally take her to another island, stab her and throw her in the sea, and she just floats to the bottom. It's like, I'm very angry right now. There was so much more I wanted to do.
Cursing everything, desiring more power. Then you hear the command seal.
Yes. You hear that command seal sound and it just ends. But also we have an exposition of, like, how, like, people are, like, literally Goldorf is like, okay, it is, I think actually Sherlock drops us a great line where he's like, barring a few exceptions, it is not possible for a modern mage to fight a servant. And those exceptions are very notable. We're not talking about Australia. And Goldorf says, if he was actually that strong normally, he would have gotten a sealing designation. And then you can be like, sealing designation? And he's like, oh, let me explain. This is actually relevant. He talks about how, basically, the Mage Association thinks you're so important, you're to be studied, basically, or preserved, and that means you can't do your normal research. So most mages don't like it. They run away off, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But he does say that it is possible to remove it. And he's like, oh, I was in policies. Don't you worry. I'd get you off even if you were. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about that. You're such a scrub mage.
Again, I vibrate at that.
Yeah. There's many ways that could go. They go through the whole thing, and they're like, why didn't you just do all this? And his theory is like, well, it's good because he uses a knowledge of astromancy, which goes all the way back to the original Chaldeans. Chaldea is not just a random name, by the way. That was a Mesopotamian culture. Let's see if I can figure out what it was. Chaldea existed between the late 10th or early 9th century and mid-6th century BCE, before they were absorbed into the native Babylonian population. So Chaldea is a territory in Mesopotamia that was pre-Babylonian. But, so they talk about, like, and I do believe they did actually, we know that they had a history of astrology and, like, reading stars and stuff. We've got some star magic from that time. We also know the Babylonians had a lot of star guides and recognized a lot of constellations. But basically, he's got this heritage of magecraft that is connected to the heavens. In the Age of Man, all the Animesphere style of magecraft can do is predict the future and observe the world, right?
Right.
But in the Age of Gods, space is different. Literally, space is different. They talk about, like, layers of the world, the base, sky, heavens, and stuff, right?
Right.
So, like, in mythological context, the heavens is just another layer of the world that Wodaimi is plugged into, and so he is literally able to tap into the magical power of space, the power of planetary alignments and shit, and turn space into a magic circuit, which makes him freakishly powerful.
Very powerful. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm just thinking about it.
But it only works in the context of this Lostbelt, and they even say straight up, this is probably why the Foreign got picked him. Literally, he has the exact perfect style of magecraft for it to work with, because he can be the most powerful guy in the world if we do this Age of Gods thing. And I like that when we talk about his motivation, he's like, I already told you. I explained it at the beginning. Everything we have ever done is fucking wrong. I am going to fix it. I am the last human. And I am sure that Wodaime has a perfectly reasonable explanation for his plan and what's going on with him.
But also, fuck you, Oda.
I mean, yeah, fuck you. Fuck you, buddy. First of all, fuck you for shooting meteors at me, man. Damn. Was that necessary? All that phenomenal cosmic power, you probably could have just, like, teleported me back to the storm wall or something, done other things, but, like, you're gonna fucking drop meteors on me? I get, like, he wanted to do the personal touch. He said he respected us that much, but also it's like, damn, dude, try hard much? But honestly, that's probably what it is. He probably has a really try-hard plan where he's gonna, like, fix humanity, and it's not gonna fucking work.
Yeah, no, actually, this was something interesting to talk about when they were talking about Wodaime earlier. They said he was the genius, but Matt was like, wait, isn't David the genius? And Da Vinci was all like, no, they're both geniuses in both kind of ways. But Wodaime is someone who can basically do anything that's already possible, but David is someone who can make the impossible possible.
Yes. David is a like classical true genius, he is going to do something new with the world. Whereas Wodaime is a genius in the sense that he is a master of every art that exists. Like, he is skilled in all branches of magecraft and everything. So I think that is very interesting about how, like, Wodaime is in Lostbelt 5, right? Like, that's right. We're dealing with him before Beryl and David. Well, I think we end up dealing with him before David. We don't actually go to Olympus yet. We'll have to see what Beryl does to shenanigans himself out of this problem, right?
Something happened.
As currently, literally every crypter but David is chilling in the Legion of Doom, getting drunk in Olympus. Where's my like OVA insert of just like Beryl, Pepe, and Kadok on the town getting smacked? Kadok drowning his sorrows about getting involved with royalty. But yeah, this is just a great sequence of this. I love that it's so fucking out of context that we literally have a no battle pip after this to be like, what the fuck just happened? Somebody explain it to me. And we do. And then there's a lot more stuff that keeps fucking happening. But we are at 5 hours. We should cut that off.
Yeah.
And we will do Teach Me because a lot of it is actually, I think, relevant to some of this stuff, but hopefully that'll be faster. But we are going to take another intermission. You might hear it. My voice is dying a little bit. I'm going to get some water, get up and walk around. So I'm going to pause the audio now, and when we're back, we'll wrap up with Teach Me and final stuff. We may or may not have more thoughts about Wodaime, because the impression I got is that he is straight up fucked up out of the story now. Like, he's just like, nope. So you want to see it.
You know, I did my bit. I fought my one fight. We out.
I only got one more left. Gotta go. Don't want to fuck with my prediction of the future. Somebody's gonna fuck.
I mean, I'm pretty sure his future predicting ability is now out for fucking wazoo right now.
Probably. And that's probably why he doesn't want to do another fight, because that would fuck up his plan. But I'm gonna guess that somebody else is gonna fuck up his plan.
How dare?
We'll see.
Anyway,
like we have a whole Lost Book dive in there. But yeah. Time for the full spoiler Lostbelt 5 Part 1 deep dive. Didgeridoo. Are you ready to go so deep you go inside the center of the earth? I feel like we're mixing up our Jules Verne's here. Anyway.
A little bit.
This is our full spoilers, no breaks, Nemo doesn't believe in breaks moment. So this is your final last warning before we spoil fucking everything.
We're going to spoil everything. We're starting basically from section 12, where we left off, and going all the way to the end.
At the very least, we have jotted down names of all the segments, so and some notes on most of them. So we should be able to keep our pace pretty fast.
Like I said, next time we do this, I'm definitely going to be more on top of writing my notes down as I go.
We probably should, especially with it being Olympus. We should probably do that. That's going to be another humdinger of an episode. So, Lucky, you wrote most of these notes. Do you want to take the lead here?
I will take the lead here. Like I said, I can say it with my nuance. So we're going to start right off. Section 12, 3 battles on Estrella Island. Jeez, I wonder what happens. So, okay, Wodaime is horrifying, but enough of that. We need to get to Thetis Island. There's someone to pick up. Hey, look, there's another island. Is it important? No, let's pass it. Only we're in a Greek hero story, so you ain't allowed to do that.
Correct.
So basically, we show up, or like Jason's literally like, what is that island? Fuck it. But, a mysterious shadow shows up and be like, excuse you, you cannot pass me. And if you don't, I'll sink your fucking boat. So Jason's just like, oh, fine. So you basically go up to the statue, and it's Estrella. Everyone fucking knows it's Estrella. Because Estrella was trying to be all like, no, it's not. It's like, I'm a stranger or whatever. I was like, I can't remember what she said exactly, but, oh yeah, come to Estrella Island. And everyone's just like, Estrella then?
Yeah.
But this kid is distracted. So you get there, and it turns out there's a lot of fucking Estrella statues on this. And they go talking about this soon. But first, goddammit, Jason, don't deface a statue of a goddess and then blame me for it. I will remember this.
Correct.
Estrella shows up, talks about how cool she is, how neutral she is.
We should throw out there, if you're like speed reading the story, Lucky's not kidding. The statues are everywhere in the backdrop. Like, they have special background redraws for more statues.
Estrella goes on to say that it was a mysterious serpent who was hanging out for a while and made her statues as thanks. And then they go into a little conversation about perfect bodies, bodybuilding, all that stuff. And they like to make them, and a couple of people make the comment of how Estrella is totally being influenced by her vessel, but at the same time, it hasn't changed much, which is always interesting to see, of how different but the same they are. It's a little bit of a thing to wrap my head around at times. Of like they are the person, but they aren't the person. It's weird.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the instances. Like in Case Files collab, when Estrella was introduced, that was like a lot Luvia, right? most of the time, but also a lot Estrella some of the time. This is definitely way more Estrella to the front. Only little hints of Lugia. Like, she speaks as Estrella most of the time.
Yeah. So, we have some banter back and forth. Estrella's being like, I'm so fucking neutral, I can't help you. And this is one of the things that I find hilarious, is she basically says, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm glad we have to find. She's like, oh my god, fine, I guess I'll answer some questions if you clear some trials. I'm all like, aren't you a bit of a sucker? So, you do something a little bit interesting here. You do 3 fights, and all they're, well, they're not all, they're basically story fights. You mostly use the story characters for it. And it's a little interesting, it's a little tedious, because, you know, you don't necessarily have your class advantages lining up, but...
Yeah, the one with Chiome is a little mean-spirited.
But it's also funny, because they actually call that out after. Chiome was like, oh man, that was harder than I thought it'd be. And I was like, yeah, oh, great. Well, I enjoyed them, finally, and you answer some questions, you learn some information. I won't necessarily exposit fully on it, but you learn some things. They're not good things. Oh no. But your last question is you ask, who was the Shirogane servant? And it's like, it was one, Muramasa. And there was a Rasputin there, and everyone's all like, audible gasp.
Yep.
And so we move on into our next section, Recollection, the Disciples of the Foreign Star. So yes, Muramasa has been summoned here as a disciple of the Foreign God. He's on the Lostbelt side. And honestly,
by the way, as an alter ego.
As an alter ego. And guess what? He's not that fussed about the details. He has a job, and he's going to do it.
A very Muramasa type thing to do.
Yep. So he's been hanging around with Rasputin, a.k.a. Father Kotomine, and apparently they get along okay. It's a little weird. I don't like it.
They get along in the way that, like, they totally understand that they feel like they're 5 minutes away from a fight at every given second, but also they can just have some beers.
Yeah.
It's also especially weird because I don't know if this Kotomine they dug up understands who Shiro is, but speaking of pseudos, Kotomine is way more Kotomine than Rasputin, whereas Muramasa is way more Muramasa than Shiro.
Yeah.
Mostly I think Shiro's just there for access to projection and unlimited blade works.
Well, like I said, that's the thing about pseudo-servants. It's not necessarily who they are, it's like what, like it's their essence is kind of the same, you know?
Yeah, and we even talked that in a question. Muramasa speculates why he's paired up with this body because he feels like him and Shiro were maybe, didn't accomplish what their goals were in life. Muramasa was looking for the perfect sword, and Shiro is Shiro.
He's looking to be the perfect hero. But, so we feel a little depressed about this, we feel depressed about other things, time for a solid straight up pep talk. Sharice is like, don't worry about fucking winning or losing. You don't have a fucking choice, just fucking do it.
Yeah, you have to survive. An ongoing Lostbelt theme. By the way, start the drinking game now. Take a shot every time Lucky talks about a pep talk, because it happens a lot. We could also call this chapter "Get By with a Little Help from My Friends."
True. But suddenly we're gonna switch perspective, and it's Paris and Achilles. We're gonna have a solo Achilles fight as he punches some mobs, and now we're gonna have what has to be an awkward meeting, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have Paris of Troy along with co-host Apollo the Sheep.
Yeah.
And Apollo the Sheep has no shame in saying that Paris was formed solely because Apollo thinks it is quote unquote prime cuteness. So with that,
guys,
I'm putting
I would like you, if you've ever had any questions about why Asclepius is the way he is, they're answered right here. That sheep is his dad, guys. Dead sheep. Sheep dead.
Chad.
His mission. Anyway, yeah, Paris is here, and as is often with mascot characters, we get right along Apollo, which is just full of gold. I especially love that they do the usual thing where, like, the story sprite lights up when they're speaking, so the sheep lights up, like, comes to the fore.
My throat's getting weird now. So, I'm putting Apollo under the category of shady but entertaining sheep. If I had a nickel every time FGO gave me a shady but funny sheep, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's still strange considering it happened twice.
Yep.
But they talk. Paris is not over Achilles killing Hector, but Achilles is totally over Paris killing him. It's a little weird thing. It's a little bit of a weird thing.
I mean, I think it makes sense.
Well, it makes sense, but...
Achilles explains it later. In the actual myth, Achilles is straight up told, yo, if you go to this war, you will die young but a hero. And he's like, I will go then, because they need me. I think specifically there was layers of prophecy. Basically, Achilles, or Achilles' dad, was told if he goes to the Trojan War, he's going to die young. But Odysseus and the rest of the Achaeans were told, hey, if you don't get this guy Achilles, you're going to fucking lose.
I mean, it's true. Hector did almost just be like, defensively, no.
Yeah, so I can understand why the Trojans would be more upset about Hector's situation, whereas Achilles is just like, no, I get it. I was the guy. Gotta get
it's always the weird thing about FGO. In FGO, Hector really isn't that, like, super high up. He's just a cool old man. He's just like, I'm too old for this shit. But he's he's a man who literally, if Achilles, one of the three greats of the matter of Greek, did not show up, he'd been like, he would have kicked their ass.
Yeah, he's a hero on par with Achilles. Literally, they did a stalemate. It was only when Achilles went berserker, basically, that because Hector's love of his homeland was not enough to defeat Hector's man love for Patroclus. Also, Achilles was still immortal.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those things like Hector doesn't get a lot of love in FGO, despite actually being a big fucking deal. I guess I think there was a question about that some time ago.
Yeah.
Well, if you were listening, there's their answer. I wish Hector kind of was a little bit more important.
Yeah.
So, but they talk it out and they agree to disagree and they shake on it. So more Greek heroes get to. But because some shit has happened, Achilles has already been shot through the fucking heel, so he's super fucking weak, and he lost his shield somewhere.
Yeah, they don't talk about this. If you want my headcanon, I bet he used the shield to tank an Artemis shot.
Probably.
Artemis can destroy an entire planet. Well, Achilles' shield contains a planet. We've seen it used this way. That, or he loaned it to somebody for something, because that's also a thing Achilles can do.
Maybe he'll come back in Olympus. Maybe someone has his shield.
Could be. I don't know. That would make sense if one of those guys got ahead of him.
Yep. So, plans gotta change. Now we gotta make, because he doesn't have both his armaments and he's injured, he can't do it. So, Orion's gotta have to take the shot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn his armor into a bow and arrow. Sweet. So we're gonna do some more bonding. Mandracardo and Paris are gonna gush about how awesome Hector is, and it's cute. It's a meeting of fanboys. I'm all like, yes, this is good. This is good Civ. But, we come back to this, Mash has some questions about, doing something if you want to know how to die. So let's talk about death for a bit. And Achilles is just all like, hey, I did something important, and I did something cool, so you know what, better a cool death than a bad one. It's like, sometimes it's your time to go. Like, don't worry, Master, I will die as hard as I need to, and you're like, please don't. But in the midst of all this, incoming data download, it's time to go to Purse Island. So this is where we move on to Section 14. Suffering and pleasure are life's medicine for relief.
There's a lot of interesting names, though, also writing these notes, I'm like, man, some of these names get repetitive.
Yeah. So, if you guys have been paying attention, you notice that your Master has been doing something a little weird, as in, just randomly throwing out heals for no particular reason.
I use healing mystic codes a fucking lot, but yes.
Well, here's specifically after the battle. This is actually talked upon. Because after Achilles gets to strut his stuff on the ocean surface, you throw a random ass heal on him, and he's just all like, thanks. And it takes a bit out of you. It takes quite a bit out of you that you're like dizzy. You have to go sit down. And Mandracardo sees this, and just all like, talks to Da Vinci and goes, you're gonna have it's time for your realist real pep talk with your new friend Mandracardo.
Yo,
basically, we are now friends. He basically calls you out. You're feeling super weak because you saw Will Diamond do all that sick shit, yo, and now you're not feeling as cool. But let me tell you, I actually do really love this. Let me tell you, all that awesome shit that Will Diamond did is not actually that awesome. You took all that shit and you stood up. That's awesome. I'm like, yeah, I'm awesome. And I think it is true to an extent. Because
it also makes sense for Mandracardo as a character to say that, because he, by his own admission, is kind of a bit antagonist in another hero's cycle.
He is strong enough, just strong enough to be a good enough adversary for someone to walk over, basically.
But that brings us back to our comment about Hector, right? Like, Hector gets downplayed a lot, but he was also similarly, like, there's a lot of major guys that you don't remember because the poem is literally an epic and it's really fucking long. But there's a lot there. Hey, did you know one of the allies of the Trojans was the General Sarpedon, who is one of Europa's sons by Zeus? Also, by the way, King Minos, big cunt, kicked out both of his brothers from their home island. Lucky one of their brothers got to be Heracles' cool stepdad. Go watch one. But yeah, so like there's some interesting parallels in the characters that make sense, and he gives you this really nice pep talk.
But it's like, well, Daime's been awesome since birth. Like, everything comes easy to him. Everything, goes according to his plan. So if he does things right, it's not actually fucking a big deal.
Yeah, that I don't know how literal that is, considering some of the stuff he's done in the backdrop with, the incineration and telling the foreign god to like revive his friends and stuff. But for the most part, it's definitely, at least in the terms of the conversation we had, right? Like way back in
everything leading up to this, he was literally the Mages Association's like golden poster boy.
And they make sure to talk him up in Section 12. We talked about that earlier, like the ceiling designation, how strong he is, founding a new department, right? We discussed a little bit of that stuff last week. But they go out of their way to, if you understand the backstory and the backdrop of the lore, which hopefully you do listening to our podcast, because we talk about it a lot. Wodaime is a big fucking deal, but Mandracardo does have a very good point, something that is paralleled a lot in Fate. Yeah, he's a big deal, but like you said, he's expected to be a big deal, whereas nobody expects you to do shit. Mm-hmm. We're 5 Lostbelts deep, so...
Yeah. So, You activate the bromance card, you become best of friends, and Amanda Carter is super great about it. I love it. God, I love this boy. I love this boy so much.
Magic Carter is great, except it's small.
It's not except it's yes. But, you know, you're going to have... they say it's going to take, 2 days to get to the island, so guess what? You gotta crash. You wake up. Your next scene is fucking Black Bart telling, the ending of why he loves Hidden Eyes so much. And I'm just all like, what kind of fucking story was this? Because your two options are, you're crying too much to speak, or I never knew that the story could be so sad. I was just like, what the fuck, Black Bart?
Yeah. Big noodle incident.
But
I
since
do
everyone's
out there in terms of, I think Black Bart gets better as we go along. They stop making the joke as we get deeper and deeper into the Lostbelt. But I think Mandricardo overall has a really interesting characterization because he's... This is for several characters, and they'll probably touch on some major themes we'll hit back later, but I think it's important to bring up now. Mandricardo is a really interesting character for Fate because he is all about how he's like, yeah, I'm a really shitty heroic spirit because I don't know how heroic I was. I don't really I think I was a king, but I don't remember what I did. As opposed to compare and contrast to Achilles, who several times, as he is proving himself to be Greece's mightiest hero, is yelling about how he's Greece's mightiest hero, right? It's very different attitudes. So it's an interesting comparison.
It is. But from here, we start talking about hopes and dreams, and we're going to start talking about life goals and accomplishments and the meaning of life. Guess what? We need to give Charlotte Corday a pep talk because she's feeling super blue because, much like Mandricardo, she doesn't really feel like she's accomplished much in life. She stabbed a dude.
She accomplished more than Jin'kei,
Technically.
But Jin'kei is
I don't know.
way more famous for the attempt than
because I was about to say, that was an attempt on the fucking Emperor. Fucking Corday just killed, a dude.
I mean, he was an important day.
Yeah, but he was no emperor.
True. He was just Jean-Paul Marat. I mean, he was the leader of the Jacobin Club, which was, a major political, force. But yeah, it didn't do... The reason why she's so upset is because it didn't do what she wanted to do, which was, she thought by stabbing this guy who was the leader, cut the head off the snake, right? Right. It would get them all to give up. No, it didn't really. If anything, it almost made the conflict even more bloody because the Jacobins were like, who are you working for? What conspiracy is this? Who's done this? I bet royalists are behind this. The French Revolution was wild, y'all.
And a little fucked up.
Very fucked up. By the way, also that thing about, cutting the head off the snake. Remember that. That might be important. Anyway. There's a lot of parallels and themes in this last one.
So, we talk about this. We remember stuff. We have the most powerful flashback where we just think about all the people we have met and had to say goodbye to. And, oh no, it seems like not as all as it seems with Corday.
Yes, by the way, we do that a lot. There's a lot of... This story is ultimately about breaking through and moving on, but I think it has a very important message in it within you can't forget where you came from. You have to get up and move on with your life and move through adversity, but you should not forget what it cost you to get here, basically.
Yeah, don't forget where you came from, but always be looking toward where you're going.
Second star on the right, straight until money.
But... So, with that, though, we move on to Section 15, An Absent Monster in the Great Labyrinth in the Ruins. So, I don't know if this was explicitly mentioned in LB1. I didn't have time to go check, but apparently this is where that Minotaur came from.
I believe it was suggested at some point, but I don't think they knew for sure until we got to this labyrinth and were like, hey, there's no Minotaur in it. I guess we were right.
Yeah. I think it was said by Rasputin. I believe it. I know we theorized that, but yes, I do. If Rasputin straight up said it, then yeah. Okay, confirm. So here's something interesting. Chillin hasn't really gotten a lot of characterization through events. She was in Onlyland, but she was very, very professional. She's like, yes, master, I will do the thing, master. I am your ninja. Here, maybe because she's not, directly our Chaldean version, she's a lot more loosey-goosey. You gotta remember, her entrance was her literally popping out of the ground like a fucking daisy, hand first. And she has been quite a bit of comic relief, and we get to see a little bit more of this, because she has always been a cute, but she's damn right adorable. Hey, let me go greet this man, just, screaming top of her lungs, hiya there, and it's just like, oh my god. Apparently also knows the murder massage, much to Jason's despair. Yeah. I passed on it.
She was supposed to be doing, Reiki healing massage, but, instead of more going to the chiropractor.
Also, take note, Jason likes to sit down a lot and take a lot of naps.
Well, and he even phrases this sometimes. It's like, hey, my brain is my most important thing. It needs rest.
Nah, I think, I'll call back to this later. So, we're going to meet more of the exiles and see their society and kind of realize how fucking weird they are because they basically have no dreams or desires besides living their simple life and loving Olympus.
Yeah, we meet a new character. We meet not a young man, but an old man with a nanomachine arm. And he's straight up like, oh yes, we have ways to transfer data wirelessly. Haven't done this in centuries. And we're like, yo, that shit is whack. Why haven't you? Oh, well, because literally everybody I want to talk to is right here. Can you talk to other islands? Yeah, but why would I want to do that? They're losers. What interest do I have in talking to other people if I don't see them every day? It's like, what the fuck, old man? What is going on here? Like, it's almost like the reverse of the situation where we bamboozled Qin Wang with a phone. Like, these guys have magic Wi-Fi and they are not using it, and we are like, what the actual fuck?
It's like, well, again, they have no desires outside their fucking little village life. It's like, everything I want is right here. I have food, shelter,
It's not like they don't have to work for it, because obviously they had to scavenge their own food, they had to build up their shelter, but it definitely feels like they don't have any drive.
Yeah, it's they're in a cycle of stagnation, which is one of the big problems in the Lostbelt. Like, when the Lostbelt doesn't go anywhere,
and why this Lostbelt doesn't go anywhere? Yep. Because the gods preserve their legacy forever in the form of
Krill.
The nanomachine, son! Because they did that, this Lostbelt basically dead-ended, because they are always there, they are always working, and humanity can never be free from them. So, this is also another interesting thing. I think they allude that people used to try and assault Atlantis, but don't do anymore, so I don't know if in the Atlantis timeline, if they covered the globe, if Artemis shot everybody, but she might have.
I mean, I think there was definitely some sort of conflict.
Yes.
At some point.
And they talk about how the Atlantis border troops are pre-established. That was not something they just made up for us. That was part of a system that already existed. So,
I mean, well, again, remember, Plato. Atlantis had a super fucking navy that was super fucking super, except against Athens, because we're superer.
Yes. They totally tried to invade us, but we were cool and, more aesthetic, and they were fucking bougie. I mean, I actually think that this Atlantis takes elements from both, arguably the nanomachine Atlanteans are, way more, stoic and aesthetic and, robotic than the Atlanteans who were supposed to be, a rich, decadent empire. But also, they have all the rich, decadent empire trappings. It's, a really interesting take, actually.
Yeah. So, we have to go to the labyrinth. There is no monster there. The villagers didn't fucking know, because they don't go there. Why? Why would they go there? We have no reason to go there. We don't want to kill the thing. It was put there by a god. You don't fuck with things with gods. We just live our humble lives and hope one day God Senpai will notice us. Ooh woo. It's little... Ugh. It's a little weird to hear someone talk like that.
Yeah.
But we go into the labyrinth. We lose communications like we did last time we did this.
Yeah. I think we've never not lost communications in a labyrinth.
If only I had my labyrinth map that Asterios gave me for Valentine's. This is the bestest.
No, I think we left that back in the Shadow Border.
So, we fight some mobs, and we get to the forge. But not before we have to pick a faction, because this is the one of the fights that Omega was talking about, where you get to pick either Achilles or Orion, and you just 1v1 some mobs. And it's a little neat.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept. There's, as far as I can tell, there's no real, stakes to it. It's just, Achilles and Orion start shit-talking about who can kill more dudes, because, Orion's the greatest hunter, but he's also, just a hunter. Whereas Achilles is a mighty hero, but he's already had his heel shot out, so they're like, I bet they do the fucking, Lord of the Rings thing, Gimli and,
Legolas. Still only counts
as
one.
11. Yeah, still only counts as one kind of a thing, I'll take the 300 on the left, They bromance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're Team Jock. And you say it was a little fun. They talk about things afterwards. Everyone decides that fucking Greek kings are kind of shitty.
Yeah. This is actually true, by the way. Heroes are cool, and some heroes are also kingly, like Odysseus is the king of Ithaca. There it is. He's from the kingdom of Ithaca, the city-state. So, some kings are cool guys, but for the most part, Greek kings who are actually being kings sitting on a throne somewhere, they fucking suck. I wonder what the message is there, Reese.
From there, we're going to move on to Section 16, Three-Headed Dog. We meet up with Hephaestus Brain, who's all like, you must prove yourself.
I need to know if you can shoot the bow.
Basically, Orion has to fight against Orion. Well, excuse me, Super Orion has to fight against Orion. And I love that the pack that all you can do is hey, that bear on top of the head is you. And he's just all like, what?
This shit is weird.
But we'll get through that. There's a psychological assessment. We ask some questions. We ask some probing questions. And Hephaestus is like, good, yes, this will work. But stay tuned for messages from our sponsors. And we get another coded transmission. Honestly, I don't like these coded transmissions because they tell me almost nothing. They really do.
They basically are just Kentucky is like, yo, boss, I'm still alive. Hey, buddy, you doing fine? Anyway, go to the next island.
Yeah, that's all they do. I'm just like,
I guess we're maintaining OPSEC.
So, but they do tell us that we need to go to our next and final destination, Nemesis Island.
I mean, you guys don't. This data dump has a little bit more because they relate that they tell you that when they first got here, every motherfucker tried to shoot down Artemis, and it did not work.
I mean, that much would have been obvious.
Well, yeah, but like they explain why it doesn't work. Like all projectiles were intercepted at a certain range, so she has point defenses. The only place you can attack from is directly under her geosynchronous orbit, which is Nemesis. Very interesting, by the way. Nemesis, goddess of revenge.
How varminous. So we have a doggo with Demeter Krill showing up. Is this ironic? Maybe a little. Remember, Demeter had huge beef with Hades. Huge beef.
Yes.
No matter what telling of Persephone you is, Demeter is just never happy. It will just kill the entire world over this.
Yes. The part of the myth is used to explain the cycle of seasons. So yes, if you're wondering why winter exists, it's because Demeter mad.
Demeter mad. This is something I did find interesting. They actually explained Hephaestus in a moment of wanting to exposit explains that Demeter was actually their supply strip, who basically was so good at managing supplies and logistics that she could take 1,000 years worth of supply and make it last 4,000 years. And apparently her nanomachines are really good at self-healing.
Yeah.
So you have a fight. Ryan gets in that fight. He's a dog who's a beast. You can fight it, but oh no! Odysseus only believes in overkill and is going to blow the dog up.
This is a thematic point I'm going to bring back later in that essay. But yes, Odysseus is that guy. He is the no witnesses, no chances, 100% success. So he decides to blow up the fucking dog. He sets the nanomachines to overkill, and he's going to blow up this dog.
I like how there is the Atlantean soldiers like, are you sure we should be doing like this much overkill for just like 10 soldiers? And Odysseus just like, yes.
There is no overkill. There is only open fire, and I need to reload.
So, shit's going bad. We still have like a half hour before the bow and weapon is away. We don't have enough time to escape. What the fuck do we do? Le Gaz! Corday actually had Zeus juice. Let's not use that term. Zeus nanomachines in her all along, and she's a Lostbelt servant. That whole opening scene with Odysseus summoning a servant, it was Corday.
In case you couldn't guess from the fact that she was the only French servant.
And they actually hearkened to that. Apparently the spilt blood of Dion and Samson was the catalyst to summon her. Which is interesting because Samson did actually execute Corday. And actually she thinks really, if I remember her materials right, she thinks really well of the guy. He does not. Not because he dislikes her, it's just very awkward to be friends with someone you decapitated.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and I just put this in there because I love at this point, like nanomachines were MacGuffin-y, but at this point we get like full blown, because like before it was just like, well, if we just keep juicing up our servants with the god's legacy, they'll get stronger. But this is where like Corday even has a special sprite. Her eye color changes, and this is why I wrote in the notes, nanomachine Zeus, like because she gets the one arm, and it's like, all right, now she's having some fun.
Basically one shots the Kerberos, and it's just all like, I am sorry, I was a sleeper agent all along. I must now die because guys, Corday is not a divine spirit of any sort and cannot handle this much God in her. That is a very, very bad sounding thing I just said. God damn it.
Basically, they talked about this, the different nanomachines have different yields. So stuff like the Hephaestus or the Demeter can go in anybody, but stuff like Athena or Zeus is only acceptable to divine spirits. So she used up too much Zeus juice and is going to fucking explode. Her spirit origin can't handle it. She is a very mundane human.
So, Corday is literally dying in our arms. Well, maybe not in our arms, but she's dying. We have to, like, slap her around a bit.
She's melting down.
She's melting down. And we're like, no, we have to save her. And a lot of people are like, no, she's just one weak servant. Why the fuck do we need to save her? And, I look everyone dead in the eye and be like, we're gonna fucking save her. And Hephaestus is like, hey, if you just put, like, some Hephaestus machines in her, and then get some Athena machines, we can make this all work out. And everyone's all like, no, we're gonna use that to power up the Shadow Board to make it really cool.
And then specifically they were like, oh, but the Athena, we want to give that to Orion. That'll make him super good. And then Orion's like, no thanks, fam, I'm cool. I can do the job for sure.
And so, like, you give the order, we're gonna make a detour to go get the Athena ones. And everyone's like, okay, here we go. But first, let's pick up our sick bow. It's sick. Has a design and everything. Suddenly, Artemis beam.
Though, before this, I would like to point out, Hephaestus says, sorry, I only had time for 2 shots. Only have 2 arrows.
But yeah, he mentions, Hephaestus is like, I'm being tracked. Trying tries to throw up defenses and stuff. But first, Apollo and Hephaestus have to trade barbs first.
Yep. I think somebody posted this in a spoiler recently. Hephaestus' line is something like, "Farewell, Apollo, for proper human history. You were good for just as little here as you were there."
And Apollo wasn't firing back. It's like, no wonder your fucking wife cheated on you. Like, you can't stop thinking about work for 5 minutes. And Hephaestus is like, I don't even fucking care. Mating units, the first thing I got rid of. And it's like, damn. I don't feel so bad for Aphrodite now.
Don't you worry. Listen, I don't need nothing.
Listen, guys, everyone in relationships, take care of your partner. If you don't take care of their needs, they will find someone to take care of them somewhere else. And I bet Aphrodite had a lot of needs, Jesus. So, for that, though, you get into the civilian escape capsule. That was just a thing, I guess.
He has an ejection pop.
And, get on out of there. But before the blinding goddess's light engulfs the island, Artemis has to go trade barbs with Hef as well, and Hef is just all like, yeah, I'm about to fucking die, but I died doing the right thing. Suck on it.
I mean, it's not really trade barbs, it's like Artemis just calls up, she has to call somebody. She's like, fuck it, a load up there. She has to dial Hephaestus and be like, bro, broski, what are you doing? And he's like, I am doing the right thing. And then Artemis is like, you suck a butt, die. And Hephaestus is like, very well then. Like,
no, Hephaestus was all like, I will die, but you are still alone.
Yes.
Bye.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna die, but you're still stuck in space, bitch, so who's worse off? Bye! Can you tell these guys are all family?
Yeah. Now, my notes are gonna get a little weird here, because this is the point basically where I left off and Omega mostly took over. But Section 8...
No, Sage Children's Trap was the last one you really worked on.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Then after that, it's a lot more, it's just my speed notes. And then eventually we have no notes.
Then we have no notes. So, next one is Sage Soldier's Trap. This is actually split into A and B, but for intents and purposes, it's just one thing.
Yeah, I don't know why it's marked as A and B. Maybe because you start on the sea and then move on to the island? Like the nodes move places?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I honestly am not sure. So, the island exploded, but enough about that. Let's talk about the emulation of emotion. Basically talking about how it's really weird that these gods are robots, but the gods as we know them are humans, and, have kids. How does that even fucking work? Short answer, no one fucking knows. Whatever. Is it real enough? It's real enough.
And they do have some discussion about, like, talking about, like, Artemis and Orion and stuff, and, like, god terminals, right? Mm-hmm. Like, as kind of a thing where they can kind of come to be, like, in forms that are approachable to humans. But this does also probably explain how Zeus got a chick pregnant as a rain of golden light once.
Oh, he probably just showered her in nanomachines.
Yeah. Everything is nanomachines, son. Somebody's still trying to post the nanomachine son gif and they can't get it to work. Alternatively, there it is, there's one. Use nanomachines. I ain't got to explain shit.
And that is literally this.
There's a lot of philosophical discussions about basically Nasu justifying how he can have giant spaceship gods and also the entire canon of the Greek mythology.
So after that, we're going to go have a moment. We can go look at, Corday's sleeping form, and Da Vinci's going to come in. She has to sit down. She's very tired. But she's going to give you the pep talk. She's like, no, you did right. You did the right thing. Don't feel bad. Don't listen to those other nerds. I'm on your side.
You saved a life.
You saved a life.
Dr. Da Vinci is always for that.
Mm-hmm. But the worst thing is mass outs us for filching food. How dare. Listen, sometimes man's got to eat. But, again...
Listen, Goldorf isn't gonna miss that stack of digestive biscuits or, that toffee he's got back there. He's got like 5. He's not gonna miss.
Anyway.
Emergency bacon.
So, Paris has many comedy bents as we get to Eris Island. Apparently, getting to a younger body has also given him a younger mind, as he is constantly trying to trade barbs with Achilles at any given point. We'll literally just jump into conversations and be like, nuh-uh. Or we'll just, get distracted looking at butterflies. It's quite adorable. But you go in there, you get the Athena krill, and you make it out, and let's get down, master! Achilles literally Secret Service tackles you down.
Yeah, and I put this note in here as well. Yeah, Lostbelt Chiron has 0 chill. You can tell why him and Odysseus are supposed to be buddies later. People I know really what I'm mad about. This is why I say you gotta strengthen your weakest link, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. Well, no matter what Chiron plays to the rule that none of these guys would have experienced yet, right? Because all the previously summoned servants were counterforce servants who don't rely on a master, and technically some of these guys don't rely on us for their supply, but they still need us to be alive for the thing to be finished. But he just straight up targets you first.
Yep. But luckily, you have Achilles, Greek's greatest hero, on your side, and he's able to
like keep him with you, basically.
Yeah.
Touch the master like a football and run super fast.
Mm-hmm. But welcome to the Lostbelt, Chiron, who is kind of a jerk.
Yeah. He's much more proactive. He also is a horse. He doesn't try to hide that he's a horseman. But is, like we said, much less chill.
Much more proactive. Was the one that already shot out Achilles' Hill.
Yep.
So we have him to thank for all this. And we do battle, and we need to get the fuck away, because we're not going to win this. So we try to get the fuck away.
Jason very notably sends Mandricardo and Chiome to cover the rear.
Yes. Chiome can't make it, though. She has to be left behind. She says she has another way, and Mandricardo's like, okay. And Chiome gets captured. And they tell what they're going to do with her immediately, is they're going to make her food for the echidna. Which makes me bring up to this note, that's 2 small Japanese girls being sent to a flesh cavern in this game.
Which, by the way, when we see that later, that backdrop very much looks like that temple at Babylonia.
Yes. So I'm just a little like, guys.
This time's a little bit different, at least.
I know, but still. Yeah. So
is this I don't think we wrote this in our notes anywhere, but is this the first time? Is this where Mandricardo breaks his wooden sword? I think it is.
Yes, I believe so. He breaks it.
Because Chiron reveals he knows how to do his normal noble phantasm, and Mandricardo is like, that's pretty cool, Chief, but what if Durandal?
Oh, I broke my sword.
And then he gets it back later. We don't know for that later. I do appreciate that they keep his sprite with they have a broken sword sprite that they keep when it's relevant.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's important to the story, because that's literally what his normal MP is him just literally kind of temporarily manifesting Durandal in his wooden sword and breaking it over the enemy.
Yeah. It's basically like a broken phantasm type attack, where he destroys his wooden sword to temporarily replicate Durandal, with the acknowledgement that he can easily replace his wooden sword later, because that's not really his noble phantasm.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
there's a big intense fight. We have to leave Chiome behind. Mandricardo's a little cut up about it, but Jason is like, "Don't worry about it. All's fair and lovely. Let's keep moving."
Let's keep moving. So you get back to the Nautilus. You pump Corday full of Athena, and then you gotta extract the Hephaestus. And it's a pretty intense scene.
Yeah.
Like she's screaming. Everyone's like, "Hold her! Hold her!" It's like something you see out of a medical drama.
Yeah.
There is some internal monologuing. It's a very good.
To, hold her hand.
Mm-hmm. Corday notes that the warmth of that hand, it's super nice. It's super good. But hey, Corday pulls through, and she loves everybody, but except Super Orion. She thinks he's a really nice guy. I do want to kind of understand what this Greek romance equation is, Apollo, though. Is this an actual thing? Considering what I know about these gods, I bet it is.
I don't know if I trust Apollo, though.
Listen, I believe it. Not as bad as Zeus, but Apollo likes to fuck.
It's true. I guess that I can believe is he has a system for picking how he gets around the town, but those don't usually end well.
No, they don't.
We should be glad that Apollo has merely stopped at making Paris cute, and not like a tree.
So, with that though, that's unfortunately the my note, but it's basically the end of this section too, because now we move on to section 19, the one who overcomes the stormy sea. Meg, do you want me to keep reading, or do you want to take over?
I can take over. I wrote most of these earlier. I also want to throw this out there, bring this up again, but once again, note the names of the section titles. Starting from this one, they get a little repetitive, but I think it's on point. So, now that we have our final shot of Hephaestus Krill, we'll just keep calling it Krill. I know I don't even think that's where the R and the L are, but it's way easier than the other way. At least if it's not right in front of me. And Nemo is super jazzed. He's hyped up. He's had his monster energy nanomachines. And we get to not just summon the Nautilus, but upgrade to the Storm Border.
It's big, yo.
Our shiny new warship.
The bridge is huge.
But big, yeah, we have this big bridge, shiny screens. Da Vinci is like, wow, the computer room is way bigger, guys. It's bigger and cooler. We can still deploy the Shadow Border for amphibious ops and as an escape craft. This is important later. By the way, I want to throw this out there, in case you guys don't know this, because you're not huge, Milsim nerds, like I am, and weren't in the Navy like Lucky is. Nemo says this is bigger than a modern nuclear submarine, which are fucking huge. Our current model, which is about to be replaced, but the Ohio-class submarine is 170 meters long.
I did want to add a note to this. They are huge, but a lot of that is for eternal fucking systems, like ballast tanks. Internally they're cramped, but I want to throw this out there.
Just the fact that Nemo brings up that it is bigger than a nuclear submarine means it is fucking huge. It's very big.
And the other thing is, I believe they said they're using the same technology as Shadowboard, where it's actually bigger on the inside.
Yeah.
Because that bridge is huge. That was the thing that excited me. It's huge.
Yes.
You can walk around that. You can have small gatherings in there. It's nuts.
Yeah. There's like, and I think it's even got like a little tower. Like it's big.
It has the fucking world map.
Yeah,
it's right there.
Yeah, you've got your Paper Moon display there. You've got multiple holograms. You've got multiple departments. You know, we do the crew check-in and everything. It's great. Snacks are ready.
I love Baker.
And then we get to one of my favorite parts of this Lostbelt. Nemo sets up the fucking conference call, the huddle, and Jason lays out the plan. And the song that plays, the OST bit that plays when Jason does the plan, this is the sickest shit. Guys, if you know what track this is, please tell me. I don't think it's on OST 3 or 4 because I have checked. So if you guys know which one this is, I would love to know. Like it's kind of like like it's like sinister, but in like a heroic way. It makes you feel sly and slick, which is appropriate because Jason lays it all out here. There's some banter back and forth. He lays out his plan to like basically we're just gonna go straight at Odysseus. He actually shows he has decent planning skills. We are outmanned, outgunned, and the enemy has superior intel. Jason is like, Odysseus is fucking smart. I'm going to operate under the assumption that he has thought of all of my plans before I have planned them, barring a couple of tricks up my sleeve. And basically everybody agrees. Like, Paris and Achilles are both like, yep. And then everybody else is like, yeah, I'm not a military guy, so I can't say. Sherlock notes explicitly he's not a military man. That's what Dr. Watson is for. And Major Carter similarly is like, too many cooks spoil the broth.
Yeah.
Because Gordolf is like, hold on a minute, are we sure about this plan? We're just going to go rushing right at the enemy? What the fuck? And they're like, yes, we are. He's like, well, shit. But yeah, so he's basically going to be like, Jason says, the only thing we can do is we can throw a Hail Mary and hope that we actually overcome. That is the only thing we can do is take momentum from the enemy, rush in, and hope that he can't do anything tricksy to us. So, you have this whole great plan breakdown. He tells everybody what they're doing, all that stuff. And he leaves off at the cliffhanger, right? He says, and Charlotte Corday, I want you, and then cut. Because we cut to having our little heart-to-heart pep talk with Charlotte because she's leaving on a sneaking mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has this lovely conversation with us about, like, she's so glad that she, like, affected somebody's life, thanks us for saving her and all that stuff. She kind of pitches it as, like, I have to go away because I'm going to fucking explode still,
Mm-hmm.
But later she has this conversation with Jason on the Argo about how she's going to go do a secret plan. Once again, Jason and Corday have some really great bants. Jason is like, I know you insisted on saying goodbye, but I hope you didn't leave any marks. And Corday says under her breath, I hope I left a little bit of a scar. And Jason like smacks him and is like, you fool! Don't say that! We've got shit to do, okay? And Corday's stealth plan? Dive into the fucking ocean. She just is like, very well then, goodbye! I want to see this animated of her just like, running off the side, tipping her little hat, and then just swoosh.
You're supposed to jump to the island, but she missed.
Yeah. So, we have that, like, one of our great heart-to-heart conversations, and then we have another. After that, Foe gives us a fucking pep talk. They even make the little smack gesture, like, you just imagine Foe, like, pawing at your cheeks. And you're like, hey, little buddy.
Well, they said Foe was supposed to be down to an animal intelligence, but I really don't feel like that's the case, really.
It is definitely not anymore. Foe even starts to form words in this one. He's getting some juice back. I don't know if he has enough juice to do anything plot relevant, but, like, he's growing again, which may or may not be important for shit later. But Mandricardo pops in. He's like, hey, you have a nice talk. He's like, I know it's really rough, but you got to soldier on, and you can basically be like, yeah, I know. And he's like, okay, cool. Sorry for being so gloomy. And you're like, dude, you actually haven't been gloomy for a while. And he's like, you're right. I don't know. I guess we just kill time. What do you want to talk about? The weather? We're underwater. Yeah, so Mandricardo is shitty at small talk. But I like this because, like I said, he is really like gloomy and self-deprecating, and then he tries to be organic, and it sucks at it. But the topic you come to is, what about Foe? Foe's adorable, right? Yes, Foe is fluffy. Like, they have a conversation about how fluffy Foe is.
Honestly, like, Mandricardo says this, he's, like, physically and mentally in his 30s, so it's really easy for me to relate to this guy sometimes. I'm just like, oh,
yeah,
no, I get you.
But Mandricardo is, as we say in the biz, big mood. He does also explain, though, because he's replaced his sword. He explains how it works. Because the sword is just wood, he can replace it. So he used some of the Argo's spare timbers they've got for repairs to just make a new wooden sword, so he can do it again. That's pretty cool. So after you lay out the plan and everything.
I was about to say, no, he just explains that he made an oath that he would carry no blade but Durandal, so he literally can't carry any other weapon except his wooden sword.
But when he activates that power, because he kind of has because he touched Durandal once, he's got the thing. But yeah, this basically wraps up here, and we get to Section 20, Mad Passion and Disturbing Delusions. I think this was a no battles node, if I remember correctly.
I don't actually.
I don't remember. Like I said, we skimmed through like my main records and stuff. But we start with a flashback to Artemis and Orion. Artemis moves fast.
Uh-huh.
She shows up in her human body and is like, darling Daisuke, we're gonna get married. And Orion's like, whoa, babe, aren't you moving a little fast? I talked about this on the one, and this is kind of like how this is projected, is that, like, Orion is normally pretty forward with ladies, but apparently Artemis moved so fast, he was like, whoa, slow down. Why don't we just talk? Artemis reveals that she modified her form to appeal to him, so that's probably why big booby Artemis.
Mm-hmm.
But Orion has some very poignant notes here. Humans and gods are not the same. Like, he doesn't say that humans and gods shouldn't interact, they shouldn't have bonds, romance, whatever, but he says that fundamentally we're different people, so we go in different ways. Eventually, I will die and move on with my life. Because Artemis is like, yo, dog, you gotta become a god so we can be together forever.
Forever.
And Orion's like, no way, babe.
He sounds a lot cooler than that. Like, when Orion is serious, he actually sounds very serious. I should say.
Like, this is a serious scene. I am boiling it down because there's a lot of dialogue here, but Orion is actually, like I said, like, really poignant and really on point. Oh, that's nice. Somebody just shared the artist apparently did, like, basically Artemis Lily designs as her first design. That makes sense, because remember, in the myths, Artemis was, like, 12 when she told Daddy Zeus, no, Daddy, I don't want to grow up and get married.
Actually, that might explain. She might still have that mindset, though.
I mean, yeah, that kind of does explain a lot about her. But there's an important reason to remember why Artemis is one of the two virgin goddesses. But I think this explains a lot of her, even though she is, big titty form, this explains a lot of her, like, childish airheadedness, right? She never really tried to, as, like, a goddess, her role was not too mature, right?
Yeah.
So she's still a little childish. Even you could argue Space Artemis is kind of like petty a lot of the time.
I mean, I feel like the more I think about it, because, that didn't necessarily click, she almost feels like a brooding teenager.
Yeah, basically. She's been stuck in space, and she's just so sassy. She's just like, oh, God, guys. I mean, there's a lot more PTSD and stuff, but we'll get there. But, like, some of it's very, like, very sulky, very broody, yes. But so they have this whole conversation. Orion mentions that if he dies, at best, he wants to be, like, set in the stars so people remember him forever, but he's just a normal dude. And then he basically, he kind of, like, as you know, he's like, yeah, after that, our relationship was, like, full of, like, comical interludes and weirdness. Even how I died is arguably kind of funny. Because if you remember, at least canonically, Apollo not really pranked, but convinced Artemis to, hey, shoot that man out in the ocean over there. And she's like, bet you can't do it. And Artemis is like, you fucking what, mate? And shoots him, and then it's like, oh no, sad Greek music play, sad Greek chorus. It was Orion. Just talking
like,
about
say what you like. This is one of the things,
right.
the one thing I like about Orion. Like, despite being like a horrible womanizer, you can tell he truly and utterly does love and care for Orion, but it's just more of a platonic love.
Yeah, well, they brush over it, but I think you can get the idea from their meeting on the beach and then the meeting between him and the terminal later is that, like, they're close. They actually had time to bond. It's just their relationship is comical because of, like, the speed at which Artemis tried to move, and then also talked about then that rumor, like, spread, and then that's how Apollo got involved, right? Like, it's a very, like, comical series of misunderstandings leads to tragedy kind of story. But yeah, they have this whole character moment, and I like this discussion about how, humans and gods are separate and all that. It's very important. We go on to another soulful conversation with Mash, and she's like, oh, Corday left, well, I'm glad you got to say goodbye. Life is really just a series of meeting people and saying goodbye, and then you can, talk about that, or you can be like, but I remember everybody, and I'm like, I remember every face, Mash. I remember everybody. That, I mean, you do. The story goes to great pains, but yeah, there's a lot of common themes here, going back to that remembering people you leave behind kind of a thing. You get on the boat, everybody's setting their plans. Mangiacardo asks you, what do we do in boss? And you have to, you do the classic win and don't die speech. This is an interesting choice because you have to pick win or survive, and then Mangiacardo's like, it's not just enough that we win, we also have to all come back alive. Or if you pick survive, he's like, yeah, but it's not just enough that we survive, we also have to fucking win, bro. I like it. And so you have this whole speech, and you can end it with, we will attain victory, or let's all come back alive. Because we kind of glossed over it, but basically, Jason laid out the full plan. The Shadow Border's just going to chill and do Shadow Border stuff. He's going to let Nemo mind his own business. He needs Achilles to punch all the boats. He has Paris flying Achilles' chariot, shooting all the dudes. And then you, Mash, and Mangiacardo. It's a lot of Ma names, isn't it?
It is. That's
not really relevant right now, he says. And Cool Dump is like, you're right, it isn't. I love even when he's being cool as fuck, even Jason still manages to beat Thor. But you guys are also going to jump on ships and do the classic thing and, beat them up. Because, even though these are, advanced designs with, shields and radar, these are still fundamentally, Greek-era ships. They have ballistas on deck, and they have, sails and masts, and they do a lot of boarding action. So you're going to jump on boats and smash them up good. Bart is going to carry Orion as close as he can to Nemesis Island to basically put Odysseus on a clock. Because if they just fight Odysseus and defeat him, even if they can pull that off, he'll just be like, oh, Artemis, shoot me! drop your payload on my position, which is true. He would do that. So
would.
we're going to put the boat in motion. And Orion, remember, you can do that thing where you can fucking walk over water. So do that in an emergency. And Orion's like, what thing? He's like, the thing that Poseidon lets you do? Oh, yeah, that thing.
Orion often forgets that he's the son of Poseidon.
Well, he talked about how, at least as a servant, he doesn't really remember having an important relationship with Dad. And it makes sense because, Orion is kind of a big deal. His mother isn't really. She is, I can't even remember. I think she might be a daughter of King Minos by, some non-Pasiphae wife. But, it's really convoluted. Nobody really cares about, where Poseidon came from. It's more of, what he was doing, right?
Right.
Because, as I brought up, as a mythological figure, the shape of Orion has been known to humans since before this Lostbelt. This Lostbelt is 12,000 BCE. We have records of bone carvings and caves of the asterism of Orion going back between 40,000 and 30,000 BCE. So humans have been space bowman for a long time. So it makes sense that some of Orion's mythologies we just have always known that guy's up there.
Mm-hmm.
But we end this with, new Argonauts roll out, break the huddle, let's go. It's great. And then we get into Section 21, Challenge, Breaking Through the Distant Seas. We're back on those themes. My notes for this are very short because this is a pip that I remember had a lot of battles in it.
Oh, yeah.
And so the actual story bits are very light. Basically, we learn that Odysseus is a fucking micromanager. He is they're here. Dial up the radar to maximum sensitivity. Double the lookouts. Tell me every little thing you see. Joking aside, this part really reveals that Odysseus is really intense on every little detail, right?
Well, to be fair, if you think about it, you kind of have to, because how often have we got by just by the slightest of margins of errors and whatnot?
Yeah, that's they show his tactical thinking. His way of strategizing is to not necessarily account for, but to determine every variable. He's all right, look out for them. I'm ready, and he's constantly. I like this bit because we do the inner monologue again for him, and he's like, all right, where did I go wrong? Did I fuck up? Did I miss any variables? I'm shocked they've lived this long. What have I accounted for? I've accounted for everything. I have all the information I need. I actually like in this mind because we even talk about this when we quote unquote fight him later. But on the outside, the man is cool as a cucumber. But even internally, he's still going, did I fuck it up? Did I plan for everything? So this is a cool little note, but god, man, it's gotta suck for those fucking spear carriers. This guy is so micromanaging. And also he sends you on a suicide missions. Not that they care, but still. Odysseus, not a great boss. Anyway, this is where we get our first boat about Achilles' Greek's mightiest hero. Because that was a point Jason called him out earlier. Is you are definitely not this. You're the second strongest hero because you're not stronger than Heracles. But he's still talking about being Greece's greatest hero. And these guys he's fighting are so stupid it hurts to talk. I boiled this down, but this speech is great. Jason told Achilles to punch boats until Chiron shows up, and I love how Achilles phrases this. He's like, "How long do you need me to hold out for? Give me the number. I'll live that long." And Jason is like, "Well, I need you to definitely not die until you lock down Chiron, right?" And Achilles is like, "Dunzo," and then he goes and does it. Spoilers. He holds out for the whole way. This is your first endurance fight with Achilles. I know some people had a little bit of trouble with that. I did not because I used the invul early. Because the invul does nothing if Chiron fires his NP, so you need that guts. Basically, if you pop the guts before Chiron fires his NP, it's game over, man. But if you can live longer than that, it's okay. And considering Chiron likes to pop his skills most of the time, it seems okay. But yeah, basically, Achilles does Achilles things. He stands out against everything. Paris is doing Paris things, shooting at people, getting shot back. Apollo is fucking being very judgy and micromanaging himself, calling everybody out. You do some fights, it's cool. You, Mash, and Mandricardo jump on boats and punch people. It's a great big battle sequence. Very nice.
Oh, yeah. It's very... what's the word I want to say? It's intense. That's all I can
certainly
really
action-packed, right?
Yeah.
So we go to Section 22, Those Who Drive Through the Storm. Again, themes, guys. Damn. Never forget, kids, one of Achilles' horses can talk. He is also apparently backseat charioting for Paris.
I mean...
through the sky.
Listen, I'd be more surprised if there isn't a horse that can talk in fucking Fate.
Oh, I mean, fair, but specifically one of Achilles' horses is divine and can speak. Holmes has foreshadowing thoughts. I appreciate him, by the way, having an inner monologue rather than being full mysterious. He realizes that something's bothering him about certain things, but he doesn't have enough of an idea to say it yet. So he's only mysterious to Gordolf, but to us, the audience, he's less mysterious. I like this.
I guess that's a fair cop, honestly.
Yeah. He's like, listen, I have thoughts and feelings, but we're in the middle of something right now. I don't want to bother anybody, okay? I'll let you know when it becomes relevant. I also just put in my notes, bomb has been planted. Because, spoilers for this node and the next node. But Jason actually told Chiome to stay behind.
Oh, yeah.
This is the bomb he's been referring to constantly. He told her to get captured with the idea that she would be able to do something to turn the tides. And we see why at the end of the segment. But, we do all this jumping back and forth. We jump on our boat. We know our left from our right. Maybe you can choose to fuck this up. But Jason tells you, hard to starboard. And you're like, you know which one that is, right? And you're like, right, left. I don't know what happens if you pick left. Jason probably calls you a moron. But then we have to fight a Cerberus infused with Poseidon juice to make him better on water. Damn it, Odysseus, you're really abusing this tech tree. But yeah, so you fight a Cerberus powered up with Poseidon krill. It just fucking leaves you alone when Orion appears on the battlefield, because Jason is correct. Odysseus has so far clocked everything. He's like, okay, where's Orion? Where's he going? He's going to the island. Cut off the island. There he is. We're going to send the doggo after him. Surprise, second doggo. His second doggo under the water. Great reaction by Orion. Orion gets bit on his arm. Oh no. But speaking of zero chill, Nemo has no chill. He's just fire all the missiles. Like, he's just dumping torpedoes like it's going out of style. He says that these are ultrasonic torpedoes with the power of Triton's horn. So yeah, he's using some serious torpedoes. I believe this is also after we use decoy torpedoes because apparently Lamias are heat-seeking. Yes, makes sense. They were honing in on the engine heat before, so they use decoys like you actually do in real modern warfare, in electronic warfare. This is also a point that Jason brings up, is like, he's like, listen, these guys don't understand submarine warfare. They go on the sea, they don't go in it. That would be sacrilege to them, so play that to your advantage. And all of this really just makes me want either an FGO Naval Miniatures game or give me an RTS, guys. I'd play this RTS. Like I said, give me the tech tree, build me the Echidna so I can make demonic beast units. Later, Odysseus is like, switch from Lamia production to Wyverns for anti-air. And I'm like, this is cool. This is like some cool aesthetics. But yeah, so Orion is bit but not stopped because there's a lot of moments. You talk about how intense this is, right? There are a lot of like false starts and like darkest moments that immediately flip around and become triumphs, right? Like, this happens a lot in this section over and over again. You're just, blow, counter blow, counter blow. Like, it goes back and forth. It's really interesting. So we get to section 23, Maiden of Monsters, the Tactician of Steel, and the Angel of Assassination. God, that is a mouthful. They have to use smaller font text for this in the record.
Yeah, I wonder how long it was in Japanese, because they probably went ham on the kanji.
Yes. But so, basically, at the end of that last section, though we actually get the flashback here, the Echidna went berserk because Chiome got thrown in by it. They fed her to her earlier to produce more Kerberuses, because she wasn't doing it on her mental alone. So, Odysseus callously throws Chiome to get eaten by the Echidna, but Chiome wakes up inside the Echidna, and she remembers the plan. The plan is to activate her curse, transform back into the cursed serpent, and take over the body of the Echidna, or at the very least, make it go berserk with pain. So, she does that. She does all that stuff. She becomes Snek. The Echidna goes berserk, meaning that the demonic beasts will now attack everybody. We still have to fight them, but also the Atlanteans have to fight them.
It's like we have basically, you deny the enemy an asset, and while you haven't removed yourself an enemy, you have given your enemy another enemy.
Basically, this reveals what Jason's real plan is, which is he is pure chaos warfare. This is chaos doctrine. This is just like, sow discord, deny enemy information, deny them assets, just make everything as fucking confusing for everybody as possible. So, we do get some very subtle hints by Odysseus here, because they have one Kerberos left, and the soldier's like, sir, it's berserk, and Odysseus is like, don't worry, I'll bring it to heel. I actually reviewed these sections. I don't know if they explicitly state here, but I believe it's pretty obvious. We talked about the Hades krill being lost. Odysseus is hopped up on that shit.
Probably.
That's why he can control Kerberuses, undoubtedly. Also, possibly why in some forms he's basically immortal. Like, when we fight him later, he outpaces everybody because he just refuses to die. Anyway, I love this instant drama. Just add storm. Like, it starts storming for no reason. There's great animation in the background here. Shout out to all the animation, by the way, in this Lostbelt. It's fucking great. We'll talk about the literal fucking cutscenes we have later. I love this scene setting, right? Like, Odysseus rolls the fuck up. He undoes his mask. He also reveals his boob window. He shows up. I love his little speech here where he's just like, I don't care. It's time for us to fight to see which one of us lives. Like, which one of it is our fate. We have both brought everything we can to this battle. I don't care about, who's morally correct or whatever. Fate decides. Let's fight, Just great moments. This will be our last battle on sea and all that. And then we go to this great moment where everybody else fucking collapses. Odysseus is fucking immortal. Local man unkillable. Lose at 11. And then the thing you kind of expect to happens, where Charlotte jumps up out of the water to attack him, and Odysseus is just like, nah. And just, I presume punches her in the chest. I don't know. There's a lot of blood. But he also doesn't have weapons, so... And, there's this great moment, but then Charlotte reveals, actually, Odysseus, that was your problem. See, the only way I could make you drop your guard, which is the way my Noble Phantasm works, was if I used my Noble Phantasm and you thought you killed me. So I used Athena Krill to give me battle continuation, and also, by the way, you were stabbed. And Odysseus is stabbed, and he's like, shit. Oh. Was this where I went wrong? Because he reveals that he defeated himself. He defeated proper human history, Odysseus, and that guy gave him his data.
Yes.
He refused to give him emotional information. And this is the point that Charlotte brings up. She's like, you could never understand because you, Lostbelt Odysseus, don't understand love. You've never met Penelope. And that I assume is also what human history Odysseus was hiding from his counterpart, was like, no, fam, you're not going to get me talking about my wife. So yeah, Odysseus loses because he fails to account for human emotions. It's thematic or something.
It is thematic. I mean, like it's this entire time, like, Odysseus has been basically pushing the perfect logic machine for the super logical master who's, working with the super logic gods.
Yes. So, yeah, there's some thematic tells here. I'll bring this back later.
Yeah.
I do find it kind of interesting, while I think it is thematically appropriate that Charlotte gets the killing blow, it is kind of weird that, like, Odysseus is our main antagonist in this, and we don't get to fight him at all. Like, he's not even half complete like Canis or Old Man Lee, or Scotty, for that matter. Like, he just doesn't have a sprite. We fight the final Cerberus, and then he beats us all up. So I'm like, that's a little disappointing, but I also totally understand. Presumably because of how fucking chunky this Lostbelt is, they are really pushing this stuff out as fast as they did. So, well, yeah, Wodama used the code that proper human history Odysseus would get. So that would be in the data download that Odysseus got. That's why Odysseus was like, you think this is a fucking joke, my dude? And Wodama is like, yes, actually. And Odysseus is like, okay, well, I'm going to play a joke on you. It's called Canis is right here. Anyway. So, I do think it's a little disappointing there's not like a big climactic fight, but also this ending is just perfect. This is absolutely like totally the Charlotte Corday thing, and the Odysseus did not plan for this, and out of love, she does a murder. And she gets
it's like super thematic because, Charlotte was literally the one that Odysseus summoned and literally threw her away thinking that she'd be useful for nothing. And she's had that mindset this entire time. And at this last moment was like, no, I'm going to do something to change fucking everything. And by God, she did.
And then there's this great moment where after that killing blow goes, the sky just fucking clears. It goes to sunset. Just like, whoosh. And then this is where we start getting goodbyes. And this one, this is a brutal one.
They had us. Because Charlotte Corday. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, my heart. CG for this. But Charlotte explains that, like, as she sees your faces, and she's like, hey, so there was a little bit of a drawback on my Athena Krill. I got battle continuation, but since I have died again, I don't remember anything, actually. I don't remember why I wanted to stab that guy. I don't remember who you are, or what I'm doing here, or anything, really. And basically just, like this whole monologue about how she doesn't really remember, but she feels like she did something important for somebody, and she really hopes that person appreciates it, as you're standing right there, holding her hand as she's dying again, presumably telling her that you do appreciate it. And she breaks down in tears, and her spirit origin finally collapses after she got that one shot in. But hey, guess what? Remember how I talked about how cutting off the head of the snake doesn't always work? Yeah, no, the Atlantis border troops are still fucking zealot lunatics, and they want to go down swinging. Not only was Odysseus going to blow up the Cerberus again, but these guys are going to blow up their own ship reactor and destroy the Royal Fortune and fuck it all up. And you can't get loose of them until Jason appears. Huzzah! So Jason jumps on their boats, yanks the anchor off and tells you guys to get the fuck away. And you're like, but Jason, what will you do? And he's like, don't worry about me, guys. Don't fucking worry.
I'm fucking Jason. I'm great at running away.
And I do appreciate that Jason blasting off is canon. Because the reactor fucking explodes. Mandricardo literally says, man, there's no way he lived through that. And then Jason fucking lands on your boat.
Looking perfectly fine.
Well, he has his shock face on, but yes, looking remarkably okay. And then you have this great line where you can either be like stunned silent or just be like, Jason? And he's like, whoa, thought I was gonna really die there. I'm gonna sit down now, guys. Don't ask me to do shit. Like, and I think Jason even says something to the effect of, like, he's very surprised he's still alive. He thinks he's done. He has outlived his plan for himself, basically. So he's gonna take a nap now. And then we reach the shore. So I don't have notes for this, but I think I remember these two sections pretty good, my dudes. This is The Hunter Who Pierces the Goddess Part 1 and Part 2. Oh, boy, howdy. This is a whole fucking thing. So, you guys go to the island, you beat up some guys, you get to the optimum spot. Orion is ready with his shot. He fires his Noble Phantasm up. He's grabbing it, he's like, give me all your support spells, matched it, activates the Ortonax system to, like, brace him so he doesn't fucking explode. He, practice draws the bow. He's like, all right, I can do the shots. You're gonna make my spirit origin creak and groan, but I can do it. Takes the first shot. It's a CG. It flies up into space. Blam! Bonks into Artemis. Smacks into her and reveals her core and, blows up her defenses. And then Artemis is like, what the fuck? And then we go for the second shot. He's gonna do it. He's gonna shoot the shot. And then Artemis drops her weighted training clothing. She reveals her power level. You remember how we had that pesky charge time?
Oh, yeah. It was a lie.
Yeah, she doesn't need to do that. That's the safe charge time. If she removes all safeties, she can fire, I think, as frequently as she likes, which she does. So she charges up a shot and fires it, and it perfectly cancels out the second arrow. And this is where we get, once again, darkest hour moments. Shit's real bad. Artemis is already charging up a second shot, even though Da Vinci says she's going to blow up all of her fucking magic circuit to do it. But she's already charging another shot. It's really bad. Orion has no more arrows. Though, I should note, he's not dead. Like, Orion is like, fuck, if only I had one more arrow. What can I do? And then your command seals light up. It's a summoning. A summoning, our first official summoning in Lostbelt, so they call you to call it to a servant. And who do you whistle up? Yo, it's an old man. Yeah, Hector of Troy appears, and he reveals, yes, I was counter-summoned by Achilles. And then we get to part 2. This is, oh my god, guys.
I love how they did this, honestly.
So part 2 stands with a flashback, which, by the way, I love this fucking sequence. It's another endurance battle with Achilles, but he's fighting on, and he's like, no, you guys don't get it. I'm fucking dead already, actually. Like, I'm literally not alive right now, and I'm still kicking your asses. And in fact, I am going to stop talking, because I am going to stand here until my job is done, and I am just going to keep killing you motherfuckers. You will not pass. Yeah, you can't even beat a dead man. He also explicitly calls out, yo, I heard a legend about a motherfucker called Benkei. That he fought with arrows, and if I can't fight like that, how am I Greece's greatest hero? And, like, he does it. Delightworks, Aniplex, Cloverworks usually does these anime adaptations. Free idea. When you animate this sequence, do it in complete silence. No sound effects, just play OST, and just show Achilles fighting. Like, for, 5 minutes. Because you know there's a great action sequence here as he just keeps going. And even when he's out of juice, he's like, there's one more thing I can do. I can call forth my greatest enemy. He'll bail them out. And yeah, so first of all, fucking great moment for Achilles. Like, can't even beat a dead man. I love this type of shit. You know, these kinds of heroic last stands are always great for me, and it's so Achilles. And I do believe that Achilles even has a Batcon normally.
Yeah,
in his playable profile because his default skills are really boring, and he has like 50 NPs. But
I'm pretty sure he does because he's usually immortal.
Yeah,
that's some sort of
Batcon. He has a Batcon though because he can fight through some shit because he is Achilles. So Hector gets counter summoned, and he says like, all right, guys, real quick, I'm just here for a quick pep talk, and then I'm going to stop this one arrow, and that's all I'm here to do, okay? Paris, you're great. You're doing good, bro. And Paris is like, Oni-chan? He's like, there's still something more you can do. Orion, you do it. And Orion's like, shut the fuck up, man. I got it. I can do it still. He's like, cool, great. All right. And Mandricardo's just like, oh my god, Oni-chan, senpai? And he's like, don't you worry, you're cool too. You'll understand what your role is in a second. All right, cool. I'm going to throw my spear. And then he just hucks his spear, his unbreakable spear, up into space, using up all of the juice he's just been summoned. The man literally shows up for 5 seconds, throws his spear, blocks an Artemis shot, and then he is dead. He explodes.
Well, he doesn't full on explode because they very pointedly point out that Durandal lands back nearby.
Yes. Well, so Durandal survives, but he's like, yep, that's it. My spirit origin is used up. I am going away now.
But Mandricardo has something to ask him, and Hector's all like, yeah, do it, dude.
Yeah, he's like, wait, can I? And he's like, you gotta ask? I fucking dropped that spear. It's not my spear anymore, dude.
It's just a weapon.
Yeah, he threw his own arm off. And then we get the second shot, because Artemis is still coming. We haven't still figured out how we're going to shoot her. So she fires her 3rd shot in a row, I think.
Yeah.
And then we get this great moment. Mandricardo picks up the Durandana, which is Durandal, by the way. Durandal is just the blade without the spear half. So now he has Durandal, and he reveals his second forbidden noble phantasm, the one that was never realized. If he actually achieves Durandal, he has the unbreakable sword, and he fires it. He fires it with all his guts to block a goddess shot. Which is saying something, by the way, because Mandricardo is not normally the type of servant who could stand up to a divine spirit, let alone an actual god, right?
Well, this is one of those things. He does. I can't remember what exactly he says, but he says he's not doing this, for glory or for fame. He's doing this to save his friend.
Yes. Which is the proper way to wield a chivalric sword. But I would also like to point out, Durandal is actually indestructible. Not only does the blade survive being Hector's spear all the way to be Roland's sword, but this is a plot point in the original Song of Roland. Roland doesn't want anybody to get the blade because it's super full of saint juice. It's got 4 saints' relics in it. So first, he tries to smash it on the ground. This causes a feature in the Pyrenees Mountains, in legend anyway. This causes what is called to this day the Breach of Roland. There is a gap in the Pyrenees Mountains between the borders of France and Spain, which is allegedly caused by Roland smashing the mountains with his sword, which this whole CG sequence does justice, right? And then second, Roland, he either throws it in a poisoned river or he chucks it so hard it embeds in the wall of a nearby castle. Like, Durandal is fucking unbreakable, which Mandricardo uses to his extent to block this last shot, and Artemis is like, what the fuck is happening? Anyway, I'm going to shoot again. So the sacrifices keep stacking up. We got one more guy who needs to take a bullet for the team. So Paris has an idea. Hector told him there's still something he could do. He's like, Apollo, you have authority over arrows, right? Make me the arrow. Transform my spirit origin into the arrow. And some people were like, this seems a little pulley. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I'll say it this way. Because Apollo is known for a couple of things. One, he literally is one of the gods who has authority, capital A authority, over archery. It's one of his things. He's an archery god. Remember how Atalante's Phoebus Catastrophe works. She doesn't just call on Artemis. She shoots 2 arrows. One of them is for Apollo as well. So the twins share this archery symbology. Also, Apollo transforms a lot of motherfuckers. Like, he is responsible for a lot of people transformed into flowers and trees and stuff. So to me, it makes perfect sense that, like, he could use up what little authority he has to transmogrify Paris into an arrow, especially because, servants are spirits and stuff. So Paris becomes the last arrow, and then we get the big one. The big one. Like, you thought Wodaime coming down from the mountain was the big scene, and you saw fucking Gatia again. No. This is the big one. This is the shocker. Orion reveals he is Grand Archer. He was summoned for a purpose. And he's like, but I'm going to give up my status as Grand and throw it all into this last shot. This will unlock my 3rd noble phantasm. I will shoot down the goddess. And he does so. And like I said, this is a fucking cutscene, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they have the fucking backdrop against the sunset. Great placement, by the way. You see the charge up, the golden light. There's the narration. He fires the arrow up. You see the beam come down. There's an animation as the two shots connect. And, yeah, there it is. Somebody's got the screenshot. I love this shit. Look at that, like, last dying light type stuff. And he fires up. You see the arrow overtake, and he doesn't even hit her core directly. He fires through the beam and splits Artemis up the middle. And then it gets Sage. So, Orion has given up his grand status. He's exceeded the limit of his spirit origin. He's fucking dying. But he's happy to go if it means he can, save the woman he loves, right?
Right.
And that's how he says what he did. He didn't fire this. He also says, I didn't fire this arrow out of hatred or revenge or anything. I fired it out of love. And then Artemis gets this, right? Like, as she's dying, as her modules are collapsing, she, like, tries to figure out what the fuck just happened, and she gets it. She understood this is an arrow of love. This was an arrow meant to save her. Orion even looks up at the sky and says, you don't belong up there, goddess.
And I think he did also say something that Artemis could have done something to fucking, get off one last shot, but she just couldn't because she was just so filled with this man's love at that moment.
Yeah. She says she could have either tried to fire another shot, or she could have, like, ejected her extra modules like Hephaestus did, right? But she's just so stunned, so overwhelmed, and just, like, accepting. She's been so lonely, and now she doesn't feel lonely anymore. There's this great shot of them holding hands. It's adorable. And
fucking Sun in the Underworld plays, and it kills me because that's the Extella fucking main theme, which is, on the moon. So it's just like,
And it's also, because it's Extella, it's really soulful. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, slow piano notes as Artemis basically just, like, closes her space eyes and, falls to Earth, defeated. And she's just like, yeah, this is your complete victory. You've hit my heart, buddy. And it's just like, the feels. Like, just the symbolism of him saying, he's not doing it for revenge or anything. He's doing it out of love to save her.
What was the name of the Noble Phantasm? Wasn't it like Arrow of Love or something?
Yeah, I think it was, because as Artemis Orion, their Noble Phantasm is Tristar Amore Mio, which is, her arrow of love. Let me double check. The wiki will have it. Yes. Ortigia Amore Mio, the huntsman who pierces the goddess. So basically, also, it's another important point they bring this up. He also fires it. You use all 3 command spells to order him to do it. But yeah, that's where this gif is from, because that's that firing down. Ortigia Amore Mio. And it's like, damn, dude. An anti-divine EX rank Noble Phantasm, maximum number of targets 1 machine, range infinite until it reaches Artemis. I love fucking Fate sometimes, guys. God damn.
Well, I like they said, this Noble Phantasm is hyper specific. It can only be like realized with like very specific conditions. Like he had to have the divine arrow. He had to give up his grand status. There was a third one. What was it?
I think it was either he's shooting it for love or the command. Oh yeah, he had a divine construct bow. That's right.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like he says it's his 3rd Noble Phantasm, but I think it's more that like he creates a new Noble Phantasm in this moment. He creates a new legend.
They actually say here in the wiki, Orion gained a third noble phantasm that shouldn't exist.
Yeah. So this is a special status, him as Grand. Let's talk about Grands a little bit. So we've encountered a couple of Grand characters before, right?
Right.
Obviously, Solomon himself is Grand Caster. We learned that his properties as the Grand Caster were very specific to what he had to do, because all Grands are summoned for a reason. So as Grand Caster, Solomon had Clairvoyance EX. He could see the past, present, and future, and also he had a very specific ability to basically he had access to the 10 rings he could give back, which removed basically that killed Gaetia as a beast. That removed him from being an immortal king of mages and made him a human man to punch, big punch. We see this similarly with Gramps. Gramps is Grand Assassin. He is summoned not specifically to do anything, but he follows us to Babylonia because he knows we need some help. And he has that special ability to conceptually weaponize death against Tiamat, who is immortal.
Honestly, I kind of wondering if, because in Babylonia, because I was actually thinking about this, in Babylonia, he also says he gives up his grand status to do that. So is giving up a grand status just a way to basically do something that should not normally be possible?
I think that seems right. Because remember, Solomon technically gave up his grand status too, because he gave up his position in the Throne of Heroes.
Yeah.
So what we know is that the Grand Servant container is fucking huge. It's a step between normal servants to Grand as it is from humans to servants, basically.
Yeah.
For instance, we talked about how Qin Shi Huang had a spirit origin that was equivalent to a Grand. He is not Grand Ruler because that's not how it works, but that's how much power. And beasts are supposed to be even many more times in size and power. But it seems like Grands do have the inherent ability to give up their status in order to basically create a conceptual weapon against beasts or equivalent forces. I suspect that a true, a true god probably qualifies like a beast. They certainly have a special intro, spoilers for later. But yeah, so I think you're right that it seems like basically using up all your grand juice, and I think somebody said in chat, I think the idea is that they have to sacrifice their grand status to do it, partially because that's how humans get that advantage rather than the world, but I don't know for sure. It definitely seems like every grand we have met, every grand servant we have met, has to give up their status to help us, but they have a special power as basically a conceptual weapon that defeats the enemy, right?
Mm.
And they're all summoned for a purpose. Now, you can argue, Koyan Sky is supposed to be here. There's something freaky going on with her spirit origin. Is Orion supposed to be here for her? I don't think so. I think the Counterforce specifically summoned him to deal with Artemis, because that was the whole point of that noble phantasm he created. Yeah, if we had to fight complete Beast 3, we would have needed a Grand. Instead, we got alter egos mostly, basically.
Well, yeah, like I said, both the... Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm just we fought... Beast 3, L and R were both just... They were incomplete, mostly.
Yeah. And we still had to... And because we didn't have a Grand, we had to cheat in our own way to defeat them.
Hacks.
Yeah, everybody's hacks. It's fake. Okay, he does say he had a different reason for being summoned. It's interesting, then. It's interesting. We'll see if we can that makes sense with some of his other purposes and what I know about some of the Grand stuff. We'll see how explicit that becomes in Olympus. That makes sense, though, why he was left behind. But yeah, we've met another Grand. By the way, spoilers. This is why I was like, I kind of feel like I need to expend a little bit of effort for Super Orion as well, because I got Gramps, I got Merlin. What is it with Grands and Buster, huh? Merlin, by the way, is not literally Grand Caster, but he qualifies for the position, so he may end up there because Salmon is not there. Okay, so there's some interesting things we'll see about what we got going on. But yeah, that's basically where that ends. Is we get this shot, the showdown, and we have God, it hurts me so much, but I forgot actually we got another goodbye at the start. Bart left when we touched the island. He was like, That was what I was summoned for. I am the courier. I was supposed to deliver you. I've got to go now. And basically, after Orion goes, the only servant you are left with is Jason, and they just have this fucking moment where they flash back to everybody, right?
Right.
Starting with Drake, they go through all the people you met and lost on this, and kind of remembering them in your hearts because you're about to do the final move. Because it's not even fucking over, guys. This was 2 of the 3 things. So we gotta do that third.
Yeah, so everyone gets back in the storm border.
And sails away into the night towards the hole.
The Great Pit.
The Great Pit, they call it, yeah. So this is section 26, the last one. Final Showdown, the Hollow Sea God.
Oh, man, it's a trip, because everything starts off okay. You're swimming along, you're making it towards the hole. Oh, no, I'm being pulled.
We're being sucked towards it. Also, by the way, does that tree look illusionary to anybody? Oh, yeah, no, it's a fucking hologram.
That must mean that Olympus must not be up, it must be down. Hollow Earth was right!
On the Hollow Earth theory. By the way, I love this, though. I love that even in the ultimate version of it, Atlantis is still under the fucking water. They made the legend work out. So you get pulled towards the maelstrom. Captain Nemo has experience with this. But as you get sucked in, he's like, we're going to charge straight in. We're going to drop in on him. There's nothing that can stop me. And Goldorf is like, are you okay? And he's like, fuck yeah. Like, Nemo's really gung-ho about all this. He doesn't give he does not give a fuck about the ocean. So you dive into the border of the Great Pit, the maelstrom, and you're like, hey, there's a large object coming towards us fucking fast. What is it? Oh yeah, it's fucking Poseidon. He's ready to rock.
Still in his full machine god form.
Yes, he's in his machine god form. He is out to get you. And they mention he has a barrier around him. These spacecraft have shields. This is why Artemis couldn't be shot down by other noble phantasms. So he's got an impenetrable shield all around him, and he's firing weapons at us. What do? We scanned him. It appears there's a tiny weakness in his shield. Oh, gee, what caused that? And then you just look at the piece of Poseidon core you're holding. Oh, right, foreshadowing. So, yeah, by the way, to put this in perspective, motherfucking Servant Francis Drake went all the way to the Great Pit, somehow penetrated Poseidon's impenetrable barrier, popped one of his cores, weakened his shield, and fucked off back to land.
He got cursed for it, but Pioneer of the Stars is no fucking joke.
Also, it was explained in Okeanos. Drake has a conceptual strength against Poseidon because remember how she got that grail? She punched Poseidon's ghost.
Oh.
She punched the divine spirit, the last remnant of Poseidon. So yeah. And that was real life history. That's canon in Fate. Real life Sir Francis Drake found a Holy Grail equivalent by punching Poseidon out. So yeah, Pioneer of the Stars applied. That was Drake. That's why Drake said it wouldn't apply anymore. Drake already got her one, basically. But this gives us a tiny weakness. So here's what Nemo's plan is. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to joust him. We're going to come at him head on, firing weapons, and then we're going to... Yeah, the manga illustrates it. It's pretty sick. So we're going to dive at the last minute. One of these guys calls it crazy. By the way, I do believe technically that maneuver, the emergency dive in a joust, that is called a crazy Ivan. You accelerate toward the enemy and then you break off at the last minute and get behind them. It's an actual Submariner's trick. Look it up. And then we're going to shoot the shadow border at him, and you're going to land on the hull and destroy the other cores from the inside. Because remember, we can do that. And that's what we fucking do. After we transition to the map, which I love, by the way. This is possibly the best Atlantis OST straight up. There's two special tracks here. There's the boss theme, and then there's the actual map theme. And I love them both, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this underwater map theme is really cool, and then the actual boss fight. But yeah, so basically, we fire the shadow border out. Goldorf is driving. He's having PTSD flashbacks. We're giving him encouragement. Just you and Mash, because Jason is here, but Jason is like, yeah, I can't fight anymore. I need to rest. Like, if you want anything out of me, I can't do anything.
He gives you buffs in fights, though.
Yeah, he gives you, Jason's pep talk in the last one. But, like, so canonically, you and Mash solo these. I wonder if they do animate this, how they'll handle that. Like, will Mash just bunker bolt them? I don't know. But so, you have to attack the cores, and there's some great stuff here. First of all, Poseidon thinks every human is Francis Drake, and he is mad about it. Like, they go out of their way to say that, like, he's gone crazy.
He is hollow.
Like, he's gone so crazy hiding in the oceans all this time, and then Drake hurt him. First time in forever. He's a lunatic. And then you do the actual boss fight, and holy shit, these boss subtitles. Like, they play this techno-ass fucking music, and then, what is it called again? I don't remember the exact words.
I don't remember, I'm sorry.
It's like, God Machine Advent or something. But, like, they flash up the normal subtitles, right?
Yeah.
And then the fucking screen slams down in fucking metal squares, and they, like, punch it in, and it's Poseidon in Greek letters.
Yeah.
It's fucking rad as hell. I love this bit so much. Oh my god. The boss fights weren't that bad either. The most annoying thing was that he sucks at current features. That's shitty, Poseidon. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You do these last three boss fights, you blow up the 3 cores, you fight Chiron at the end. Chiron also lived, Achilles didn't get him, so you defeat him at the showdown. Jason, pep talks you, and then you go to get back on it, and he's like, and you're like, Jason, are you coming with it? And he's like, no guys, you've won. You've defeated Atlantis. This is all my job. I'll sit here and make sure Chiron doesn't get any funny ideas. And you're like, all right, Jason, goodbye. Goodbye, Captain. And you get back on the shadow border, you drive the fuck out, and protect these sort of good fallen off ships. Correct. This is what sinks all those shipping containers. This motherfucker. So you get back in the shadow border, you drive off, and Jason reveals, remember how Medea gave him that mystic coat earlier?
Yeah.
To make him look cooler? He turns it off, and he reveals he is covered in blood. He did actually get blown the fuck up.
Actually, I think he's been getting injured this entire fucking time and just been hiding it.
I think he, I don't know if he got, seriously beat up, but definitely in this last bit when he's been fighting, yes.
Because I think that's what he's been doing every time he's been fucking, laying down and stuff. He's just been trying to recover from all this fucking fighting that, he normally doesn't do.
Yeah.
He's been trying to play it off because he's a cool tactician, which is what the Mystico was supposed to do. It was supposed to make him appear as a cool and competent commander.
Yeah.
Which was...
And he did reference it when he did the plan earlier, because he said that he was glad he had the Mystic Code because he was sweating bullets. But yeah, so basically he reveals to Chiron that, yeah, he's been fucked up this entire time. He has not been cool. He has been basically dying. He's been on his last legs. But he's a Greek hero too, damn it. And so he had to make sure to see them off. That was his job. Because that was a big thing about this Lostbelt, is everybody had a job, right? Everybody had a goal they had to accomplish. So Jason saw them off on their journey, and Chiron is like, wow, damn. Well, I guess my pan-human history, my proper human history counterpart did okay teaching you, kid. Anyway, let's die on this exploding Poseidon. Poseidon explodes. But it's not over yet. You're descending into Olympus. And then there's basically two parts to this epilogue, right, when you get your Grail. By the way, they kind of fluff it. You get a Grail because Poseidon had a Grail level experience. Well, somebody had all the screencaps game. But yeah, there it is. This is, they run through everybody's goals. You never stopped running, brought hope, bought a recent time, saw them, saw everything, fought for everything, saw everyone off on this stuff. Good job, Jason. Shout out to you, brother. You still have problems with women, though. Anyway, we get to the epilogue. Just in our notes, but we get to the epilogue, which is number one. Musashi is in Olympus, looking up, and she's like, "Ooh, that shooting star must be them. I knew they'd make it. Don't worry, guys. It'll be a cinch from here." Actually, no, it won't. This will be the hardest fucking fight you've ever had. I hope you guys are okay, because it sucks down here. Which, by the way, by all accounts, Olympus does suck. Like, it's really fucking hard. I did not realize they went that ham on, like, letting you know these fights are going to be hard. Because, like we said, events are usually like a year to 6 month turnaround, so they had to have already been in pre-planning for some of these boss fights, right? So, yeah, that's really interesting. And then we get the second teaser. It's due to the Forge. Who is it? It's fucking Muramasa. He's working. He's preparing some weapons, and he's talking to a guy. Who's he talking to? It's fucking proper human history, Hephaestus. Apparently, by defeating regular Hephaestus or something, causing him some damage, he was able to summon or be applied with regular Hephaestus' authority. And Hephaestus is like Muramasa's Forge buddy, and he talks about how, yes, although my Lostbelt counterpart was on their side, I am on the side of the Lostbelts and the Olympians. Probably because proper human history Hephaestus would be way more bitter.
Probably.
Yeah, he got access to the other part of his brain as a catalyst. So he summoned pan-human history Hephaestus, and now we know that Muramasa is imbued with the Forge God's authority. Yeah, he got access to Hephaestus' main unit somehow. I think the implication was that he cut it off himself, but I don't know if he can do that normally. It was cut off, and that's how Muramasa got it. And that's our cliffhanger. I thought he said he was from proper human history. I believe that was the note. It's a little weird if it's just the other normal half of him. Because he said, like, my counterpart.
Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's been, like, some weird lobotomization, and because, like, the half that they got, was the side that reason that they should stick with humans, and this side is the side that reason that they should stick with the Lostbelt. I don't fucking know.
Listen, I was very tired when this happened, and we did not have time to review this, so the exact, like, dialogue is left to me. Okay, so so it's funny, that wouldn't be his head then, it would be his heart, basically. That's also very funny that's the emotional one is the one that sides with them, but the logic one is the one that thought it was rational to help us. There's a lot of really interesting parallels, which we're about to get to. But basically, we have to fight Hephaestus and Muramasa now. It's the Nasu double gut punch. You must fight everybody, and also, by the way, this is going to be really hard, even Musashi thinks so. I love the symbolism, though, that we're like a shooting star coming down to Olympus, though. It's really neat. They show a CG, by the way. Olympus is a really fucked up Crystal Spires and Toga's fucking Space Mountain.
Space Mountain.
So, I've got some overall Lostbelt thoughts here that I put down, and I want to hear Lucky's opinion on these thoughts, some of his own thoughts. So I want to say, thematically and structurally, this Lostbelt is designed very interestingly. When we do these deep dives, right, these full talks, normally we spend fucking hours waxing on our relationship with the Cryptor and their servant and what kind of character they are and what they mean for the story. But you can't really do that here. Wadame appears personally very little. He's in a couple of phone calls. He shows up for one section. And then when he fucks off at roughly the halfway point of the story, he never shows up again.
Nope.
He has no further input. It's all Odysseus. Similarly, Canis is jobbed out before even then, though you do get a couple of fights with them, though obviously Canis has appeared before, so there's a little bit of build-up there. But Canis jobs out and leaves to set up how the Dioscuri are gremlins, but then they don't appear further either. They also recall back to Olympus. So we can't really have that conversation about our Cryptor yet. This means that our primary antagonists for Lostbelt Atlantis are Odysseus and Space Artemis. I'm calling her Space Artemis because Mecha Artemis, I guess, would also be good, but I like saying space. I like space. And then you have the generic Atlantis soldiers, the literal faceless spear carriers, as the backdrops, right, to play Odysseus' foil. Chiron comes at the end as a foil to Jason and Achilles. Well, I'll talk about Poseidon.
Poseidon's our kaiju fight.
Yeah. I have a note for that in a second. But basically, like, Chiron comes in at the end as a foil for specific characters we get later, and he talks about how he's buddies with Odysseus, but they don't really interact much, right? They
have a great working relationship.
Yeah, they have a great working relationship. They fit well together, but mostly Chiron interacts with, like I said, with Jason and Achilles as a foil. So Space Artemis is obviously the most powerful one, arguably the most tragic, right? Right up there at the end. Yeah. And she has this really complex relationship with Orion and her fellow gods and god ships, like with Hephaestus, right, back and forth and stuff. But otherwise, she doesn't get a lot of characterization. Like, most of it is just this, like, slow emotional moment of, like, realizing that, like, wow, Artemis is, like, really lonely and has a lot of PTSD because she has shot a lot of things. And that kind of all culminates in that moment of, like, her fall, that, like, crushing emotional weight of, like, oh, holy shit, this guy really loves me. Fuck. Well, guess I'll die.
Guess I'll die now.
Like, that's the only response. Like, she realizes that because she receives the arrow of love, right, that she, like, oh, I can't even do anything else. The only thing I can do is fall. And it's honestly the same with Poseidon. Poseidon basically plays the equivalent role in this of the tree. He also has sick music. He's basically the really, really overpowered Eldritch boss thing in the last node that you fight, right?
Right.
Like, every one of these Lost Belts has had this kind of moment where we're like, all right, everything's going great. And then, oh, fuck. Something came out of nowhere. It's really huge. We're fucked. It's a tree. And in this case, it's Poseidon.
Yes.
So this leaves us with our main antagonist, the main character on the enemy side we see the most, is Odysseus. A logical, calculating tactician who will spend even the lives of his own men if it brings him victory. He will tolerate any collateral damage. He will use any excessive force. He will make use of demonic beasts, divine punishment, subterfuge and sabotage, like he tries to, send bombs after us, use Crode against us. He will use any of the Theos Kleronomia, I wrote this down, but I don't even know if I said that right, to defend Olympus' border, which is his eternal charge. Now, he does have his pride. Like, he does even say in that moment before we fight him that, like, he's like, maybe I should have called up some Olympus soldiers instead. But he's like, no, I said that my Atlantis division would suffice, so I'll use it, right? Like, He has some pride, but mostly it's all cold logic. It's all just, minimum effort for maximum damage, right? So in this sense, I see that, I've thought about this, I see Odysseus as a foil to us and Jason as commanders. He's a foil to us, obviously, but he's a servant, too. He's a Lostbelt servant, so he's a foil to our servants as well. And I think primarily he's a foil to Jason. Mm-hmm. So we will also use up our men's lives if needed. We do it a fuck ton in this story. But we don't do it as a calculated sacrifice to maximize the chance of victory. Every one of those moments is a heroic stand to allow for any chance of victory to begin with, right? We are so fucking outgunned that the only thing we can do is have our guys use up literally everything we have to let us have a chance to win. Whereas Odysseus is just like, yes, just park your boats right there, don't let them escape. You'll get blown up too, but they will definitely get blown up. And then we'll get blown up, and it kind of sucks for them. We bounce ideas off our subordinates, and we relax, and we rest ourselves by spending time with them and everything. Odysseus never takes a day off. He is always working. Even though Chiron is his dear friend, somebody even brought up how, like, Chiron was, like, kind of mad at the end, and he was like, there's no room for negotiation. Like, they're close, but they don't really hang out, right?
Right.
So I put this in my notes. Odysseus is all work, no play, and that's kind of his weakness, because we're cautioned to take it easy in this chapter, right? Like, we are literally told, hey, take a break, sit down, relax. Similarly, Odysseus is at least externally always calm, whereas Jason is emotionally volatile. He is all over the place. He is cracking jokes, he's making faces, the whole thing. So I think it's a stark contrast, but it throws in sharp relief how different the two sides are, right? So Odysseus is our main antagonist, and I think that's kind of what they're going to do.
I'm gonna reiterate this. Like, I do think it's a little weird that he jobs out to Corday. I mean, it's a great scene, but I was kind of expecting we at least have like one, at least nothing fight.
I mean, FGO, we literally did it with Canis earlier. FGO's not shy about hopeless fights, right?
Yeah. I think this is around the time that things were getting hectic, so they might have had a plan for it and just scrapped it due to time.
Yeah.
That's my idea. But it is a little bit of a letdown because, again, you are right. Like, well, Daime is super cool and suave, but he's the evil mastermind sitting at the top of the tower, petting his cat on a chair.
I do at least appreciate that this Lostbelt shows that he is not all talk. Like, if he comes down, if we make him come down there, he's fucking powerful. But I think this is going to turn out to be his fatal flaw. He is so fucking wrapped up in his own perfect plans and his own systems, and that's what's going to fuck him. Like, he should have got off his keister and just punched out Gaetier. We know a dude can do it. We did it ourselves, okay? Like, he can't be that hard to punch. And finished us off, but he didn't because he didn't want to endanger the perfect plan he foresaw. So he fucks off back home, and then we beat the fuck out of Atlantis as a result.
Unless his perfect plan is his fucking him getting fucked up. Is he that meta?
Yeah, I don't know. That could be the meta play is like, he set things up so that even if he loses, he wins. I don't know. We'll see. I want to bring up a thematic point, right? Atlantis has thematic parallels to Okeanos, adventure, comradeship, all that stuff. Very deliberate, literal narrative parallels. I also want to say it strongly plays to literal themes of breaking through and weathering storms. Notice how many of those times those themes come up in section titles. Bart even calls us out to Odysseus. He's like, "You're just one more wave to be crested, motherfucker." Like, all this stuff. It is a metaphor for overcoming conflict, which seems overwhelming, and succeeding through your human ingenuity and because of your values and emotions, not in spite of them. It's really interesting that this was released basically at the end of 2019, like before shit got really freaky deaky. Mm-hmm. But I think for us now in 2021 it applies so much. Like, we start this chapter by being blown the fuck out, thrown in a literal ocean, an ocean of trouble, and washed ashore. How many people have felt like that in their life, right? Mm-hmm. And what do? You fucking get up out of the ocean, you spit out that water, you tie your shoes, you get back up, and you eat that horse. Wait, I lost the metaphor. But no, like, that's the whole point of this story is humans persevere. We weather the storm. That's how you live life. You can't let the ocean pull you down. You gotta keep moving forward. You don't want to forget what you've been through and who helped you along the way, but you have to move on and keep struggling. Estrella even says this. Don't even give a shit about winning. You have to fight now. This is your chance for survival. You must fight, right? So it's a big old deal. It's very important. And so this Lostbelt is interesting because it's the most direct and overwhelming we've encountered in terms of our opposition to our presence, right? Like, other Lostbelts have been hostile. This one is the one that is the most, like, the Lostbelt residents show up to fuck our shit up, and they succeed. And this is a way it can tell new stories, even though we make a whole joke about, well, not a joke, but like we referenced this in the beginning. This is the 5th time we've done this. They call it our complacency. Oh, this will be easy, and then we get blown the fuck up because those other Lostbelts weren't really trying.
Yeah.
Like, that is a running theme. Those other Lostbelts, they didn't have their shit together. Like, Cowdock was literally trying to replace his Lostbelt king.
Yes.
Scotty was living in literal stasis. I'm going to circle back to this. Qin Shi Huang didn't know what the fuck was going on, and God Juno was being manipulated by Doma to just keep running his dumb little experiment. We haven't met him yet, but presuming Zeus seems to be the Lostbelt king, Zeus has his shit together. He is listening to Wodaime. He is ready to fuck our shit up. He has people doing things. It's a whole thing.
Well, like I said, like the whole reason why we're here is because this Lostbelt is literally about to do whatever the thing that the foreign god wants it to do, and we can't have that.
Yeah, it is. This Lostbelt is about to be complete for Phase 2 or whatever, which none of these other Lostbelts would. But I would like to point out, this is something that Holmes foreshadowed. He points out, this tree didn't shoot any shit at us. Now, obviously, I think part of that is because the tree is actually in Olympus, which is underground. But I do also wonder if maybe that means that, like, that's part of what Wodaime's got going on, right?
Right.
Because usually, so that was the sign that in Lostbelt 2, that tree was actually really fucking mature. And it was. Like, honestly, if Ophelia hadn't been such a baby about it, or also she was influenced by Surtur through the master-servant relationship, but, like, if she just dimed out Surtur to Scotty, and they got their shit together and killed Surtur, right? That Lostbelt would have taken the fuck off. That tree was very mature. Tree 3 was also pretty mature, but it was being hidden, right? It was being suppressed from revealing its true purpose because Python didn't want it to fight, basically. So it's really interesting for Holmes to point that out. I wonder if we will see seeds in Olympus or not. Keep this in mind as we move. Now, I've noticed also a second theme, though, which I think may end up extending to Olympus itself. This is a theme I'm just saying is talking about mechanical or mechanisms. Everybody in this Lostbelt is just going through the motion. They repeat process like a rote script, but nobody's going anywhere. Lucky talked about this multiple times. The exiles just live their lives. They have no ambition. They have no drive. They don't want to do anything other than keep existing and hope that Olympus notices them, right? Odysseus guards. Artemis shoots. She talks about how much she just keeps shooting and shooting. No one of these characters are evolving anymore. They have no goals. They just follow the program. Even the demonic beasts are allowed to exist as part of the process of Olympus. This, I think, ties heavily back into their use of Zeus's title as the demiurge. He is a craftsman who sets the world in motion and maintains its process. He does not create. He just maintains this motion. We talked about this, right? Like, Hephaestus was being mechanical, logical. All of our enemies are very rational. They don't get super emotional. Whereas everybody in our team is emotional as fuck.
Yeah, we are.
So, contrast to the locals, our heroes are emotionally volatile. They're willing to talk smack about themselves, their allies, their enemies, their own history. But they're also willing to make friends, fight for their friends, fight for love, grow as people. Grow, despite the fact that these characters are already dead. This is a point Achilles is bringing up constantly. We're fucking dead. We did our jobs and we're gone. Like, our only purpose is to help you out now, help humanity, and keep moving, right? But they are all so deeply motivated to go past their boundaries, overcome their flaws, and keep surviving and growing. And that's how we win, right? Like, that's how we can stop all those shots from Artemis, is that our heroes are willing to give up everything they have and actually grow beyond their bounds. Same with Odysseus. Cordelia is able to, like, overcome her own weaknesses and exceed her own parameters and win. It's all really interesting. Next, I have some back thoughts about what other Lost Belts themes were. So, Lucky, if you have anything more you want to say about Lost Belt 5's like theme characters you think about, you got anything to get off your chest?
Well, no. You basically said, you said a lot better than I could, honestly.
I spent a lot of time writing this baby essay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have mentioned this before. I think the most interesting thing about this Lost Belt is that we're in part 2 of 3. Like, a lot of the time, I know they call this, like, the first half, but this is one of those Lost Belts where people were already fighting on our behalf before we even got there. Like, it's almost like a full-on war zone. Or, well, not war zone, I guess it'd be more like a guerrilla warfare of some are being servants, they're leaving clues, they're leaving messages.
Right, every step of the way, right? Like, the advanced team is letting us know, hey, we were here before, you're on the right path, keep going.
Yeah. And, things have been happening, like, before you got here. Which is to say, it's the same to say with all the other ones, but in all the other Lost Belts, there was definitely a sense of not much is happening, really.
Yeah, in most Lost Belts, the servants the Counterforce summons without us don't know what the fuck they're doing, right?
No, they kind of just maintain, like, we are the catalyst. In the first 4 Lost Belts, we are the catalyst that enacts change. In Lost Belt 5, change is already happening. People are already doing things. People are trying to stop this.
We're just along for the ride, baby.
I would say we're the reinforcements,
That's true.
Someone rolled a triumph on their mass fucking combat.
The Counterforce knew we would be coming, and they prepared accordingly.
Like, that's why I honestly kind of feel like sometimes the pacing was a little weird, and we sometimes get exposition out of nowhere. Because they definitely want to set up, they want to set up the final act here, the third. Because, as like I said, we've already hinted at characters that we already know are going to appear. Like, we know Musashi's there, we know Medea Lily's there, we know Kentoki is there, and, we got other mysterious servants and whatnot.
And we know that we think all the agents, Love and maybe Doman, but all the agents of the Foreign God are in town. They said Coin Sky is there.
Yeah, we know most of the cryptors are physically there.
Yes. Basically everybody but David is there. So, there's a lot of setup and foreshadowing, you're right. And it's a lot more, it's usually a lot more triumphant than Act 2 movies are, but this absolutely ends in the Act 2 movie climax, right? Like, it was very costly, but we beat that guy, but there's even more conflict to go. Cliffhanger. And like I said, Musashi even does that thing where she's like, you thought that was tough. That's peanuts compared to Olympus. Yeah, and you are right. The pacing is sometimes weird, but it's because Nasu is basically writing, much like how he wrote Camelot Zero, Nasu figured out, he knew all this stuff that happened and wrote it in here, but we weren't there for it.
Yeah.
And it keeps coming up, and it's a little weird sometimes. But so to wrap up and get us over the 4-hour mark, I have some comparison notes. So to compare and contrast, in my estimation, my, amateur art critic brain, amateur literary critic here, I think Lost Belt 1's themes, were about survival, and especially survival in an uncaring and hostile environment. We are thrown from Chaldea and thrust into the harsh reality of this conflict. This Lost Belt is abjectly shitty, but we have to come to terms as a character with what we need to do to survive, right?
Right.
We don't know what survival is, and so we have to understand what that means and actually, accept we can do this to survive. But we're thrown in a strange new world and have to figure out, and, so many times do our Yaga friends think about, what it means to survive. It's Cryptor Kadok is represented as basically an equal. He's roughly the same power level as us. He's struggling to, grow and overcome on his own. I see by how he wants to replace Ivan as the king. Ivan is basically a non-character. He's just a Deus Ex Machina. And so we
call it a Deus Ex Machina. What is...
Well, the villain version is Diablo Ex Machina, but he is the third act twist. Is he's the ominous thing lurking in the background until it becomes necessary for him to actually get the fuck up.
Yeah.
So there's a term for that, but it's after midnight, and I'm very hungry. I want to snack. We're almost done here, and then I got to edit this monstrosity. But so that's what I think Lost Belt 1's themes were. I think Lost Belt 2's themes had to do with hope and fate. Ophelia constantly locks fate into place with her eye, and she thinks she's trapped in a cycle of failure. She thinks Ragnarok is inevitable because she's constantly chatting with Surtur, right? Meanwhile, Scotty is trying to fight fate. She's trying to keep the Jotuns happy and the humans in eternal stasis. She can't do anything but keep staying the course. And so we bring hope to this Lost Belt. We bring hope to Ophelia via Napoleon and also through Sigurd and Bryn being lovey-dovey. We defeat Surtur, and defeating Surtur gives Scotty hope, which actually gets her energized to fight us, for us to come to that conflict we're always talking about to survive, right? Scotty couldn't do anything but stay the course, but once we defeat the Lost Belt Surtur, she's actually holy shit, we can go places. We need this tree. You gonna cut down this tree? All right, I can do it. I can fight. And we have to actually sort out our shit. My notes for these get a little longer. So I think thematically, Lost Belt 3 is one of the most complex, even though it's the shortest. I think it has the best theming. other than maybe Atlantis, like I said, I picked up on some subtle themes that aren't even fully realized yet that I think will be through line through both Lost Belts. But Lostbelt 3, I think, is about human nature and is a commentary on war. So Qin Wang has built a unified, peaceful world at the cost that all humans live in ignorance and are little more than pets to his ego. Humans are basically livestock. They don't benefit from the fruits of their labors or intellect. All culture and technological advancement only serves him. So in fighting him, we have to show him how our individualized lifestyle has advantages over his version. And this even comes to a head, right, where, ultimately he sides with us. He's like, we permit you to punch us. Show us if your way is better. And when we thump him, he's like, you're right. Your way does have merit. You've won. Good job, you guys.
I'm gonna come hang out at Chaldea and judge you for myself.
Yeah.
How's it going?
And this, I think, has a very strong compare contrast with a lot of our major characters, Yume Ren and Zhang Yu, who aren't even human. One of them is an automaton and the other is an elemental. They are not human, but they have very human relationships and very human, desires. Their story of love, right? So, Qin Wang thinks of himself as the only true human. He's a fucking, flying city. Whereas the two non-humans are actually being the most human. And I also think there's a lot of stuff going on here with, themes about war, because everybody is constantly trying to keep the world peaceful because they've ended war, but war was needed to create this peace, but is not needed in this peace. It's a classic problem of what you do when the revolution ends, right? To cause a revolution, you need fighters, but then when the revolution is over, you need to not fight. And then what do you do in that transition period? So they keep all their old soldiers frozen, just waiting for them to be needed, and some of them may never be needed, right? And I think this plays into what Yume Ren's thing is. She's like, she doesn't want another war either. She doesn't want this Lostbelt war to break out because she knows what will happen. So there's a lot of really here. I think Lostbelt 4 is the loosest of the themes. I had to think about this one pretty hard. The main thing I think is it is a commentary on perfection versus human flaws and of cyclical stories. Gajira's trying to create a perfect world, right?
Right.
He's trying to make it free of every evil as a result of his own traumatic experiences. But if you remove everything he thinks of as evil or just flawed, which is really what it was anything that was imperfect, you have an empty world with nothing in it, because perfection is impossible. You cannot attain perfection.
Well, it wouldn't be that there'd be nothing in it, but only he would be in it, because...
Sure, he would be the only thing left, and then he would honestly probably just unzip himself, right?
Yeah, because then he probably realized he has destroyed everything, and he is not perfect.
Yeah.
It's also, the theming is also, not necessarily, I would say human conflict, because, in a sense, because I had a thought on this, and I lost it. And, human conflict and mutual understanding, because a big theme about this is... I felt so smart for a moment, and now I feel so dumb.
Were you thinking about, maybe because I thought of this while you're saying that, how disconnected the humans are from the gods?
They're disconnected, and depending on where you are in the cycle, people act, completely fucking different. It's also, your relationship with Pepe. Pepe technically is your enemy, but, you overcome your differences to solve common goals, and... I feel really dumb because I know I had something here. I know I did.
I mean, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
Pepe should be our enemy and we're hostile to him, and then he's like, but I've lost, so I'll help you out. And then at the end, after you defeat God Arjuna, he's like, alright, cool. It's not fucking over. We gotta fight. I got my servant back. Fuck you. He comes back for that one final conflict because that's just the nature of things. And that's kind of, like we said, that's part of that cycle of violence you're talking about.
Yeah. Because talking about the cylindrical cycles, it's most of these Lostbelts are about, headbutting your values against other values, and like you said, Lostbelt 3, I think, is, the best for that, as, Qin Wang, who is basically with you the entire way, just yelling at you from space, is just all well, tell me how your world is better. It's not. You can say the flaws all you want. But here we see in kind of a more abstract thing, is we're actually, we've literally broken bread with our enemy here. We get to hear, his side of the thing. We get to see he is, not necessarily an evil villainous person, even though he can be really good at murdering, and he has his own reasons for doing that. And
unlike Ophelia, there's not with Ophelia, that she does help us, but that's reversed, right? She starts off openly antagonistic, no, you guys go the fuck home. You cannot be here. You're gonna fuck it up. And then she's like, oh shit, I fucked it up. Mash, you're my only hope.
Yeah,
and
so
that was also way more about her relationship with Mash.
Yeah, but Lostbelt 4, I think, is a lot more about coming to mutual understandings, or the inability to come to mutual understandings. Because you kind of also see that with some of the modified servants, of how they've been fucked up from their original thing.
Oh, yeah, I got that in my notes. That talking about that perfection theme as well. Because Arjuna tries to perfect them by giving them divine authority, but he only makes them either He only makes them lose their true human personalities and arguably makes them more flawed. Like, he makes them shittier by thinking he's making them better because he doesn't understand human emotions anymore. And
I guess that's it. Understanding human emotions. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and I think
that's what it was. That's what it was. Understanding empathy. That's what it was.
Okay, I get you now. That goes back to that point I was thinking you were going with the like separation from humans and gods. Like, God Juna is so separated from everything that he's lost all perspective, and he's just doing the cycle over and over again because he thinks that's how he'll make a more perfect world. But that's not how you make things perfect. I think most things that are perfect for humans are ephemeral, right?
Oh yeah, they don't exist because perfection is stagnation. Yes. Once something is perfect, where do you go from there?
We see that from Lostbelt. That's why, like I said, things that we encounter in our daily life that are perfection are ephemeral. Like, you have a perfect meal, you have a perfect day, you watch a perfect movie, right? They are all just experiences you have that you're like, wow, that experience as I got it could not be any better. And then you experienced it, and it's over. You cannot machine make perfection. As a contrast, Juniko, right, arguably star of the show, very flawed person, but she overcomes her flaws to give us what we need to succeed. And does so in a way that God Juna would never have acknowledged. He's like, what the fuck?
Cube?
What cube? So yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting thematics here. I think, like I said, like we both said, the way Lostbelt 3 is written, even though it's like short and like some of the pacing is a little weird with like the fighting, the character conflict, the characterization is spot on because it really is an ideological conflict between us and that guy. Whereas, like I said, Lostbelt 2, Scotty doesn't work up the gumption to fight us until after we killed Surtur and the tree is planted again. That's when she realizes, like, oh, fuck, I have to fight to survive. Not that she couldn't have kicked our ass before then, but, like, that just wasn't in her nature.
Well, Scotty was interesting because she used all her juice to basically fight Surtur with her, but she was all like, no, like, she wasn't going to go, and I think she understood she understood she was probably going to lose, but she wasn't just going to roll over and die.
Right. Well, and I think she does the thing that a lot of the Lostbelts do, is she reinforced us. She was like, all right, okay, I'm doing the math. How many people live in your world? It's a fuck ton, isn't it? Okay. I have to, because she loves humans, right? She has to come up with, okay, I'm going to kill 8 billion humans. Are you ready? And you're like, well, okay, well, if you're going to come at us like that, like she psychs herself and us up for the fight because we both have to hit these loggerheads.
I mean, everyone's a bullshit, but again, I think a lot of the Lostbelts understand our plight. Like, a lot of them are like, except for like God Juna, like, I think a lot of the Lostbelt Kings were empathetic to our plight. Like, even Ivan was all like, do you understand what you're doing? Do you know why you're doing it? I know
what I'm doing, right? Marching in this dumb tree thing. Even though, like, arguably his goal was also to kill Tree.
Yeah.
Like, he was so like, you gotta understand what you're doing, right?
Right.
I talked about this earlier. Even Odysseus, like, he has that great moment where he's like, yeah, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. We're fighting. We're in the fight now. The only way we can settle this is by battling to see who wins. You have your reasons, I have mine. We're not going to talk about it. We're here to fight. And it's really interesting. And arguably, even God Juna, like, because we bring back Karna, right, as Super Karna, God Juna has that moment where he, like, comes back down to Earth. He's like, he has a human conflict.
He remembers his most fated, better rival is all like, Karna.
Yeah. So, Lostbelts are good. Good writing. We can't do all of our, like, usual, like I said, we can't talk about Wodaime and Canis' characters because, well, I mean, we could talk about Canis because technically they may have died, but also they definitely didn't die. Because that fucking, like, I have heard many unsummoned sound effects. That is not the sound that happened in that chapter. Once again, to remind everybody.
I'm pretty sure, like, Wodaime just summoned her back and's like, okay, you stay put here now.
Have you learned your lesson about being an angry bitch? Like, okay, I'm gonna give you a croissant, and we'll see if that fixes it. Shout out to our new CE, new Argonauts. It's great. Fucking feels, bro. It's really interesting because usually it's like a person we met who changed their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this Lostbelt, no, fuck all these people. They suck. All these exiles suck butts. We're gonna remember the Argonauts, man.
Well, again, like, this is one of those things, like, like, this was literally, like, a Greek epic, almost. We got on a boat, we were part of it, we were like, fuck, man, I'm gonna go, we get back to proper human history, I'm gonna go to the fucking, whatever, Greek museum, it's all like, Argonauts, I'm gonna write my name right in that book, like, fuck all you. I was there.
Yeah.
But, like, we sailed many islands looking for MacGuffins, and had to deal with
the Argonauts,
yeah.
But I think it also goes back to our talk about, like I said, everybody's just going through the motions. These people on these islands, they're friendly, but they're not really friendly. They don't try to get to know us. They don't try to figure out what our deal is. They're just like, I have some weird people from some other island here. You want to know about this? Sure. Why the fuck not? So we don't form connections with any of them. And like, it's really interesting that that's our CE basis, is the Argonauts, who we do form an emotional connection with those motherfuckers.
Like, this story was all about the squad. Literally. I joke about all the pep talks, but no, it's like every down moment there is like someone talking to you, being like, "Hey, how do you feel? Let me tell you how I feel. Do you know what these feelings means? I don't fucking know, but it doesn't matter. We're in this together, right? Right. High five."
Yeah,
And
there's this shot. Cardo, Achilles in the back, Paris chilling.
Chiome's like way back there on the mast.
Yeah, Bart's back there.
That's like,
It's at the
yeah, no,
sunset
like
shot.
I honestly feel like Okeanos was good, but I actually feel like I was, a classical Greek hero in this, and I find that really interesting
did all
because
the fucking heavy lifting, right?
yeah, and I find it hilarious because Odysseus, king of the fucking very long ship journey, was on the opposite side.
Yeah, and he was our penultimate obstacle.
Yeah,
I really want to see what they do with the White Raven then.
Mm-hmm. Well, if I remember correctly, it's focused on Kirky and Odysseus. So, well, maybe you'll see some Kirky Hard Eyes.
God, I
He's
hope
not
so.
over them.
Kirky also needs some. Like, I love that Lostbelts give us an opportunity to work on characters. Like, Chiome got a lot of character development, right?
Yeah.
Jason got a lot of character development being a protagonist, not an antagonist. Orion himself, like, not just Bear Orion, as with Artemis, gets a lot of development. They do a lot for characters that we haven't seen as much, and that's always what I think Lostbelt has done, is like taking these characters who got kind of like weird images in the OG and giving them back to us. But they also introduced new characters like super strongly. Like, I really feel that connection with Mandricardo. That whole thing where he's like, "Yo, are we friends?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're friends." And he's like, "All right, we're friends."
Good night, buddy. Oh, that hurt me in the heart.
Come on, you can't say we're friends. And he's like, "We're friends." And then Charlotte Corday is like, just don't you want somebody to love? It's great. It's good writing.
And there we are. Sorry that one kind of ends abruptly, but that really is where the conversation peters out. There's a little bit more in the time code of the original episode, but it's mostly us just talking about how long everything was. So yeah, there it is. Took a while. Got sick halfway through. Also was really long anyway, but that's Lostbelt 5 Part 1 recap. Hopefully the Lostbelt 5 Part 2 recap doesn't take 2 weeks, but it could take 2 weeks considering how friggin' long this one was. I hope you'll tune in and catch that one as well as we continue our cycle towards Lostbelt 6. Yes, there will also be a Hey on Kyo episode, but I expect that one will be less long. Anyway, this has been your Present Tense Omega. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And before we go, I would like to thank our patrons, such as Adam DeHarp, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, Ferris, Fightless Icebird, Jeremy Vasquez, JDV 9000, Jester LeFay, Jonathan Sandoval, Chris Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Regent Raptor, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Charvor, Sean Pryor, Sling Guy named Bob, and Varian the Crow. And consider giving us a support on Patreon. If you like us, it helps us do more, go further, and you get access to stuff like the audio version of this, just a little MP3 download, and other fun times. All right, see you next one.